The young man was stunned to realize he was lying in the body of a dragon. He was even being carried in someone's arms like a child. In all his life, Louis had never known such a thing. What dragon could be so weak and fragile? Who would complain about being a dragon, the most powerful and formidable creature in the world? More importantly, a dragon could live for 10,000 years. In his previous life, the young man had worked himself to the bone to make a living. Then illness struck, and he passed away far too young before he could enjoy life. Thinking about being able to live as long as 8 human lifetimes, Louis couldn't help but feel overjoyed. With this strength, he could overcome any difficulty without anything stopping him. The man holding him looked at him with gentle eyes, seeing how happy he was. As soon as he was seated at the dining table, the young man's face changed color. He saw a messy concoction laid out, something a baby dragon would love but made him feel nauseous. However, after swallowing it, he found it worth trying, and as a dragon, he should follow dragon customs. Taste turned out to be not bad at all. His father's eyes gleamed as he looked at him, and Louis quickly used the local dialect to win his favor. "I'm full, thanks, Dad. What's wrong with you? Shouldn't you call me father? Come on, say father for me." Just one call of father made his face glow with happiness. Louis didn't know his father's name yet, so he immediately asked, "What is my father's name?" Despite his odd accent, he realized the man was named Lusser. Just hearing the name, he froze, his face turning pale. Louis immediately ran away from there as fast as he could. Impossible, absolutely impossible. He hid in the living room, hurriedly opening the book on the table to read. While he was trying to decipher the text, Lusser walked in. Holding a plate of fruit, he asked kindly, "My son, are you hurt?" Louis thought to himself, this was truly the image of a kind and loving father. But few knew that he would become a terrifying destroyer in the future. "Because of your arrogance, I must drown this entire continent in blood, and I will never know peace again." Louis suddenly remembered, Lusser only went mad when his child was killed by a human. Suddenly he was startled. Didn't that mean he also had an older brother? Louis asked his father if he had an older brother. He replied, "An older brother? No, you are my firstborn." The young man's face paled. "So do you plan to have another child?" "No, I promised your mother that I would only have one child and give it everything good." He had just been reborn and hadn't even had a chance to enjoy life. Now he knew he was on the brink of death. The young man's face was now as green as a banana leaf. According to Louis's memory, Lusser destroyed an entire empire after losing his child. He suddenly realized he was just a stepping stone for the opening tragedy and shuddered at the thought. The child of a villainous dragon who would disappear just as the story truly began. He became a dragon, but he was born only to die. Even while lying on a mountain of gold and jewels, Louis still saw life as bleak. Just like his previous life, he was still a being with a short fate. How could he enjoy all this wealth? Die? Die again? Nothing achieved at all? No, he absolutely could not die so meaninglessly. He went back to find the book and continued reading. He needed to find the exact year Lusser went mad. He had to remember it. Lusser only went mad when he lost his child. If he could find that year, he would know when he had to face the Reaper. And that year was the year 3589 AD. Finally found it. The current year is 3090, so by that time, Louis would be about 498 years old. That meant he was just 1 year away from maturity when disaster would strike, and he would leave while still a child. That couldn't happen. For the next nearly 500 years, he must survive. He wouldn't give up. Let's see who gets the last laugh. That day, Louis ate with a relish he had never known before. "Can I have another bowl, please?" Lusser was a bit surprised by this, but a hint of indescribable excitement gleamed in his eyes. Suddenly, a golden turtle flew in and landed right on the food Louis was about to put into his mouth. Lusser noticed it and immediately jumped up in a panic. He managed to knock the bowl away, leaving his son, who did not understand what was happening, to angrily scold his father. He sighed in relief. "You almost got into danger there. This is a creature your father has been researching, but it does not threaten our kind of dragon. Since you are still young, it is better to be cautious. This thing is very poisonous." The moment he heard the word poison, Louis began to cry in fear. "But you have not eaten it yet, so you should be fine." Louis was still frightened, thinking to himself, that was close. I need to be more careful. Louis seemed to be engrossed in reading that book every day. The boy moved about casually without a hint of wariness. While he was reading, he was suddenly attacked by an iron soldier. Fortunately, his father appeared in time to protect his child. Lusser's gaze turned sharp and filled with fury. Without a moment's hesitation, he blew the robot to pieces. "Louis, are you all right? How strange. I was sure I arranged things carefully so they could not harm you." The boy stood frozen, not expecting to have nearly died twice in one day. The following days brought no dangers, which slowly restored Louis's confidence. He freely played and flew around outside with his father. This beautiful, open, dreamlike place was called the Left Fang of the Earth. It was one of 2 colossal mountains located at the very edge of the continent. The place was renowned as the rooftop for many mystical insect tribes. Louis gazed at it with sparkling, admiring eyes, thinking it might be even taller than Mount Everest. The scenery was completely different from anything he had ever seen in books. A beautiful blue butterfly flew past, and the boy gleefully chased after it. Suddenly, thunder and lightning arrived, accompanied by thick clouds and mist. A bolt of lightning struck him directly, causing severe burns. Once again, his father was thrown into utter panic. It did not stop there, as Louis continued to be struck by more bolts of lightning. He thought in despair, does this world really want me gone that badly? General Lusser knelt down in agony, embracing Louis and weeping bitterly. After he was brought home to recuperate, things gradually calmed down. The boy became even more afraid of this world, realizing he had almost gone to meet his ancestors. He realized he had been struck by lightning 3 times in a row in that very spot. What were the odds of that happening in such a short span of time? He was certain now, this world truly wants me dead. But why now, of all times? He still had 498 years left in his lifespan. Could he really die at the hands of humans? No way, he absolutely did not want to die like this. Louis panicked again, thinking that his story was only supposed to begin after death. Then he wondered how the dragon child he knew had managed to survive 500 years. After thinking about it for a while and feeling frustrated, he sneaked outside. He told himself, there is no time for contemplation anymore, I must act quickly. Louis needed something that could save him from this impending death. He ran as fast as he could to General Lusser's room, opened the door, and called out, Father! Seeing his son healthy and safe, the father was overjoyed and rushed over. What is it, my child? The boy asked. Father, do you have any equipment at home that can be used to protect me? He replied. Protective equipment for you? I do have some, but it is still too early for you to use it. To use it, you need attribute power, and it takes a lot of time and practice to control it. You are still too young. Wait until you are older. But Louis insisted on learning right away, which left his father flustered. It was only when Louis looked at his father again with those sparkling, innocent eyes. He pleaded, Can I not learn just because I am young? Well, normally you can start after you have passed the infancy stage. That pitiful gaze continued to stare at him until his father finally agreed. He sighed, Very well, I will teach you then. The boy cheered, Really? Then teach me right now, father. His father said, But before we begin, there is a place we must go first. It is where young dragons go to discover their first attribute. You must meet the elders. The boy did not understand but obediently followed along. He asked eagerly, Learning sounds fun. How will we get to the elders' place? His father smiled and answered, To get there, we will have to fly. General Lusser began the transformation process. As the purple vortex enveloped his body, that was when he shifted into his dragon form. Just as expected, Louis's eyes lit up, a real dragon. Come on, climb on and hold on tight. General Lusser soared high into the air, which caught Louis a bit off guard. After all, it was the boy's first time experiencing this feeling. How much higher are we going, father? Seeing his young son look scared, the father laughed heartily. Haha, we have a long way to go, son. Can you guess we are about to pierce through the atmosphere and fly into space? Louis, we are almost there. The moment he saw the glowing area floating ahead, Louis was astonished. Surprised, aren't you? This is the sacred land of the dragons. It is the Golden Flower Castle. The father and son landed there. Up close, it was even more massive than it looked from afar. General Lusser returned to his human form. All right, let's go inside. There were many dragons sitting on stone pedestals inside. So, you have arrived. At the center was Sandra, the leader of the 13 dragon elders. General Lusser bowed his head. My respects, I am General Lusser, son of Pamus. Louis also spoke up timidly, Greetings, elders. The moment he saw Louis, Patos, one of the 13 elders, exclaimed excitedly, Ho ho, so this is your son? He looks much smarter and more polite than Pamus's grandchild. Blue dragon sitting right beside them was none other than Pamus, General Lusser's father. It has been a long time, father. Yes, it has been 623 years. The last time you were here was to introduce your wife, Valentina, right? Pamus smiled at the sight of his adorable grandchild. Hey, you should have brought him right after he was born. Why is it that the first time I meet my grandson, I have to do it with this bunch of old men around? Louis is only a month old. Did you expect father to bring him here that early? Louis looked up at Pamus with an innocent gaze and called out, Grandfather. Pamus was overjoyed to the point of madness. That's right, I'm your grandfather. How can my grandson be this handsome? This old man really dotes on his grandchild. He's been waiting for one for so long, so just let him enjoy this moment. Sandra listened seriously. You mean to find out Louis's attributes? Isn't that a bit early? Yes, I think so too, but Louis has expressed this wish, so. Pamus laughed with delight. Ha ha ha. This kid is as eager to learn as his grandfather was back in the day. Shut up, old man. Louis, please step to the center. The boy looked at his father nervously. General Lusser reassured him. You don't need to worry, just go out there and stand still. Boy obeyed and stepped into the central circle. The 13 dragon elders all held an orb in their hands. Seeing this sight for the first time, Louis's eyes widened in awe. Amazing. Hey kid, close your eyes and say, My lifelong companion, come to me. Instantly, the orbs of the 13 elders merged together. The final result appeared, and General Lusser was stunned the moment he saw it. An abstract attribute, time. Right after, General Lusser was overjoyed. Abstract attributes are often far stronger than natural ones. My son is a true genius. In addition, Louis also had the power attribute. Pamus said proudly, the power attribute? He truly has our blood in him. My grandson has 2 attributes, but it doesn't stop there. Another elder noticed Louis's space attribute as well. There's also the space attribute, 3 attributes at once. The first dragon king, Cadus, and the dragon cursed by the forces of darkness. The entire history of the dragon race, only those 2 ever possessed 3 attributes. It seems this child is destined to write a new chapter in history. White Dragon also detected the spirit attribute. Louis stood there, not understanding anything, only seeing everyone staring at him in shock. 4 attribute circles surrounded him, and the boy hugged them with delight. The 13 elders now looked at Louis with dangerous glints in their eyes. Why are you all looking at me like that? Time, space, power, and spirit. All 4 exceptional traits. A talent that silenced every elder. Held immense potential, enough to overturn the world. With that ability, Louis wondered if he could handle all the challenges to come on his own. Everything might change because of this. They would probably be furious if they couldn't control him. What was the point of having this talent if he might die before he even grew up? After a moment of wandering thoughts, the boy tried to calm himself down. It's fine, there's still hope. If this talent can cause such a stir, then it also means I have another chance. As long as I take good care of it, the survival rate will definitely increase significantly. The most important thing is that I am no longer the Louis I used to be. Now I have memories of my past life, fully aware of the crises that are coming. I will use them to enhance my strength and survival ability. Magic is used to control the elements. Martial arts, on the other hand, help control the elements within the body. Which one should I choose first? Only kids make choices, a grown-up like you learns them all. This body belongs to a dragon, possessing an abundant amount of mana and born with all 4 elements. With a little effort, I can definitely change my fate. Louis decided to study seriously. Alright, let's begin. Suddenly, his father brought in a tray of sumptuous food. The dishes that once made him nauseous now made him drool. Ahem, before doing great things, one must eat. You can't work on an empty stomach, so eat first, train later. The blue thing on the tray was the water element potion, an ice blue crystal named Lampus. The brown carrot-like thing was a rather tough wood element potion from the Litter family. Pink jellyfish-shaped thing was the wind element potion, as light as cotton candy. Heart-shaped one was the thunder element potion of the Thunderbird, which was a bit strange. These potions contain energy that could explode if used carelessly. But dragons have dragon hearts that can naturally convert mana into their own element, so eating them is perfectly safe. Louis kept scooping spoonfuls with great relish. After eating for a while, he looked dazed, and General Lusser thought his son was very tired. That evening, the boy slept soundly hugging his teddy bear. However, a purple circle suddenly appeared and turned into the shape of a fork. The fork fell onto the bed. Louis opened his eyes without remembering when he had fallen asleep. Apparently it was while he was eating. Louis, wake up and eat, son. Yes, father. As soon as he stepped out of bed, he tripped and fell flat on his face. Lifting his head, he saw a fork stuck straight into the floor. What is this? I got impaled just because of a fork stuck in the floor. Even a blind man would realize this is a massive death freak. That's really unlucky. Even worse, when he turned back, his rabbit teddy bear was lying there with its stuffing popping out. What the hell? He was the only one I could vent my frustration on. I'll have to ask father to fix him later. While eating, General Lusser was fixing the teddy bear. Toto being broken made father's Louis sad. Don't be sad, father will fix Toto to be even more beautiful than before. Another strange Malazada phenomenon. The boy woke up again and realized he was lying on the bed. Louis, wake up and come eat, son. Toto had been fixed and placed right beside him. The boy peeked out from the door, complaining. Father, I feel something strange. What is it? Did my son get hurt somewhere? I don't know if I'm hurt or not. I'm not sure, but my memories are hazy and I feel sleepy. Hearing this, his father sighed and smiled softly. I thought it was something serious. The time has come, hasn't it? You're not hurt. It's just that your sleep cycle is approaching. We dragons must go through 2 sleep cycles to reach maturity. If you're feeling sleepy often, your first sleep cycle is probably about to begin. Louis wondered how long he would sleep. His father also didn't know the exact time, but it will probably be around 100 years. Hearing this, he was startled, truly unbelievable. Just a few days ago, he received the death black, and now he has to sleep for a full 100 years. Surely it wants me to prepare mentally for the journey. This cannot be. He was startled and took out a belt to prop his eyes open. I must make a plan to stay awake for as long as possible. First, don't eat too much because a full stomach induces sleep. Second, don't take a bath because bathing relaxes the body. Third, minimize movement because activity will make me restless. Fourth, don't go near the bed because just looking at it makes me want to lie down. Alright, from now on, I must try to stay awake for as long as possible. After propping his eyes open for a while, Louis seemed to lose his spirit. He tried to hold back from eating and became anorexic, which made his father extremely worried. Louis, you have to eat more for father, please. Just one more spoonful, son. The boy was so scared he ran as fast as he could, far away. He returned to the study room. That was a close call. Luckily, I woke up in time. Can't let my guard down until I find a way to avoid sleeping. Fumbling through the books for a while, he found a page teaching how to stay awake. Stand straight, pinch yourself, eat spicy food, wash your face with cold water, and don't read books. Just as he read the last line, his eyes were already drooping. Can't read anymore, I'll fall asleep. Louis tried to tie himself up, but the drowsiness still came overwhelming and irresistible. It seemed there was no more resistance left. Just as he heard his father call his name, the young man opened his eyes and woke up. What's the matter? Did you sleep well? Father, I wasn't sleeping, just unconscious for a moment. Congratulations to my son, Louis was still confused, not understanding what was happening. Your Majesty, what are you congratulating me for? I'm holding your 100th birthday celebration, Louis. My goodness, what a shock. 100 years ago, Louis couldn't resist his drowsiness and lay down in the study. Jane Lurzer discovered him and carried his son back to the bedroom. Wouldn't it be better to eat a little before sleeping? But the boy was already asleep, so never mind. I hope he wakes up safely. Sleep well, my son. I will visit you tomorrow. While focusing on work in the room, he suddenly heard a loud noise. General Lusser hurried over in a panic to check the situation. Upon arriving, he saw the room covered in dust and his son lying sprawled on the floor. You all right? Are you hurt? But Louis was just muttering in his sleep. The father observed for a while and found no signs of any intruder here. Don't tell me this wooden ceiling just collapsed on its own for no reason. In the decades that followed, a series of mysterious incidents continued to occur regularly without end, and I had a feeling that someone was trying to harm his child. Louis slept soundly despite having come close to death many times. Too worried and not understanding the cause, General Lusser created barriers to protect his son by every possible means. His lifespan was thus shortened a bit, but the father didn't care as long as Louis was safe. For the past 60 years, the father had never had a single full night's sleep. 4,129 was the number of life-threatening incidents Louis faced. Was someone truly trying to assassinate the boy? But who could possibly do such a thing? The world has forgotten the dragons. Now only hybrid creatures remember our existence. What could harm Louis that I am entirely unaware of? Only noble blood possesses that power, but those living around here all treasure their children like their own lives. Gathering it all together, can I only conclude it's a coincidence? I don't know. Frustrated beyond measure, General Lusser smashed the guardian robots at the door. Why do these mindless creatures even exist in this world? They even dared to use weapons against the generator. And so, one by one, they were taken down without mercy. At a dead end, General Lusser had no choice but to seek out Pamus's father. But he only said, I can help. A genius must endure many storms. Not only that, many more trials and hardships await Louis ahead. Exactly like what happened to the first Dragon King. Those words only made General Lusser more restless. Is that really so? Is Louis' talent so powerful that they want to eliminate him? No, impossible. Be it God, fate, or anything else. I will protect Louis from everything. And so Louis remained at peace until he woke up. He looked in the mirror to see if he had changed after all those years. I wonder if I've grown any taller. After measuring, he was in complete shock. What on earth was going on? Spending a full 100 years just sleeping, yet my height barely increased. Come to think of it, I never noticed before, but a huge part of my life has already slipped away. So 100 years have passed, and I'm still alive? Back then, I narrowly escaped death every single day. Now I'm safe while sleeping? How is that even possible? Forget worrying about it, being alive is already lucky enough. The naive young man had no idea how much his father had sacrificed. General Lusser, it's time for dinner. Head downstairs, my boy. The moment he looked at his father, he wondered what had happened to him. He looked so much older. Maybe I really am a burden to my father. Louis made up his mind. All right, from now on, I'll be an obedient son who listens to his father. He trudged along behind, wondering why his father looked so exhausted. Do I look that worn out? Yes, father, remember to sleep before working. That caring remark seemed to give the father some renewed motivation. Time slipped by quickly, and the boy now stood before the training mountain. The figure standing there with a human-like form was none other than Louis. We only knew that when someone called out loudly, Young Master Louis, a strange sound came from the small floating scarf Louis had just received. Inside the scarf was a tiny girl with delicate butterfly wings. The little fairy spoke. It had been a long time since she had seen him in human form. He was truly a descendant of the great holy lineage, young master. Louis could only feel helpless upon hearing this. A full 100 years had already passed. How many times must I say this, Finn? Stop calling me young master. The little girl remained persistent, but you are indeed my young master. To serve a dragon is a great honor that our entire fairy clan has always yearned for. Louis smiled. Honor, come to think of it, he had never considered that before. Everything began after Louis's first hibernation period. While absorbed in reading in the library, he suddenly heard a strange noise. Looking around for a while, he discovered the sound came from a gift box on the table. As soon as he opened the lid, a fairy flew out and screamed with joy. Startled, Finn flew so fast she crashed into the wall and fainted. Louis cautiously approached, unsure what this tiny flying creature was. He poked at the fairy a few times, but still could not figure out what kind of being she was. When she looked closely at Louis, Finn's eyes suddenly lit up with excitement. The fairy introduced herself as Finn of the royal family of the Fairy-like Kingdom, honored to serve the Holy Dragon Lord. Louis still did not understand what was happening, his face blank with confusion. He said gently, now can you put me down? Louis teased, but you just threw me down a moment ago. Finn burst into tears and begged, please do not abandon me. It was then that Louis understood that being friends with a dragon was a great honor. The first fairy king was once a childhood toy of the Dragon King. After many days of crying and pleading, Finn was finally accepted as Louis's assistant. Although Finn was already 800 years old, her knowledge was incredibly vast, quite useful to Louis in many matters. She followed a natural spatial philosophy, very skilled at storing objects in small spaces. Seeing Louis lost in thought, Finn curiously spoke up. He replied it was nothing. The training session is over now. I want to return to my studies. Finn was considered a portable spatial bag. As soon as Louis mentioned it, the book would appear. Today he was studying the manifestations of mana, an advanced course. Finn worked without any complaint. Louis was glad she was comfortable with that role. In less than a moment, a lavish menu was pulled out by the fairy. Truly a royal lesson accompanied by an imperial meal. In the middle of studying, thunder approached again, making Louis helplessly close his book. Just a few peaceful days, how could lightning strike again now? This time, the lightning bolt seemed much stronger than the previous ones. But when had Louis become so accustomed to these lightning bolts? He gently attracted the lightning bolt into his bracelet. Being struck by lightning hundreds of times like this is more than enough. That glowing bracelet was the Thunder Origin gem. This was based on the principle that the purer the power, the stronger it is, while the weaker it is, the easier it is to diminish. As a low-grade origin gem, it was unstable, and when absorbing lightning, it would gradually become full. The bracelet was full now, and needed to be replaced immediately. Louis was about to handle it when Finn shouted in surprise to stop him. "Do not do it, young master." Right at that moment, another lightning bolt struck directly down but was blocked by the protective barrier around Louis. Finn exclaimed in astonishment, "Spatial barrier, the speed is truly fast." It turned out that was a high-tier magic. Even for a chosen dragon, such progress was astonishingly fast. Finn thought to herself she must record this moment in the great history of the fairy clan. Ever since learning the spatial barrier, all life-threatening incidents for Louis were easily prevented. His spatial attribute had nearly reached level 1. Space and time had reached level 3, but his mind was lagging behind at level 5. Because he focused too much on training space to survive, Louis had neglected his other attributes. It might take a bit more time, but for now everything was fine. He told himself that now he would surely live long. Let us continue studying. Finn, hand me the next book. I will have it right away. After the arduous study session, upon returning home, he learned that his father was about to go somewhere. His father announced he would go to the Silver Flower Castle. At the end of this month, Elder Kodachi would retire. Louis asked if that was grandfather. His father confirmed, but said calling him that was a bit. He laughed and replied that a friend of his grandfather was also his grandfather, which made Reiner shake his head helplessly. He wondered what his father would do there if grandfather retired. It was then that General Lusser finally revealed it. Your father has been nominated to replace the position of Elder Kodachi. Louis was extremely excited, continuously congratulating his father. It wasn't just Louis who had grown, but his father, who had maintained a high rank for a long time, had finally reached the master level of the dark attribute. Something even ordinary dragons found difficult. General Lusser had conquered it at the young age of 4,000, which was still quite young for a dragon. Louis thought to himself that this alone was enough to make his father a final boss. In the original national story, General Lusser was the madman who once ravaged the entire continent with two main attributes, darkness and magic. With just those two attributes, his whole body turned pitch black, and he became famous as the second being to transform into a demon. But this time, that would not be repeated. Louis had trained hard for 150 years just to prevent that tragedy from happening again. His father before him suddenly acted coy, saying, "Louis, what I mean is, I was just thinking I might have to be away from home for a while." Louis's expression suddenly hardened, and his father continued. Normally, parents with young children wouldn't be chosen, but this time, no one was capable enough for this position. The process usually lasted a very long time, but this time it was only a mere 10 years. For Louis, 10 years was too long. He held his face in despair and said, "It has to be 10 years? Seeing his son hang his head low, General Lusser saw his son dejected and smiled reassuringly. "Luckily, that means it will be quick. I thought it would take several hundred years. 10 years is just a decade. Since you're already starting to learn the theory of the ungovernable, you'll speed things up then." His father suddenly hugged him and sat down in a corner. "Father, no way, I don't expect you to cry and beg me not to go." General Lusser sniffled and replied, "Haha, I don't even know what to expect anymore. You want anything else? Wait a moment, let me go get some snacks for you." In this situation, Louis thought he wasn't the child, but that he was the father instead. Before leaving, General Lusser also reminded his son to be careful. The nutritional supplements are in the freezer, and don't skip meals to train right at noon. The emergency medicine box is in the third cabinet in your room. If you get sick, remember to find it and take it. Louis cut his father off because he didn't want to hear more. "I'll be fine, just go. You've been repeating those things for the past 4 hours. I'm not a child anymore, and I'll only be alone for 10 years. The easily irritated young man thought to himself, "Father is such a child." Jenner also gave him something, a communication stone, a natural item that usually comes in pairs. When it's filled with energy, you can still talk to me no matter how far away I am. Holding this seemingly expensive item, Louis's eyes lit up. "So we can still talk normally even when you're at the Silver Flower Castle?" Jenna suddenly froze absent-mindedly. "Now that you mention it, I didn't think it would work from that far away." The more he spoke, the more stuck and helpless he felt. Even the smartest person would be the same. "No news means good news, so you don't need to worry about me, just focus on your own work." As he was leaving, his father turned his head back to give final instructions. "If you need anything, just come to my room and find it. When you're bored, you can read my books too. It's dangerous out on the streets, so don't go wandering outside." Seeing his father like that, Louis could only sigh. "You have protected me through countless hardships for the past 100 years. From now on, you don't have to do that anymore." It was only at this moment that he suddenly remembered he was free. The young man snapped back to reality and jumped for joy. I can't believe it. Is this my own castle? Peace didn't last long before Finn came running in frantically from somewhere. Someone was scaring the house leader so badly he was crying. So you were here? Oh no. Got you! Boo-hoo, Master Louis, save me! The young man helplessly went over to grab Finn. What are you guys doing here? The two shadows that seemed like ghosts turned out to be just two little kids. They began to explain, I don't know, but your father kept saying something like that. I don't know, and I don't want it to be that way either. Louis held his head in annoyance and reluctantly replied, say it once, say it in short once. The little girl named Connie, the older sister of the twins, spoke up. Your father went to the Silver Flower Castle and left us all alone. The other kid, named Khan, the younger brother of the twins, continued. He said he would return in 10 years. Louis must be just as worried as we are. So we came here to see if you were bored. We're fine, but we thought Louis would be really bored. At his limit, Louis, who hated trouble, went crazy. Can you two just get out of here? Connie and Khan started arguing, complaining that Louis was selfish. These troublemakers were his next-door neighbors. They were a pair of 10,000-year-old twin siblings. Louis was very upset that he never grew any taller, so his father introduced them to him. At first, he thought they were adorable with their silver hair and chubby cheeks. They played together a few times, but then they started coming over uninvited and causing chaos everywhere. He thought he would finally have his own space to train, but alas. Louis helplessly covered his face and shouted, Father must have made you guys come to endure this suffering. Connie and Khan stubbornly stood with their arms crossed. I can't believe we came to play with Louis because we were worried he'd be bored, and yet he's being so selfish. Khan even bragged that this time he had brought along some toys. After that, he pulled a sword from his person. Louis, curious at the sight, snatched it away and examined it for a while. He turned and asked curiously, where did you two get this from? Seeing the bewildered looks on their faces, it seemed they themselves didn't know its origin. The sword had an unusually glowing gem on it. Could this be a magic orb? He wondered what it did. Louis turned to Finn, Hing. I think this gem is broken and has lost its original function. I'm not too sure, but this is high-level magic. I've seen many spatial swords and similar items, but this orb is far more complex. The space within it must be vast. Louis began to show interest and excitement. Well then, let me try this sword myself. The young man thought to himself, this sword came from a dragon's hoard. It must surely hide many valuable things within. He had to seize this chance to scoop up all that treasure. A few hours later, Louis was still engrossed in studying the sword while Connie and Khan, bored, were rolling around on the floor. After a few more hours, Louis finally finished repairing the sword. The two boys' eyes lit up. All right, hurry up and test it, Louis. Hold on, I need to enhance the elemental power first. Is this sword much stronger than you imagined? What exactly is it holding inside? A purple vortex began to form with an extremely strong pulling force. Could this be a subspace? The vortex expanded rapidly. In the blink of an eye, all three of them were sucked in and transported to a completely unfamiliar place. Louis asked in confusion, where on earth is this? Looking around, all he could see was ice. Is this a cave? He looked down at the sword. The gem on it had shattered and fallen to the ground. Seeing that, Khan started to complain. I can't believe Louis broke my sword. No, that wasn't the sword. It was just an elemental stone. Khan then switched to another complaint. Boo-hoo! Louis broke my elemental stone. Louis turned to Connie and asked, do you know who this sword belonged to? Ah, I heard it once belonged to my mother's great-grandmother. Was your mother's great-grandmother a spatial mage? I don't know much about that. Louis was curious. He at least wanted to know what this item was for before using it. Suddenly, Finn noticed something strange inside. As soon as they entered, there was another sword planted there. Isn't this a subspace for treasure, but a multi-dimensional portal connecting two different places? The young man helplessly realized he had foolishly let treasure blind him. He should have been more careful. This was too careless. Louis looked around. I need to know where we are to find a way back home. The group all followed each other to explore the place. In front of them was a massive and somewhat scary boulder. Louis began to activate his skill. Everyone stand back. We'll break it to get out of here. He hurled the purple energy sphere at the large rock. Connie and Khan ran over excitedly. Wow, what is that? It's cold. It looks like snow. Louis wanted to climb onto that rock to see what was on the other side. Upon reaching the top, Louis froze, his face turning pale. What's wrong? What's going on? Young master, what the hell is happening? The young man was in shock as he realized this place was the right fang of the earth. Connie and Khan, not hearing clearly, asked again, what's wrong? The right fang? He means the left fang where we're standing, you idiot. The right fang of the earth is a mountain in the east, belonging to the cold continent. Hearing that, Louis's face turned ashen, which means we're doomed. This world is called Evan, divided into 4 continents, each with a characteristic climate that never changes throughout the years. The spring continent has mild weather all year round. The summer continent has a tropical climate with scorching, blazing sunlight. The autumn continent is cool with plenty of golden sunlight, which has created bountiful harvests for hundreds of years. Finally, the winter continent, a place with harsh weather, biting cold winds, and snow all year round. And this is also the hometown of Jenner Lucer, located in the Nukchi mountain range in the east of the spring continent. Louis suddenly realized, exactly, we are at the end of the winter continent, near the right fang of the earth area in the east. The young man suddenly yelled out, oh my god, I can handle being reborn, but I don't know if I can overcome the trial right in front of me. I'm always being threatened. The outside world is full of dangers. I never intended to leave home. Right, what if someone finds out I snuck out of the arena? If Jane Lurzer found out about this, he would fly into an iron rage. The young man realized he could still talk to everyone, but he felt helpless, afraid the current distance was still too great to overcome. Louis turned to Finn and asked, Finn, think I could fly across the Eastern Sea? No, why would you have such a strange idea? That cursed sea is the worst place for a dragon to try and cross. This sea lies right on the border separating the winter and spring continents. It's a gathering place for all sorts of monsters. Even a young dragon like me has to stay away. Finn continued, even if you are chosen by the 4 elements, you still can't cross at this age. You're right, I was just testing you. So, how long would it take to walk across the continent to the left fang? I'm not sure, but it would probably take about 10 years. Louis calculated his escape route. 10 years. If I'm a bit faster, I can still make it back before father returns. He turned and said seriously to Connie and Khan, listen up, you two troublemakers. We're in extremely big trouble. This is the right fang, the last place on the winter continent. It takes a 10-year walk to get home. Candy asked worriedly, so are we going to fly back? Louis looked annoyed. No, do you want to get kidnapped? Fine, we can't fly. So we'll walk like humans and hope we reach our destination after 10 years. Khan raised his hand and said, what if we can't do that in 10 years? Then when my father comes back in 10 years and doesn't see us, my father will drown this entire continent in a sea of fire to find us. Louis said this with a dangerous look, but after hearing it, Connie and Khan still didn't understand anything. Why would they do that? Louis was frustrated. All right, these 2 idiots aren't human. He had to come up with another reason. They will beat us within an inch of our lives. Maybe they'll cut off our snack rations for the next 100 years. Hearing that, the other 2 started crying miserably. Snacks and toys were more important to them than the lives on this continent. All right, now we must hurry home before my father returns. From now on, I'll be the commander, and you must listen to me. So the 2 kids started squabbling again, demanding to be the leader. Louis tried to calmly explain. Hey, the leader has to be the smartest dragon. Do you 2 think you're smarter than me? Louis is younger than us, that's right, much younger. Hearing that, Louis got annoyed. You 2, I'm much bigger, and I'll be the commander because I said so first. The 3 of them argued noisily while Finn could only shake his head helplessly. There's still a long and challenging road ahead of us. After a while, everyone's roles were finally decided. Louis was the leader, Finn was the support, and the twins were the burden. Louis declared, done, everything's set, let's go. The 2 kids reluctantly replied, yes, Captain. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered from nowhere. He looked at the bracelet again. It seemed a long time had passed. Connie and Khan saw Seth and jumped for joy. Louis, did Seth hit you again? We want to be hit too. Speaking of which, it seemed Louis had never told them that being hit by Seth was a bad thing. Louis pushed them away, only able to tell them, all right, remember not to leave my side. Dark clouds grew thicker and more numerous. They looked even bigger and scarier than before. Right, let's see what's about to come down on us. Suddenly, a huge explosion sounded. The young man raised his hand high, ready to take the hit, but felt something was strange. What is this? Is Seth sick? This has never happened before. A strange sound came from somewhere again. The blizzard struck so suddenly that the whole group was caught off guard. While Connie and Khan, who didn't know fear, were still incredibly excited. One ran for cover, the other 2 kept cheering with joy. Wow, snow! Lots of snow! Louis Hector, hey, you burden team, turn into your dragon forms now. This time, I'm afraid it's too late. Finn was extremely worried. Young Master Louis. A stream of purple light emanated from his body. Louis quickly activated his skill, but only had a few seconds before the whole group was blown away by the storm. Buried under the thick blanket of snow, he finally managed to crawl out. He thought he would have collapsed right there. Connie and Khan were still cheering without stopping, having the time of their lives. Do it again, just one more time. Unable to hold back his annoyance, Louis turned and gave each of them a heavy thump on the head. Please, grow up a little, both of you. Looking around for a moment, the young man was no longer angry. Where in the world had that avalanche brought them to? The entire path was covered in snow. Nothing could be seen. No wonder Louis could not recognize where they were, nor could he figure out a way to deal with it. Connie and Khan were being mischievous again, rolling around everywhere. Look, Louis, this place looks just like a snow pool. Khan was so playful that he climbed up a tree by himself and then dropped himself into the pile of snow. Connie grew even more excited, trying her hardest. She wanted to swim too. The 2 siblings charged straight into the pile of snow together. Louis could only stand there and watch helplessly. That is enough. Get up here right now. We still have a long way to go. He kept calling but got no response from those 2, so Louis had no choice but to walk closer. He intended to pull them up, but unfortunately something caused him to slip. Following the momentum of the slide, the young man accidentally dragged Finn down with him. In his panic, he kept screaming, Finn, fly up quickly. Easier said than done. The 2 of them tumbled down endlessly with no idea when they would stop. It seemed like there was some kind of magic down below. With that momentum, crashing down would mean certain death. Just as he was hesitating about transforming, something managed to catch him. It turned out to be the original dragon forms of Connie and Khan. Hello there, Louis. We are right here. Thanks to that, Louis landed safely. Right after that, those 2 siblings started jumping and shouting with joy again. In that moment of being saved, Louis said to Finn, Finn, I think we need to respect them more. I think so too, Master, but look around. Where are we right now? It does not look like a natural cave at all. It looks more like a cave created by human hands. Louis thought to himself, this is definitely my first time here, but why does it feel so familiar? Have I been to this place before? Finn also looked confused. What should we do? Louis replied. Let us think while moving very slowly, because one small mistake could lead us far away from the exit. Connie and Con started being mischievous again, running really fast this path. I think the exit is right here. That is right, you go this way, and I will go that way. Louis got angry again. I told you to slow down. Slow down if you keep ignoring the leader's words then. Before he could finish his sentence, Connie and Con froze in place, their faces turning pale. Louis, what are those things over there? What do you mean? Both siblings pointed at the door at the same time. Behind that door was an army carrying many weapons. They slowly advanced, leaving Louis's group with their mouths wide open. Who are they? Finn hid behind Louis in fear. I think there is more than just one of them, Master. Indeed, behind him there were hundreds more, and all of them were giants. Con was stunned. Are they really human? Connie replied, you idiot. Have you ever seen a human with red skin like that? They all appeared in the light at once. It seemed like they were the Winter Warriors. Before the story in the webtoon began, there was a heroic king named Valencia who saved everyone from a chaotic world. After saving them, even after his passing, he still wanted to continue doing those things. It turned out the Winter Warriors was the place where those warriors appeared. The ice tomb of the great king is located right here. Louis sighed, showing interest as he just updated with new information. So it is that far from our home. What a coincidence. Wait, if this is the tomb of that king, then the items from the webtoon must be here too. Among them, some seemed very eager to fight. We shouted, Connie, Con, let us crush them. Those two siblings charged forward excitedly without any fear. Con, full of vigor, held his sword and leaped to the front. Facing the first one, Con's single sword strike shattered him into pieces and caused an explosion. Connie stood there complaining, hey, this is not fair at all. I wanted to go first too. While she was distracted, she almost got ambushed by one of them. Connie, looking utterly cool, delivered a single sword strike that instantly ended that one's life. Louis stood with his arms crossed, watching, and nodded slightly. Not bad at all, right? They didn't look like they were just playing around. Their power was on par with a second-level samurai warrior. Having them by his side wasn't bad at all, was it? Thinking that, Louis decided to join the fight to speed things up. He activated the time rule and bought an item to slow the passage of time. Invisible chains immediately locked onto the Winter Warriors' weapons. Connie and Con were thrilled to see their opponents suddenly slow down completely. It must be Louis using the time crystal to support them. Is that so? If that's the case, then quickly seize the opportunity to take them all down. The two sisters grew more and more excited and charged forward together. They took down enemy after enemy like a fun, endless game. Even the sounds of the explosions brought them immense delight. Look at that, they're exploding like popcorn. Only one last one remained. The two sisters even argued over who would get to finish it off. The final explosion rang out, and everything went smoothly. Con regretted that the battle ended too quickly. Connie also shook her head and sighed. So boring, it wasn't enough. Louis was very pleased and spoke up to praise them both. Come on now, shall we have a bit more fun? Hearing about fun, those two pairs of eyes immediately lit up again. Louis sat down comfortably, admiring the scenery while enjoying his tea. Finn flew close by, attentively serving his master. The scene was like a fairyland, but in reality, Connie and Con were still fighting with great enthusiasm. They delighted in digging and searching, their happy laughter never ceasing. Louis, playing here is so much more fun. Louis sipped his tea, observed the scene, and gave instructions. Con, there's an arrow coming from the right, deal with it. Hearing this, Con immediately rushed over, joking around and easily blocking them. Connie, be careful of the sword blade coming from the left there. At that exact moment, a massive energy sphere flared up. Connie and Con coordinated seamlessly, swinging their swords to shatter the enemy, shouting in exhilaration. Louis, we've dealt with all of them. There's no one in our way anymore. Finn was still amazed by these kids. All the traps and warriors were taken down in a single slash. Truly extraordinary skill. Rest was enough. Louis stood up. Let's head to the destination. We're almost there. Finn wondered, Master, what is this place? Tomb of the Hero King. Finn was immediately astonished. This place is covered with countless monsters and traps. All of them were set with the purpose of punishing any who dared disturb the king's sleep. If we can get through all of this, we'll reach the center of the tomb, a place where an attractive reward awaits. First, this place was meant to be a piece of starting gear for an adventure to get them into the guild. Louis was overjoyed. This is just the beginning. I bet no one has dared to come near this place. In other words, all the treasure here will belong to them. Greed is stirring. Good. We're almost at the destination. Is everyone ready? Receiving an affirmative answer, Louis spoke up. Let's go. The group quickly set off again. Ahead was a vast cave, and the air grew colder and colder. Connie suddenly noticed something and shouted in alarm. Louis, something is coming. It looks really big and ugly. No, I see it. 10 giants, looking like final bosses. They appeared exactly like the originals from the game. Well then, the treasure must definitely be behind that door. Louis was about to reassure them when he turned to look at Connie and Con. Their eyes were already shining with excitement. Fantastic, there wasn't a hint of fear. Dragon blood was destined to be the ruler of all creatures from the moment it took flight. At this very moment, those young dragons had already bared their fangs, showing contempt for the distant enemies. See that round sphere? Get ready to activate it on my command. Connie and Khan immediately responded in unison, laughing. Awesome. Lewis is number one. All right, let's fight together. Connie and Khan quickly rushed forward to close in on their opponents. Both of them fought with such excitement, as if they were just playing around. Louis launched a ball of energy and made it explode violently. The remaining few were fought over by the two sisters. They're mine. No, you have to let me have them. Louis continued to cast time slowing it down even more. Finn stood outside watching, his eyes sparkling with delight. Ha ha ha, everyone is having so much fun. After finishing them off, Connie and Khan stood slapping each other on the back in a very cool manner. Surely tonight I'll sleep well. They rarely got to play this freely. Only Louis had his own agenda. Hey, now let's go check my reward. Standing before the giant door, Connie impatiently urged to open it. All right, I'm opening it now. The door had just opened a little bit. The whole group was in shock upon seeing the countless treasures inside. Khan jumped for joy. There's even more treasure here than in my dad's library. They dove into the piles of gold and silver, swimming and dancing jubilantly. Finn noticed something and called Louis over to look. But he seemed to be focused on something else. The young man's expression turned serious. This is the heroic King Valencia. He sat majestically, his hand resting on his sword, making Finn break out in a sweat. So many years had passed, yet he was still alive. Louis looked down and saw strange writings. The inscription of the Great Star. Going back to the very beginning when the creations of light and darkness were born, they were made as embodiments of good and evil. Light and darkness combined, chaos began to appear. In that chaotic situation, a clear boundary gradually emerged, separating good and evil. The earth was formed, and earthly creatures were the creations of both those forces. Creations of good and evil considered themselves noble beings without any knowledge of the world below. They only dreamed of dominating each other, and the conflict between good and evil caused countless sufferings to the creatures on Earth. Finally, those who could no longer endure it rose up, raising their swords against both good and evil. The dragon race led the way, followed by humans and the hybrid races. After a long war, they emerged victorious and divided the continent into 4 lands. As time passed, humans gradually forgot both good and evil. They also forgot the dragon race and their duty of guarding. The heroic King Valencia once warned everyone about the dragon race. He had accepted sacrificing himself for peace, and that peace would return to the world once again. Both good and evil would as well. As the last generation to know of this battle, I will entrust it to you. I hope you will pass on this story. We thought, was this a demon war? This had happened in the original universe. After thinking for a while, the young man grew angry. You bastard, how dare you assign that task to us? But that wasn't really important anymore. In front of him was the forbidden book of the heroic King Valencia. Valencia, an unorthodox genius, had reached O rank in human form. This theoretical book contained everything he had accomplished in his life. It was hard to believe that the original main character, the swordsman Kendrick, had become the strongest in the human world. Compared to this book, all the other treasures were not worth mentioning. Holding the book in his hands, Louis felt excited, but wanting any treasure he could have, he turned to look at the piles of gold and jewels, feeling regretful. Well, leaving all of this behind would be a bit of a waste. At least I should bring some back, right? The young man stepped forward and shoveled a bit. Suddenly, the ice block sealing the heroic King Valencia cracked. It shattered, almost hitting Louis in the face. How ridiculous! That huge sword plunged into the ice floor. The heroic King Valencia had truly come back to life. Louis was astonished because this detail wasn't in the original story at all. He began to speak. This is not something that belongs to you. Connie and Khan, who were busy playing around, turned back with curiosity. When they learned it was the hero Valencia, they were even more shocked. What? It's really him. Yeah, he's an O-rank warrior, so we can't fight him now. How about we try transforming into our dragon forms? Valencia flew into a rage. The punishment for those who dare disturb me can only be death. At this moment, he looked no different from a demon guarding his own treasure. Louis realized the situation was dire. He had to escape. His feet stood frozen in place, perhaps due to the influence of level O. As for Connie and Khan, the two sisters, they no longer had any interest left. Fear was overwhelming them. Witnessing that scene, Louis became furious. Damn it, do not mess with me. I have trained so hard all this time. Is it just to end here? Louis seriously channeled all his strength into all 4 limbs. Gathering everything into his palm, he threw it toward Valencia and roared. I want to live. That surge of power struck the sword. The ground began to crack open, splitting into 2 halves. Finn panicked and reached out toward Theo. What is going on, young Master Louis? Things were not that simple. A massive block of ice crashed straight down onto Louis. The young man was stunned to realize he was still alive. Finn ran over crying. Young master, thank heavens you are safe. The young man was also puzzled, wondering why he had still escaped death. That king continued to slash the ice blocks in 2, and the cave ceiling also split apart. This power is truly too terrifying, oh heavens. One sword strike could cut a whole cave in half? Unbelievable. Can a human really be this strong? Not stopping there, he suddenly changed direction and slashed at the last second. Valencia's hand seemed to have been injured. He tightened his grip on his wrist and lowered his sword. Oh, young dragons, protect yourselves and always be careful. Louis still could not hear clearly what he had just said. Huh? Say that again, I cannot hear you clearly. There is no time for questions, young master. The tomb is about to collapse. We must hurry. In a blink, Valencia had disappeared, leaving only Louis standing there stunned. Another large block of ice fell, making Connie and Con even more panicked. It seemed there was no time left. Louis quickly transformed into a dragon and spoke urgently to the two sisters. Get up quickly, hurry! Finn immediately clung tightly to Louis's horn. All three dashed off quickly. Do not get left behind. We need to be faster before the ice layer seals shut. Louis immediately activated the reality slash skill to break through the ice peak. The moment they got outside, all three tumbled onto the snow. That was close. I thought I was done for. That was exhausting, but wait, what the hell just happened? The heroic king could have dealt with us, but he stopped himself. Otherwise, all four of us would be in the grave by now. But why? Did he not say he would destroy all intruders? Also, he seemed to be trying to say something before the collapse, right? After thinking it over and still not figuring it out, Louis gave up. Being alive is good enough, and we even got what we needed. That is Valencia's book. At that moment, Finn pointed at the twins. Young master, I think Connie and Con are not okay. They keep crying their hearts out. First, let us find a place to rest. After observing for a moment, resting right here seems like the most reasonable choice. Louis lay back on the snow. Anyway, I will survive no matter what. Two sisters kept crying without stopping. Louis could not blame them, as he was equally shocked. Besides, they were still so young that they would be much more scared than him. Louis decided to approach and comfort them. He took out a heart-shaped object and gave it to the two sisters. Do not cry anymore, eat this. Both of them had exhausted their mana. Yes, sob sob, thank you, sob sob. Even Louis had exhausted his mana. He had never pushed himself this hard since being reborn. While later, everyone continued to rest, and the two sisters gradually stopped crying. All three hugged each other and fell asleep right in the middle of the freezing snowfield. Who knows how much longer this 10-year adventure will last? As soon as morning came, Connie and Con were already bouncing with energy again. They seemed to have forgotten everything from yesterday, laughing and having fun. The snow was really falling heavily. He even packed snow into balls and threw them at each other. Louis stood watching, feeling helpless because the two had been at it since yesterday without getting tired. Inside, after everything they had been through, they still had so much energy. Yeah, I thought you were the one who liked dragons so much. It seemed they had wandered into a desolate wilderness, walking for ages and still not seeing a single house in sight. Could it be that the continent has no monsters in winter? We have not seen a single one the whole way? Finn shook his head. This place was actually a gathering spot for a huge number of monsters. Because of the cold climate, food was scarce, and countless tales were told of man-eating monsters. Louis kept wondering why they had not seen any monsters yet. Finn explained the reason was very simple: because he was here. With 3 dragons in this place, no monster would dare to face him. I understand, so there is no need to hide our aura anymore, right? Just as they were playing happily, Con shouted, Louis, look, there is smoke over there. Everyone was overjoyed and immediately ran quickly towards the smoke. Looking down from above, Louis was horrified to see a village completely engulfed in flames. Oh my god, this village must have been attacked. What should I do now? Louis was stunned for a moment, then thought of a plan. Let's check it out first. Maybe there are still survivors. After a brief survey, it seemed everyone was dead. There were also a few monster corpses lying around. Finn searched for a while, then came back to report. I think there are no survivors left. Connie and Con also returned with dejected faces. There was nothing on this side. I am so hungry now. Louis reluctantly gave each of them a heart. While observing the surroundings, a group of people suddenly appeared from somewhere. Louis immediately dragged the twin sisters to find a hiding spot. Louis, why do we have to hide? Are you scared of humans? I am not afraid of them. It is just that my deathly situations tend to cause trouble easily. Connie and Con were even more confused because they did not understand Louis's intention. He quickly told them to hide their auras. Louis silently prayed, hoping he would not be discovered. Please just walk on by. A moment later, a soldier ran up to report to the man sitting on the horse. It seems monsters attacked the village. No one survived. All right, I will report back to the Grand Duke. That man was the Grand Duke of Kinbaisik. He had received the news and decided to come down to see the situation. She did not necessarily have to come down herself in a situation like this. I am the wife of the Grand Duke. If people are harmed in our land, I have a responsibility to soothe their souls. Then it is up to you. The beautiful woman who stepped down from the carriage was the Duchess of Kinbaisik. As soon as she got off the carriage, the Duchess coughed continuously. The Grand Duke showed concern, but she seemed annoyed. We have been together for 10 years, and I still cannot overcome your stubbornness. Hey, whoever loves more loses out. There are no survivors. The guard lowered his head. Unfortunately, that is correct. Usually around this time, monsters are less active, but since yesterday, they have become unusually aggressive. It was as if they were being hunted by some high-level entity. The Grand Duke took the blame. If he had not mobilized the villagers, this would not have happened. Louis heard this and guessed something. Could this village have been attacked because of them? He felt so guilty. Just then, Connie and Con suddenly yawned loudly, causing the soldiers to discover them. These two kids are truly troublesome. The whole group approached. Who are you? Come out now if you do not want to be cut down. Louis panicked, not knowing how to handle it. This was truly a cautionary tale for parents watching their children. The old guard remained persistent. Come out now. If you continue to be stubborn, do not blame me for acting. Louis was extremely confused. What should I do? I cannot just keep hiding like this. Terrifying voice spoke again. I have warned you. What happens next is on your own heads. He drew his sword and slashed through the wall shielding Louis's group. Finn flew up to try and stop him but was too late. After being exposed in broad daylight, they were all surprised to see a few children. The Duchess covered her mouth in surprise. Oh my, these children are still alive. Louis had just thought of a way to get out of the current difficult situation. He immediately cried loudly, imitating the actions of human children, while Connie and Khan remained dazed, not understanding what was going on. Seeing the twins standing there dumbfounded, Louis stopped crying and turned to remind them, you two cry too, hurry up. Understanding the hint, Connie and Khan immediately sobbed as if they had never cried before, continuously wailing for their mother. If they didn't see it that way, oh, how pitiful it would be. Connie and Khan acted so deeply that they even ran over to hug the Duchess. Louis thought he was clever enough, but they were even cleverer. He began to wonder if the tricks those two usually pulled were all just an act. Grand Duke asked Louis whether they were really the only survivors. Louis sobbed and replied, yes. Grand Duke felt sympathetic and patted his head to comfort him, saying he had endured so much. The Duke hesitated and spoke up, my lord, I mean, those children, can we take them back to the arena? Grand Duke sighed reluctantly, that must be done for now, what else can we do? Take these children and bring them back to the arena with me. This situation is somewhat beyond control. Louis realized that he had originally planned to do so to escape temporarily. The soldiers dragged the whole group along. Back at the castle, Louis soaked in the hot spring pool, feeling as blissful as a fairy. How wonderful, how did everything turn out like this? I thought they would let us go if we acted pitiful enough. Seems like those two overdid their act. Didn't know they could be this kind-hearted. We've crossed the river, so we might as well follow the current now. From now on, I must observe the situation and find an opportunity. Khan and Connie didn't seem to care about the world, they continued playing around. He splashed a handful of water right in Louis's face, making him choke. Ha ha ha, your hair looks so funny, Louis. Louis was helpless, laughing at their antics. Well, it's good to see them so carefree. He didn't expect that while bathing, there would be maids standing around watching. Seemed very fond of children, so adorable. Look at their fair skin, how lovely. Come here, kids, can you call me Nuna? Only Louis found it really noisy. Alright, now let's go change clothes and then eat. The whole group was even brought to dine with the Duke's family. Especially the Duchess showed great interest. Oh my, I almost didn't recognize them. You must be hungry, come and eat now. Looking at the table full of food made him lose all his pride. The whole group rushed in and ate greedily as if they had been starved for 80 lifetimes. Louis also found it strange how quickly they adapted. But whatever, maybe we will leave this place soon, but I can stay so calm when Finn might be in trouble. Where on earth is she at this moment? On another front, night had fallen. Finn was still eagerly tracking the carriage tracks to find Louis. Tracks are surely leading to where I need to go. I must return to Master Louis as fast as possible. If I hadn't been captured by those snow eagles, I wouldn't have lost Master's trail. Finn increased her flying speed. Please wait for me just a little longer, Master Louis, I'm coming. At midnight, Louis wandered around the castle, planning to find a way outside, when he overheard a conversation between the Grand Duke and the Duchess. We cannot keep those children with us forever. I know, but every time I look at them, I hear the voice of our little Jinyu. My dear, I understand your feelings, but treating those kids as our deceased child is not right. Stop it now, forget Jinyu. How can you ask a mother to forget her own child? It was then Louis realized why she had been treating the whole group so unusually well. Inside, the two were still pleading with each other. This is none of my business. Please just treat those children as your own son and daughter. Louis froze. What the hell? What am I listening to right now? Returning to his room, Louis sat with his arms crossed and eyes closed, deep in thought. Even though life here is good, it hasn't been long. How could they see us as their own flesh and blood? The Grand Duke of Kanbok is a member of the royal family of the most powerful nation and the ruler of the Winter Continent. Becoming the adopted son of a Grand Duke would mean Louis could instantly become a key figure within the country. It's a pity. This is probably a very difficult request, even if the one wishing it is the Grand Duke's wife. In the end, the pain of losing a child is too great. He must leave before things get more complicated, but seeing them like this made Louis uneasy. He wished once again, if only Finn were here right now, I could discuss this with her. Speak of the devil, outside the glass window, Finn had found Louis and was knocking on the door calling for him. As soon as they found each other, they embraced tightly. You fool, where have you been all this time? From now on, you must stick by my side until death, got it? Seeing Finn, the twins also ran over, looking overjoyed. Finn was still so moved she shed tears. Finally, we are reunited. And we can leave again. True, but actually I'm thinking we should stay here a while longer. Finn was very confused by this decision. I mean, well, you see, they have treated us very kindly, and I also know that the Grand Duke and Duchess have lost their child, so it would seem a bit odd if we suddenly left like this. I mean it, I'm not exactly in any dangerous situation, and we can still gather more information about the Winter Continent. Finn grew even more puzzled, because Louis was usually so composed, but this time he seemed rather flustered. Even so, seeing Louis this kind-hearted made Finn feel grateful and more willing to serve him. If the young master is so troubled, why not try doing this? The group began to gather together to discuss. Dragons have placed immense importance on their first meeting since ancient times. That being said, the Grand Duke and Duchess are the first acquaintances of young Master Louis. Then you could simply leave a gift and take your leave. For example, the issue here is that they have no children and it would be resolved once they have one, right? The boy sighed, feeling that it was easier said than done. Creating a child was not something that could be done easily right away. Wait, we don't need to give them a child right away, do we? Once their child is born, our sudden disappearance would no longer be a problem. Louis thought this was a good idea and wanted to start preparing for the next step right away. While the Duchess was sitting alone having tea, looking quite sorrowful, the two sisters Connie and Con came running over. Lady, please come play with us. Seeing the children so innocent, the Duchess was also overjoyed. Oh my, alright, are you two bored? Let's have some cookies together. While the two sisters were distracting the lady, Louis would carry out his plan. On another front, the Grand Duke was still busy with work. Just at that moment, Louis stood in the middle of the path, wearing a smile and an innocent, flawless gaze. The Grand Duke asked, "Do you need something? Where are your friends?" "They are playing with the lady." "Aren't you afraid of me?" "No, not really." The Grand Duke found it strange, as children were usually very afraid of him and wouldn't even dare stand close. Gazing at Louis, he couldn't help but think of his own deceased child. Then he bent down and picked Louis up. "Do you want to play with me? Let's play in my study." Despite being busy, he set all his work aside. The two guards standing behind him saw this and couldn't stop shedding tears. It had been so long since they last saw him smile like that. After the plan was completed, the group gathered again. "So, have you two completed your mission successfully?" "Yes, I think so, Captain." He had a pleasant time drinking tea and eating cookies with the lady. As for Finn, she found out that the Grand Duke usually wakes up at 5 o'clock to work. At noon, after eating, he continues his work and starts training after dinner. His bedtime is around 11 o'clock, and he usually contacts the lady 5 times a day. Finn, true to her name, gave a very clear report. Connie had a little question, "Hey Louis," but before she could finish, she was immediately reminded by Louis, who was obsessed with the word captain. Connie had to rephrase. "Captain, we did as you said, but what exactly are we doing?" "Right, playing with the lady won't bring a baby." Louis let out a sigh, calling Connie and Con children, while he himself was the one born later. The boy explained, to have a child, the relationship between the two must be truly close-knit. The Grand Duke and Duchess are still psychologically wounded from losing their child. If they spend time playing and enjoying themselves with adorable children, wouldn't that help heal their souls? The pain of losing a child will gradually fade, and then, step by step, they will become more comfortable with each other. And then next, history will be written at night. Connie and Con innocently asked why writing history at night. Is it better to write at night? As a youth with experience from a past life, Louis casually replied, "This is grown-up business. What would children know?" So now, the book of 1,000 variations of elixirs and alchemical formulas will be applied. Louis had found this book in his father's library while rummaging around for ways to enhance the effects of elixirs. He experimented with thousands of elixirs but got caught by his father, and then he sealed them away after giving Louis a scolding. Louis was feeling very pleased. Who would have thought that the research he painstakingly did to prolong life would be used for this? Among them was a page about an elixir for couples in a less passionate phase. A few drops would be enough to rekindle the initial feelings of love, an instant solution with a 100% success rate for couples wanting a child. Louis opened the cabinet door and immediately crawled inside. "If anyone comes looking for me, just say you don't know, alright." After instructing the kids, Louis got right to work. He activated space expansion, opening up a larger space to brew the potion. Soon this amount of liquid should be enough, right? Now, let's get to work. Finn was in charge of following Louis's orders. "Finn, listen to me. Sprinkle these potions evenly onto the ingredients that the Grand Duke and Duchess will eat tomorrow. Remember this, only put them in their own food." Standing before the gigantic kitchen, Finn was bewildered. "How am I supposed to know what they will eat?" Because of that, she took a risk and sprinkled her entire mouthful onto all the food, rather spreading it all than missing any. He thought they were probably still eating bread, so he sprinkled the medicine on it. Even the bowl of soup was not spared. Haha, the mission was a complete success. Now it was time to return and report to the young master. Next evening, Louis snuck quietly towards the bedroom of the Grand Duke and Duchess. If Finn had done as he was told, their meal today would have the elixir inside it. While he was lurking around, he suddenly heard a strange noise. The maids were whispering about the secret romances inside the castle. It was almost discovered. Next was the process of observing the ducal family. The Grand Duke seemed hesitant, not yet able to speak. He wondered why his heart was beating so strangely fast today. The Grand Duke placed his hand on his wife's shoulder. "My dear, you look beautiful today, my love." Both stood up and gazed at each other with deep affection, a feeling they had not had in a long time. Louis stood there smiling gleefully. This was going to be a hot night. Just as things were going well, the twins came to spoil the fun. "Louis, what are you doing here? What do you mean hot?" Luckily, he managed to cover their mouths just in time. Louis angrily pinched both their ears and dragged them back to the room. "We have finished what we needed to do." The next morning, the lady was refreshed and happier than usual. It had been a long time since she had looked so radiant. Suddenly seeing the servants gathered in front of the children's room door, the lady was a bit confused. As soon as she opened the door, she screamed. "What happened? Why did the children disappear?" The maid sobbed as she explained. "Boo-hoo, when we came this morning, the children were already gone. We are still searching for them." Suddenly, another maid noticed a letter placed on the table. A few weeks later, the Duke received a report. "My lord, there is good news. The Duchess is carrying a new life." At that very moment, the entire ducal family burst with happiness. Duke suddenly remembered the children's letter, so the new life mentioned in the letter was. That's right, it seemed the children knew in advance that she would have a baby. Oh, those children were surely sent to us by God. Overjoyed, the Grand Duke made a decision immediately. We cannot miss this rare opportunity. Quickly open the warehouse doors and distribute bread to the people. Suddenly, the people were allowed to celebrate and rejoice. But they had no idea that the ingredients for those loaves of bread had been sprinkled with the elixir by Louis. That year, Cambok achieved the highest birth rate in history. An unintentional gift from someone's mistake caused a massive butterfly effect. But that was just a story for the distant future. On another note, Louis and his friends were still on their journey home. Khan and Connie were still excited. Louis, I love adventures so much. Let's go again, and then again. The young man said helplessly, just take your time and enjoy it. We still have 10 more years to travel. 10 years is too little. Let's go for a full 100 years. Right, 100 years. Finn could do nothing but stay by Louis's side and comfort him to endure these kids. Louis thought to himself that he had spent too much time at the ducal castle. If unexpected events kept happening like this, the journey would only get longer. To shorten the time, the group needed to know how to fly quickly across the continent, but there was no feasible plan at the moment. Connie got bored after a while and started grumbling again. Louis, why aren't there any monsters here? Young Khan chimed in. Let me, I'm very confident about monsters. Louis had to speak up. Hey, there are 3 dragons right here giving off an extremely strong scent. What monster would be foolish enough to come near? Hearing that, the twins started sniffing their clothes. A scent? Do we stink? But we don't smell anything. Whatever, just knowing we have a scent is enough. What about thieves? There aren't even any robbers, are there? Louis sighed again and patiently explained. In a place this open, the only thing we see is snow. Even if there were robbers, where would they find a house to live in? Unless they suddenly jumped out from somewhere. Just as he finished speaking, a group of robbers appeared from under the ground. Don't move. Hand over all your belongings now. The twins' eyes lit up as if they had seen gold. Wow, they appeared. The robbers jumped out from the ground. Louis's face was full of helplessness. You have got to be kidding me. Seeing that the opponents were just a bunch of kids, the leader of the robbers scolded his subordinates. Hey, you idiots, they are just a bunch of children. I had to hide in the snow all day just to catch a bunch of snot-nosed brats. Now what are we going to do? Well, just by looking at their clothes, you can tell these kids are from well-off families. We can take them hostage and demand a ransom. Fine, having something is better than nothing. What are you all waiting for? Tie them up quickly. Louis did not let them act. He immediately spoke up. Wait a moment, don't you all notice something strange here? What the hell is this kid saying? Only 3 wandering kids in a desolate place with no one to protect them. Don't you all find that truly unusual? Bandits were bewildered. Do you mean there are adults around here? No, there's no one here. Then why would you say that? Louis flashed a cryptic smile. Just think about it a little, and it comes to you right away. Finn, flying beside him, asked, what do we do now, young master? Do what? Surely these 3 have treasure they stole, so we have to seize the chance to swipe it all clean. Just as he was about to act, the twins started whining to go play. Louis, let's keep going, come on. Yeah, let's go play over at those uncle's place. About to scold each of them, Louis suddenly thought this wasn't a bad idea either. If we want to steal their stuff, we have to get to their hideout first. The leader still insisted on ordering the other 2 to tie up all the kids. Louis immediately put his plan into action, raising both hands. We surrender. We'll obediently follow you, uncles. The 3 bandits stood frozen, faces twisted in confusion at what was happening. Seeing they didn't believe him, Louis begged hard, please don't hurt us. The whole group happily followed the bandits back to their hideout. The twins even sang merrily along the way. One of the bandits kept feeling something was off. Hey, don't you think they look too suspicious? What do you mean? Well, people who get kidnapped wouldn't be this relaxed, right? But look at them, strolling along like nothing's wrong without a care. The leader still insisted, what do you know? We just need to profit from them, whether it's ransom or selling them as slaves. Finally arriving, Connie and Khan jumped up cheering. Wow, that's so cool! Louis touched the wall. He had only seen this kind of complex technique among his father's assets. Is this really a bandit hideout? The fattest one boasted, is it our hideout cool? The boss made all of it. Boss? Who is that? The fat one gleefully was about to blurt out, our boss is... Right then, the bandit leader slapped him hard across the face. You idiot. Why do you keep running your mouth? What if these kids get out and talk? Take the kids and throw them all into the cell. And just like that, all 3 were locked up in the cell by them. Finn, you can come out now. Hiding in Louis' collar all this time, it's really stuffy. Louis commanded softly, go and find anything worth stealing. Yes, I understand. As soon as Finn flew out, Connie and Khan slumped down complaining, can't we go too? It's so boring here I could pass out. Louis could only tell them to stay quiet and wait for Finn to return. He deduced this was definitely the bandits' base. If so, they must be storing quite a few interesting things. Elsewhere, in a secret room, a man with a shaggy beard was still casting pieces of metal. Boss, we're back. He was the infamous leader of the bandit gang, Boss Pablo. Good job, did you rob much? Not really, the monsters went on a rampage and scared off all the travelers. But we still got something. We kidnapped 3 kids while they were walking. From the look of them, their family seems pretty wealthy. We can make a big profit from ransom or selling them off. Pablo cackled gleefully. Haha, good, good. Then we shouldn't keep doing this job. They'll lose their innocence. Let's go see how they were doing. He headed toward the cell where Louis was locked up. The moment he saw the kids, he put on a smug, dignified air. Louis couldn't help but be surprised by the towering muscular frame. This guy is really strong. With strength like that, he's probably at least level 3, but he doesn't look like the type to be a thief. After looking straight into Louis's eyes, Pablo was a bit startled. Louis suddenly had an idea and called out loudly, "Hey you fat uncle over there. Are you talking to me, kid? Is there any other fat uncle here besides you? What's your name?" He answered plainly, Pablo. The bandit standing nearby couldn't understand why his boss was acting so strangely. Pablo held his face. "I don't know. I suddenly feel like I'm running a fever." "Huh, if it were someone else I'd get it, but you, boss." Louis chuckled gleefully. "Perfect, he's taken the bait." Pablo couldn't take it anymore and decided to leave. "Watch the kids carefully. I think I need to rest a bit." Louis continued to tease, "Back already, huh? Alright, get some rest. See you later, uncle." Meanwhile, Finn was still scouting around. After a moment, she flew back to report the situation. "It seems the warehouse and everything inside are empty, nothing left. Instead of treasure, I think these thieves will starve to death." Louis was extremely disappointed. It turned out they didn't have a single coin on them. Seems we got played. Wait, since ancient times, people have said that humans are very wealthy. Finn still couldn't understand why they were so poor. Louis sighed. "Forget it, you did well. I'm going out for a bit. Make sure to take care of the kids." "Master, can I not come with you?" "No, if you're not here, they'll cause chaos the moment they wake up. I'll be back soon. Keep an eye on them." Louis used his hand strength to bend the iron bars and walked out. Right, now to catch the bad guys. After returning to his room, Pablo collapsed onto the couch, only now managing to regain some strength. He began to wonder who those kids were. He had never felt such a strange sensation before. It felt like facing an invincible monster, freezing his entire body. After thinking for a while, he reassured himself, impossible. Why would Pablo here be afraid of a bunch of ordinary kids? Probably because he rested too long. His skills have gotten rusty. Right then, Louis appeared behind him with a dangerous look. "What's so amusing?" Pablo was startled, jumping up. Louis innocently waved, "Hi uncle, we meet again." How did you get out here? I just had to walk out, that was all." Pablo still couldn't comprehend what was happening. He immediately grabbed his weapon in defense. "Don't come any closer." The young man still casually paced around. "A big guy like you can be scared too. I don't know how you got out, but I'll let it slide this once. Leave now." Louis turned back to challenge, "And if not, then I have no choice but to beat you until you leave." Louis's face remained cheerful, but he still didn't leave. "I'm not going anywhere, understand, uncle? Try to hit me then, go ahead." He flew into a rage, immediately swinging his weapon. Right after striking, his face changed. "Oh no, I got too angry and accidentally used all my strength." "Too late to stop now, kid. Blame yourself for angering me." Swinging the weapon halfway, his hand suddenly stopped on its own. "Why did this happen? Why did my hand suddenly stop on its own?" Louis peeked out and smiled brightly. "What's wrong? Uncle not going to hit me anymore?" "Uncle, you're a bit weak for your size." Pablo continued to swing his weapon with all his might once more. He overdid it again, fine one moment, then making trouble for himself. Dizzy, he crashed to the floor. "What is this? Already done this quickly?" Pablo now confirmed the kid in front of him was no ordinary person. Just who are you exactly?" "Me? You already knew the answer to that question from the start, didn't you?" "What? How did you?" Right then, Finn flew over crying to inform him. "Master Louis, the twins are causing trouble again because they say they're bored. I can't stop them by myself." Pablo was shocked to see the fairy appearing right before his eyes. Finn also found it strange, flying close to his face to inspect him. "Weird. This is really weird. You definitely have the smell of a dwarf, but your size is more like a troll." Louis answered, "That guy has half-dwarf blood. Must be a half-breed between a human and a dwarf." "Weird, half-dwarf. But how did he get bigger than a human?" "I don't know either, but it's definitely so." Pablo stood there dumbfounded. "Why would I be half-dwarf?" Louis looked over and said, "I told you so, right? You probably know who I am. Try to remember." Pablo began to focus and analyze, then think back, Could it be? Pablo started recalling the words his father had told him as a child. "Son, there are things that we dwarves must always keep in mind. If in the future you meet someone who makes your legs tremble or your body too, and if you feel you can't control yourself to obey them, then run away quickly and don't look back. You are not a pure-blood dwarf. Maybe you can be free from the constraints of that blood. But as long as you carry a part of my bloodline, you'll never be freed from that bond. If that happens, you must run quickly. And if you're in a situation where you can't run, then do as they say. Never forget these things. If you ever encounter a similar situation later, you must quickly turn around and run. You were born with half-human blood. I know you are not a fool. Never speak carelessly anywhere because their ears are always listening." At this moment, Pablo realized in shock that the child standing before him was a dragon. Louis had noticed Nini from the very beginning because of his enormous size, and it turned out his speculation was correct. From the very first time he laid eyes on Pablo, he felt a sense of being pressured, much like the first time he saw the dwarven repairman working alongside his father. Dwarves are an intelligent race, so he asked his father if forcing them to work for free was acceptable. His father reassured him there was nothing to worry about. It was punishment for what they had caused over many generations. He called it the blood bond. Even after thorough research, the only information found showed that the dragon race was nearly wiped out by the dwarves. And that was the only information Louis managed to find. It was unfortunate, but if they had nearly caused the entire dragon race to vanish, vanish, then Louis had no reason to be lenient. He approached Pablo while that man was panicking. They say the dwarves have carved the fear of dragons deep into their blood, right? So, Pablo, from now on, you will be my servant. Upon hearing that, he sobbed and screamed. Finn sighed and shook his head. The young master really was, forcing him to be a servant so blatantly. And so, Pablo had to reluctantly submit to Louis. Not stopping there, the young man also patted his shoulder to comfort him, comforting him that it was the law of life, then asked Pablo how old he was this year. He replied that he had just turned 50. Louis said he was still too young because the senior in front of him was 250 years old. Pablo looked shocked. If he was only 250, then he was still immature. Though he was indeed immature, Louis would never accept that. Just touching that sensitive word would make him loudly protest, calling it nonsense. What's immature here? I am a mighty and serious dragon. Just hearing that, Pablo believed it completely. After saying that, Louis said to get to work immediately. You will work for me for 10 years. Pablo asked in surprise, 10 years. Louis explained it could be less. When the work was done, he would be free. Your only job is to take us home for the peace of the world. Pablo's face went blank, more and more confused. What did taking them home have to do with world peace? Louis asked him if he knew who they were. They were the dragon race and a hatchling. Louis continued to act dangerous, pacing, yes, a hatchling. But have you heard this story? There was a naive knight who killed a young dragon and called himself a dragon slayer. The father of the slain dragon was consumed by rage and mercilessly destroyed the entire kingdom. Even monsters get angry when their young are harmed. So do you think dragons would just stand still and take it? Especially when their parents are two high-ranking O-class dragons. The world would face an unprecedented wrath. Now do you understand? After hearing that, Pablo panicked. Yes, but why entrust such an important task to someone like me? No matter how dangerous he acted, Louis himself didn't understand why he was doing this. The young man thought to himself, tough luck for you because you were the first one I met and you looked easy to handle. Having started solemnly, he might as well finish solemnly, he said. Ahem, well, because you are the chosen one. Those strong shoulders and that mighty strength, they look so sturdy you could spin them around and they wouldn't break. A strong spirit that is always ready to fight. Anyone who dares to challenge you will soon be gone. One glance and I can see loyalty covering your entire body. With dwarf blood, there's no worry about betrayal. Isn't that more than enough to be chosen by the dragon race as a supreme servant? Louis's boasting made Pablo believe it completely. He knelt down with pride. Louis continued, this is the only chance of your life. Think carefully, not just one hatchling but all three. If you bring all three home safely, do you think their parents would deny your contribution? A huge reward beyond imagination is waiting for you. Pablo looked excited. Oh, if that's the case, I understand now. Louis asked if that made him confident he was the chosen one. Pablo said yes. Finn stood watching helplessly. Young Master Louis was truly talented. At this point, Pablo was completely subdued and willing to follow without regret. After his acceptance, Pablo's body was suddenly wrapped in an invisible chain. Pablo flinched and asked what this thing was. Louis replied that he had just placed the shackles on himself. Based on the vow just made, it was also called the blood bond. All promises spoken in front of a dragon must be followed unconditionally. Pablo asked what would happen if the promise was broken. Louis calmly replied nothing much. You just wouldn't be able to have children anymore. Pablo then held his face in despair. Don't be so gloomy. As long as you keep your promise, nothing will happen at all. You sure? Louis said irritably. I told you already. If you don't believe me, go ask another dwarf. Louis led him to meet the twin sisters, introducing him as their temporary guardian named Pablo. Khan and Connie curiously approached, marveling because they had never seen such a tall dwarf. Louis was also puzzled. Even a half-breed would find it hard to be that tall. Pablo explained that as a child, he was much shorter than his peers. At 20 years old, he ate a strange fruit and was bedridden for 10 days, waking up with this body. Louis was delighted to hear this and immediately asked what the fruit looked like. Pablo replied, it looked very strange. Its shape was like a bone. Louis quickly searched the books and discovered the fruit was called the maturation fruit. It was an extremely rare elixir that strengthened the body without side effects, growing only in frigid places, yielding only 3 or 4 fruits each time, and requiring 200 to 300 years to reach its peak potency. The boy shoved the book in Pablo's face to double check, and Pablo confirmed the fruit he ate looked exactly like that. Louis laughed heartily with excitement. That's it, this is the fruit. If he could eat this fruit, he could beat the twins who always mocked him for being small. Pablo asked permission to go outside to inform his subordinates before setting off. But Louis would not allow him to leave. He insisted that the most important goal right now was finding the maturation fruit. Candy and Khan curiously asked what it was, but Louis kept it a secret. Good things must be enjoyed alone. Pablo warned that the place with that tree was occupied by a horde of snow snails and would not be easy to approach. Louis's face scrunched up. Then lead us to that tree at once. Leave the rest to me. Pablo was scared to tears, but having gone so far, he had to see it through. In the end, Pablo had to lead Louis to the territory of the snow snails. This place was now 100 times larger than the first time he had come. But what Louis cared about was not those snails, but where the maturation fruit was. Pablo recalled, it was right in the middle of the snow snail territory. Louis angrily pointed a finger at Pablo's face, scolding him for not saying so sooner, worried they might have destroyed the tree. Pablo quickly reassured him the tree grew in an underground cave hard to find. he added, finding it was a stroke of luck. Those stupid snow snails would never discover it. Louis calmed down, turned to the twins and signaled, "You two, let's begin." The whole group charged down the cliff without any hesitation or planning. Pablo cried out in panic, "Wait, the snow snail tribe is many times stronger than regular snails. We need at least a plan first." Finn leaned in confidently and said, "No need to worry. Fool, don't be fooled by how young they are. They're no ordinary kids. Look, that's the reason dragons are considered the strongest and most fearsome creatures on Earth." The moment they saw the three children charging over, the snow snails panicked. They fled in disarray without a chance to react. The three children unleashed their moves as if playing, happily toying with the snow snails. Connie took them down one by one and then taunted, "Anyone else, come on." Which stupid snail dared to come close? They ran for their lives, and Louis couldn't catch up. Louis stood watching in amazement. Truly the power of dragons, but snow snails are not the type to run away so easily. Finn analyzed, "People often say snakes fear mice. It's the same for the snow snail tribe. No matter how cold-blooded they are, when facing a top predator they tremble, with survival instincts screaming at them. How dare they resist the aura of dragons?" Only then did Pablo realize he himself was also suffocated by that power. The fear of dragons drained all his strength. Just standing before them was to be immersed in terror. Finn nodded. "Humans call it the instinct of fear. The kids are still young. If they go through their second shedding, they'll be even stronger." Just by facing that aura alone, the weak could choke to the point of accepting annihilation in droves. At that moment, a one-eyed soldier from the scouting group ran over calling for the captain. Pablo frowned. Being found at this moment was a hassle. The soldier panted, "Boss, are you all right? The whole canyon is shaking violently." Looking down, they saw rows of snow snail huts on fire. Snow snail territory is being wiped out. What the hell is going on? Pablo pointed at the spot where the children were standing. That was those kids doing. Louis continued using his power to eliminate the remaining snow snails. Connie and Khan gleefully enjoyed the battle, laughing loudly. "Take this, spinning lightning bolt. Running into these kids, you're done for." The one-eyed soldier couldn't believe it. "The children we captured are slaughtering the snow snail tribe." He looked at his boss in shock. "Did you know about this all along, boss?" "I knew it. You recognized their power from the very first glance, didn't you?" "That's right. They are young but possess such terrifying strength." Pablo was at a loss for how to respond when Finn leaned in to whisper a hint. Pablo regained his cool demeanor, nodded, "Of course I knew." The soldier was even more impressed. Truly the boss, a talented man who always spots talent in others. Finn whispered again, and Pablo told his underling, "I've tasked them with dealing with the snow snails." The soldier marveled, impressive. "But what are those monsters? Who exactly are those kids?" After hearing that, Pablo was furious and cursed right to his face. "You bastard, how dare you call them monsters?" It turned out he was copying verbatim the words Finn had whispered in his ear. "You idiot, don't you dare copy all my lines without permission." The only one who had been cursed at the whole time still didn't understand what was happening, boss. Pablo was afraid his lackeys would ask more questions, so he cut them off. Ahem, ahem. "Anyway, they're not people I can treat badly, so remember to take care of them very carefully." On another front, the alpha snow wolf was in a furious rage, directly confronting Louis. It stirred everything up while Louis remained completely calm. "Done yet? Then it's my turn, isn't it?" He casually threw a ball of power at it, sending it tumbling over backward. Everything happened so fast, and the fight was so easy that the young man felt bored. Bald guy was still in shock at what he saw before his eyes. "Boss, did you see that hit?" Connie and Khan, after a while of swinging their sickles wildly, were exhausted. Louis tossed them some food to restore their stamina. "You two did great. I'm going to run some errands for a while, so just rest here for a bit." Looking up at the cliff, he still saw Pablo standing in the same spot, and Louis was feeling annoyed. This guy. Shouldn't he be down here by now? Why is he still standing up there doing who knows what? Seeing Louis's uncomfortable expression, Pablo immediately told his lackeys to wait as he would go down. Louis coldly asked where it was. "Huh?" Even after being asked so directly, he was still frozen, which made Louis even more irritated. "I asked where my matured fruit is." Pablo fumbled and immediately pointed to the place. "This area here is a very dark and narrow cave. If you go through this path and go a little deeper into the cave." Pablo decided to go in first, but something felt off. "Strange, I could get in here easily before." He was utterly helpless with his big butt getting stuck in his face. Louis seriously told Pablo to move aside. "You just stay here. That tree is right in front, right?" Louis slipped through easily and got inside. While walking and observing, he noticed a light glowing ahead of him. "Oh, is that it?" Getting closer, the young man was shocked by the sheer size of the tree. "Yay, I found it." Louis, with a face full of excitement, rushed to Finn as if he wanted to devour it whole. "My matured fruit is right here. I'm about to grow taller." But as he got closer, it was actually tiny, not even half the size as described in the book. It seemed it wasn't ripe yet, but waiting for it to ripen would take up to 200 years. If it's not ripe, the effect will be diminished. Louis fiddled around for a while, then went out. With a very disappointed face, Pablo was extremely curious about the result. "Yeah, the tree is in the exact spot you said, but its fruit isn't ripe yet." "Oh, so what does the boss plan to do? What else can I do? I just have to wait for it to ripen before eating it. If you leave like this, what if someone steals it?" Hearing this, Louis flew into a rage. "What? Steal my stuff? If they want, let them try. Prevent everything." Louis had Pablo put up a sign with clear words, "Do not enter. Touching Louis's stuff will bring you bad luck for up to 9 generations. If you're not scared yet, feel free to come and touch it." Despite acting all tough as soon as he left, Louis still felt anxious and uneasy. You still have some subordinates who can bear witness, right? Use them. Pablo was confused. What? Why do you want my subordinates? Louis got angry again. Are you asking me that? Pablo was terrified and had to say to appease him, you can use them freely, boss. You can do whatever you want. Suddenly running into Louis was really 80 lifetimes of bad luck for Pablo's family. Louis had even set up every kind of trap he could think of, but still felt worried. He needed someone to guard it until it ripened. All of Pablo's subordinates stood in line for selection. But after a while, no one was found qualified for the job. Louis was still hesitant, but it was still worth investing his time in for a future that was really, really high. Hurry up and get it done. Those guys still didn't understand why they were gathered here. The beast was about to go fight. The bald guy looked, still scared. Why is that monster here too? What is it doing here? At that moment, Louis flashed a confident smile and declared loudly, hello, dear members of the Crimson Fang Bandit crew. Today I gathered everyone here to make a very important announcement, and that is starting today. Crimson Fang Bandit crew will disband. Those guys got angrily riled up and started shouting at Louis. Who gave you that right? Is this some kid talking nonsense? Boss, what's going on? Don't tell me you actually agree with this decision. Louis continued by summoning the twins. Begin. Connie and Khan advanced toward those guys and whacked each one on the head. Then they gave each one another hot hit, not sparing a single one. Louis stood there cheering enthusiastically. That's right, well done, hit them on the head. They're next too. Pablo could only stand there crying, I'm so sorry to everyone. All of Pablo's men were taken down, writhing in pain on the ground. Only Louis seemed amused, continuously praising the brawl. He spoke up. See that? This is the reality of you lot, two brats, and you can't even handle them. But don't worry, I will whip you all back into shape. At that moment, a massive catapult rumbled forward. One of the men asked curiously, Boss, why is there a catapult here? Are we being sent to stand guard somewhere again? Louis shouted to get everyone's attention. I'm sure you're all wondering why you've been called here. But instead of wasting my breath explaining, just watch this demonstration and you'll understand. Alright, the show is here. Step forward now. On that catapult, none other than the little girl Connie. Bandits were all horrified. No way, it can't be like this, right? The moment Louis gave the order to fire, Connie was launched high into the sky by the catapult. The girl giggled with delight, while the people below could only think these kids were truly insane. Even Pablo was panicked, unable to believe it. Was this Lord Louis's intention? When she reached a certain height, Connie descended safely with a parachute. After checking, Louis nodded in satisfaction, confirming both the catapult and the parachute worked perfectly. He said, do you get it now? That is exactly what you're about to do. The bandits' faces darkened upon hearing this. What's the matter? Haven't you seen it clearly yet? Or should I give it another try? The second assistant stepped forward, and it was none other than Khan. And so the catapult launched the kid high into the air, then brought him back down with a gentle drift. Since the kids were quite light, they flew farther than the adults did. Regardless, that distance was already sufficient. With this, Louis thought he could manage to get them there before the medicine was stolen. Louis glanced at the bandits. Easy enough, right? You just need to take one quick flight, and you'll be there in no time. What the hell is this? The fat man screamed in terror, calling for help. Save me, please. I don't want to die here. Seeing this, Louis snapped his fingers, and the man went stiff before collapsing onto the snow. I know it's scary, but with just a little courage, you can do it right away. The one-eyed man stood up to protest. Why should we listen to someone who enjoys throwing people around? Who would do such a crazy thing? Louis sighed and turned to Pablo. Wow, really? I told you could do it, didn't I? If anyone objects, you know what to do. The one-eyed man shouted again, what good is it for us to listen to a madman? The others nodded in agreement. Louis crossed his arms and sighed, just as I expected. I told you, you can do it, right? If anyone objects, you understand what that means. With a challenging glare mixed with a hint of malice, Louis made Pablo's face turn pale, his mouth stammering. He stepped closer and asked again, so, can you do it? Pablo quickly waved his hands to explain, I can't possibly be that brave. Louis leaned against the wall again and raised an eyebrow. Come on everyone, your boss says he doesn't have enough courage. Use the catapult to help him practice. Hearing this, the underlings eagerly jumped at the chance, and the one-eyed man rolled up his sleeves immediately. They had long been frustrated with Pablo due to years of accumulated disappointment. It's all the boss's fault. While we suffer day in and day out, he enjoys his leisure. Besides, this catapult was brought here by the boss himself. They immediately swarmed around him, some grabbing his arms, others holding his legs. Pablo screamed, let me go, you idiots. They held on even tighter. Don't blame us, it's all the boss's fault. The underlings, like everyone else, no longer obeyed as they once did. Pablo sighed in defeat. I said let go please, just let me go. After the launch sound, Pablo was sent flying high into the air, exactly as Louis intended. As he soared through the sky, he sobbed in sheer terror. A few seconds later, he had already flown quite far. Louis stood watching, a bit worried since the man was heavy, but he seemed to be flying fairly well. Then he turned to the underlings and asked, "Your boss has flown off. Who wants to try next?" Hearing that, the group burst into tears. "Wah, it's my turn now. Maybe I should just go along with it. Mom, I miss you so much." And so, one by one, they were all hurled into the sky. 4 weeks later, Louis sat pondering over a book. Will this work? This basic technique book is decent, but it's just not enough. Strong opponents appear, they could easily take our mature fruits away. To prepare better, he needed to teach them some useful techniques. The only martial arts manual he had was the Hero King's book on combat moves. But the problem was that those techniques were too complex in his assessment. "There's no time left. I need to find a more useful book quickly." Louis racked his brain, tearing at his hair in frustration. "Damn it. What am I supposed to do now?" Seeing Louis sitting there blankly before jumping up, Khan and Connie appeared from nowhere. "Louis, what are you doing? What's on your mind that's got you so absorbed?" The sudden appearance nearly stopped Louis's heart. "You two scared me half to death." Seeing the book on the table, Khan asked curiously what it was. "A martial arts book? You're reading that? Martial arts books are so boring. I can't believe you read them." Louis asked them if they had ever seen a book like it before. Khan and Connie excitedly boasted, "We've seen tons of them. There are plenty in Father's office." Louis felt a glimmer of hope. "You two remember any of the contents from those books?" Connie proudly stood with hands on hips, boasting, "Connie remembers as many as 5 books. Khan looked unconvinced, feeling jealous, so he spoke up, "I remember 10 books easily." Khan and Connie glared at each other with challenge, their eyes shooting sparks. "If that's the case, I'll remember 20 books, and you'll remember 100. Louis watched helplessly, but he was used to this sight by now. Even though the two still acted childish, dragons are dragons after all. Surely there would be a few useful ones among what they remembered. Louis then stepped in to mediate. Now. Instead of arguing like this, you two should write down what you remember and compare them." Hearing that, the two siblings innocently asked, "Right? Why?" "That's right, writing is so boring." Louis had found their weak spot, knowing their psychology, and continued to encourage them. "Aren't you two competing to see who remembers more? So write it all down and see whose writing is the best. That'll settle it." Mentioning a bet, both of their eyes lit up. "A bet? All right, let's do it now. I'll win for sure." And so, the two siblings obediently sat down at the table, scribbling down everything they remembered. Louis stood behind them, secretly smiling, just as he thought, they're truly just kids. He used a burning candle as the time limit. As soon as the candle burned halfway down, both siblings had finished writing. Unbelievable. Each of them had a thick stack of paper. Connie proudly declared she finished first. Khan frowned and argued back, "No, Khan finished first." Louis marveled at both of their memories. "You two are really done?" Khan and Connie excitedly waited for Louis to judge the winner. Holding the papers in his hand, Louis was a bit hesitant. How could just 1 or 2 books produce this much writing? He wasn't sure about the quality. After skimming through the knowledge, Louis eagerly read every single word without missing a thing. The two siblings waited anxiously, while Louis still stood frozen before the 2 towering stacks of paper. Look at this pile. They wrote over 11 martial arts manuals, and it's all perfectly complete. All the 2 siblings cared about was who the winner was. Has Louis decided the winner yet? Connie won, right? No, Khan won. It was quiet for a moment before they started arguing again. "What did you say?" Connie wrote 1 more book than Khan, so Connie wins. To keep the two from fighting and to maintain a peaceful atmosphere, Louis reluctantly declared this round a tie. Khan and Connie stopped, looking confused. "A tie? What do you mean?" Louis had to analyze it convincingly, even though Connie wrote more, with 6 books. But the martial arts techniques that Khan wrote were far superior. "Therefore, I declare that the 2 of you are tied." At that moment, Finn flew back to report that the mission was complete. Louis nodded, thinking to himself that everything was going smoothly as planned. He had found a suitable martial arts book, and it was probably time to leave. Now, he needed to quickly prepare for the final step. 2 weeks later, the whole group was still diligently training under Louis's guidance. "One-eyed man will be the commander. Everyone, line up." Louis stood on the high platform, arms crossed, observing every move. Overall, everyone's demeanor had changed noticeably, becoming much stronger and more skilled than before. He looked visibly satisfied. This training is truly excellent. I commend you all for persevering through these 6 weeks without anyone giving up. You have worked hard, and you must be very curious about the reason for this rigorous training." As expected, the whole group was eager to hear Louis's explanation. The young man announced, but he did not finish his sentence. Sudden, dazzling light burst forth, overwhelming everyone. Immediately after, a young man in white holding a sword appeared, resembling a holy deity. "My God, what is that?" the one-eyed man exclaimed in shock. This person spoke, "Listen, humans. You have been chosen by me. I am the war god Kalos." The group's mouths hung open. "The war god Kalos? Did you just say we were chosen by the war god?" Kalos is an ancient legend, one who used a sword to fight against the evil demons. He used those very swords to build mountains. As the great deity was appearing and making his selection, the whole bandit gang began to stir. This time, Louis was inside the illusion, controlling it, trying his best to make it as real as possible. The image of the god Kalos was created through the refraction of light and space techniques. Fortunately, it worked just in time. While making adjustments, Louis ran into a small problem. He immediately called the twins to fix the glitch. Khan and Connie quickly ran over. "Don't worry, we'll handle it right away." In just a moment, the flaw was completely fixed. Louis spared no praise for these two smart kids. After that, the young man planned to expand the space with his special power. He continued to control Kalos's voice. That's right, you are the chosen ones. Prepare for a great calamity that will sweep across this land in the near future. You will be the guiding light and the blade that punishes evil. After hearing this, all members of the bandit gang felt heroic and powerful. Louis thought this was enough to fool them. Now he just needed to imprint it deeply into their minds. Right after, he used a different method. The deity's words were instantly etched into each of their minds. They raised their hands as if trying to touch the deity, completely submissive. We believe in you, Lord Kalos. Louis then signaled Finn to act. The girl's task was to pour a special growth serum, concocted by Louis himself, onto the sapling. Immediately after, the tree grew at an astonishing speed and became enormous. So the potion really was effective. Sudden sight shocked the bandits once again. An enormous tree? This is a miracle. Louis continued the deep performance of the Kalos illusion. This is proof of my promise. And this will be the challenge for you to prove yourselves. Taking advantage of the bandits' attention on the tree, Louis signaled Pablo to immediately deploy the plan. Pablo raised his hammer high and slammed it down onto the ground, cracking the stone floor. After the heavy blow, the ground split open, creating an entrance. Louis looked down and continued to maintain the act. Whoever overcomes this arduous journey will be rewarded appropriately. Mentioning rewards, everyone excitedly cheered. Long live the great war god. Louis was secretly pleased that he had finally achieved his goal. Inside the cave, there were not only the twins' martial arts books, but also a spiritual book he had chosen. Getting them wasn't easy, but with the traps Pablo had set up, this challenge was made doubly difficult. Kalos then proudly declared, "Chosen warriors, when the tree has grown as promised, I will return." Right after, the illusion vanished. What remained in the bandits' minds was an unshakable faith in the deity. I understand we are truly the chosen ones. All the hardships just now were only a test for that. The whole gang began to chant and praise in extreme excitement. Their minds were filled with the greatness of the war god, long may he reign. Louis stood watching the scene, a satisfied smile on his lips. It seemed this was a perfect ending. Khan and Connie stood by, clapping and laughing happily. That was fun, Louis. Do it again. Louis pretended to bow his head with utmost sincerity. Only Pablo stood there helplessly. The underlings were still cheering, each one puffing out their chest with pride, believing that they had been chosen by the god of war. The tree and the land around it would become sacred, and they would not hesitate to sacrifice their lives to guard this place. Those naive underlings were truly pitiful. They would spend their entire lives as loyal guard dogs. Pablo sighed and then suddenly realized something. Wait, if they were guard dogs, then wasn't he also a dog being led around on a leash? The negative thought struck him and made Pablo despondent. While Louis turned back and grimaced, "Pablo, what are you still standing there for? Let's go." Even though he didn't want to, his legs still had to follow orders. "Yes, I'm coming right away." Only Khan and Connie were excited. "Louis, where are we going now? Let's find someplace fun." Meanwhile, in another place, the Hoabak arena, General Lusser was still restless, wondering if his son Louis was eating well. On second thought, no matter how important the work was, he shouldn't have left Louis alone at home like that. My poor son, missing such an important moment because his father wasn't there. I wish I didn't have to bear this responsibility. After a moment of deliberation, the father decided to sneak away to return to Louis. Even though there was a pile of pending work, leaving for just one day shouldn't be too big of a problem. Right then, a person appeared and caught him. "Where are you rushing off to in such a hurry? Don't tell me you're planning to shirk your responsibilities and run away." Louis's father quickly tried to explain. "What do you mean run away? I don't understand what you're talking about anyway. What do you need here?" The person who just appeared was Kalos, a lower-class dragon without the light attribute, father of Khan and Connie. "Nothing. I just came here to look around for fun." General Lusser frowned in annoyance. "Don't you have anything better to do? Stop bothering me, will you?" Kalos kept chirping as if he hadn't heard, constantly glancing around. General Lusser grew irritated at the sight. Like father, like son, that attitude is no different. Kalos held a blue orb, speaking cheerfully. "Seeing how bored you were, I thought I'd liven things up a bit." General Lusser could only feel helpless. "You're just too free and looking to stir up trouble." As he stared at the orb, Kalos suddenly saw an image of Louis appearing before his eyes. It seemed General Lusser was constantly worried about his son. Just mentioning Louis made General Lusser's face visibly sadden. Kalos patted his shoulder with understanding. "So you were planning to ditch work to visit the kid, huh?" Though his hidden intention was exposed, General Lusser still pretended to be innocent. I have no idea what you're talking about." Kalos chuckled as if he hit the jackpot, deliberately exposing him relentlessly. "You know that going out without permission is against the rules. What if you get caught?" "Well, everyone knows that, the elders would notice, but if I get caught, then I'll just accept my fate." Kalos grimaced and complained. "Heavens, are you that serious? Worried about Louis that much?" General Lusser asked back. "What about your own kids? Despite his handsome looks, he has such a carefree soul. Khan and Connie, seems like I don't really pay them much mind either." General Lusser looked at Kalos with a bewildered expression. "They're your own flesh and blood, though." Kalos had his reasons not to worry. "You know my kids are very fond of Louis. I told them, if they're bored, they should just go over to Louis's house to play. Besides, Louis isn't an ordinary dragon, right? Actually, Louis is even better at babysitting than I am, don't you think?" General Lusser was fuming, knowing that this crazy man was showing off again. Kalos explained, "Jenner, you're spoiling your son too much. Louis is no ordinary dragon. Louis Louis is an outstanding child born with 4 attributes. If you pay attention to how the boy thinks and acts, you'd see he resembles a holy dragon. No dragon in the world has it as easy as you do with raising a child. It's truly the blessing of your 7 generations of ancestors. Kalos said as if enlightening Jenner Lusser. Jenner Lusser thought about it and hesitated slightly. That is true, but Kalos patted his shoulder comforting him. Instead of worrying about Louis, focus on your own matters. Maybe Louis is more at ease when you're not around. You don't need to worry about my twin kids either. I've already told them to listen to Louis. Jenner Lusser was still uneasy. Those two have the same personality as you. They're bound to cause trouble. Kalos laughed heartily. That's right, I thought so too. Those kids will definitely cause trouble. But if anything happens, I've told them not to handle it themselves. Just let Louis deal with it. My kids can handle things, but Louis would certainly do a much better job. This irritating man even burst out laughing to tease Jenner. Touching a sore spot about his son, the father's pride could no longer be contained. Jenner Lusser got angry and kicked, shattering the entire stone tower, sending Kalos flying out amidst a shower of broken stones. You bastard, I'll split your head open today. Let's see if it's filled with nothing but mush. Kalos screamed in chaos. For heaven's sake, what are you doing? You have to control your strength. In the vast open space, sounds of conflict rang out chaotically all around. At the same time, down on the ground, Louis was also going crazy because of this talkative pair of twins. If there's nothing going on, could you stop calling me? Khan and Connie put on a pitiful act again, but if we don't call you, Louis would just leave us alone. Louis was helpless, not knowing how to discipline these two anymore. He resignedly held his head and spoke gently. All right, stop shouting now. Khan and Connie immediately ran over to hug Louis, while he just wanted a second of peace. The more he grimaced, the naughtier they became. No way, we just want to be with Louis. With the two kids clinging to him tightly, suffocating him, Louis could only lament, what sins did I commit in my past life? Right as the chaos was unfolding, Pablo arrived driving a horse carriage. Young Master Louis, I've prepared the carriage for today. Louis happily stroked the horse's head. Good job. Now we can travel more easily. By the way, Pablo, which is the nearest port heading west? For a western port, the Loophagen dock is the most suitable. It's a place where merchants transfer goods, so it'll be easier to find a ship. Louis was curious as to how long it would take to get there. By carriage, about half a year, but if you factor in the snowstorms that could block the path, it would take up to a year. Louis was slightly stunned. If it took a whole year, things would be harder than he thought, not to mention other unexpected troubles that would stretch the time even longer. Was there a quicker way? After a moment of deliberation, Pablo still could not find an alternative. In this heavy snowfall, traveling by carriage was the fastest option. There was no other swifter way. Louis was puzzled, sinking into thought. Stuck on this continent of eternal winter with no other choice? What was he supposed to do now? Seeing Louis stand silent, Pablo spoke up, asking, Master, I am curious, can you contact the other dragons? Louis's gaze shifted, which frightened Pablo slightly, and he quickly stammered an explanation. Oh no, I know Master Louis has mentioned this before, but if you are acquainted with any other dragon on this continent, you could ask them to take us home. Hearing this, Louis seemed to snap awake. There was indeed one more way. Thinking it over, this continent surely had a few dragons in hiding. Asking them might get them a ride. The idea was good, but carrying it out would not be easy at all. Louis put on a disappointed, thoughtful look again. There is no one. Sir, what did you just say? I said I do not know of anyone. Right, Finn, do you know anyone? I do not know many others. Seeing everyone being asked, Khan and Connie answered in unison. Both even looked serious, saying, we do not know either. Louis was helpless again, saying, well, I did not expect much from you too. If they could find them, the journey back would be shortened significantly. But the problem was where to find the other dragons now. Right, Pablo, do you know any legends about dragons? Pablo pondered for a moment before answering, legends about dragons? I do know a few stories, but we would have to stop at a city to gather more information. It was not certain, but there was still a glimmer of hope. Louis excitedly urged the group to set off immediately. All right, Necken and Connie also shouted with delight, let's go find the dragons. And so the group set off. It was not until dusk fell that the carriage finally came to a stop. It is getting dark, and the next city is still far away. I think we should stop here for the night. Louis found that reasonable, and the twins had already fallen into a deep sleep, oblivious to the world. The sun gradually disappeared, and the entire cold space was bathed in a warm golden glow. Along with the warmth from the campfire, the group was roasting chicken for dinner. The twins' eyes lit up the moment they saw it. Wow, that looks delicious. We are so hungry. Dwarf, when is it ready to eat? Almost done. Just be patient for a little while longer. When the chicken was golden brown, Pablo sprinkled some seasoning and brought it to the mouths of the two sisters, Khan and Connie. They had already opened their mouths wide, looking extremely eager. Next was Louis's portion. Master Louis, you should try it too. He took a gentle bite. Louis seemed to revive with energy from the deliciousness of the food. How can it be this good? The meat is seasoned perfectly. Pablo, rarely praised, felt shy. While eating, Louis urged Pablo on. Now, continue the story from earlier. A dragon once appeared at the precious star tower. Yes, a hunter once told me about it. 20 years ago, a creature rumored to be a dragon appeared in his village. For some unknown reason, Louis became angry, threw a bone straight at Pablo, and spoke harshly. Dragon? You think someone hearing that would consider you a friend of dragons? How dare you call us a dragon? Pablo broke out in a sweat, stammering an explanation, but Louis continued to curse in anger. What else? You dare call dragons monsters? Want me to show you what a real monster is? As he spoke, he stomped on Pablo's foot, causing him sharp pain, and Pablo kept apologizing. Louis did not stop. I give you one compliment and you think you are on my level? Say it again now. Pablo, forced to the brink of tears, reluctantly repeated himself. Yes, according to the hunter, about 20 years ago, a noble entity of the mighty dragon kind was seen at their village. It was only the size of a house, but its roar was incredibly loud. That roar filled the entire village with fear. Louis examined him and sighed. With that little information, its credibility is pretty low, is it not? No different from the rumors last week, right? Pablo continued. Ah, and there is more. After that, the nearby lord deployed a whole squad of soldiers to investigate. They even hired mercenaries trained to fight monsters. Oh, and then what? There was no signal sent out because they were all killed. After that, reports of missing persons at the Precious Stone Tower kept being posted. To this day, few people dare to go near that place. Louis began to ponder and analyze. After sighting a dragon-like entity, a squad of soldiers was sent to investigate but never returned. This is getting interesting. Since we are heading west, we probably will not run into any more obstacles on the path. Based on what Pablo provided, there is definitely something there. But if there is no dragon and only a powerful monster, the chance of facing a large force is very high. That would be like jumping into a tiger's den. Is it worth the risk? Calculating, Louis suddenly stopped when he detected movement approaching. Pablo quickly raised his hammer in defense, asking, "Is it a monster, sir?" "No, it is a person, and seems to be alone." Pablo was tense, saying, "Let me handle this. I will deal with this guy." Pablo shouted a question. "Who is there? Show yourself now. There is no need for you to be so wary." After a moment of hesitation, the person decided to step out. As soon as they met, this person bowed in greeting. "Pleased to meet you. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Jacob Chugel. I was passing by and saw the light, so I came over to check." Hearing this name, Louis felt it was somewhat familiar, as if he had heard it before. Jacob Chugel spoke. "If it is not an inconvenience, may I stay with you all for the night?" Pablo refused outright for a clear reason. "Sorry, but there are children here." Seeing the twins, this person nodded. "I understand. I suppose you would all be uncomfortable with a stranger here. Sorry to bother you this late. I'd better get going." Before Louis could respond, Pablo was already looking proud and boasting to Louis about his accomplishment. "I did great, didn't I? I ran him off, young Master Louis." Louis was still mulling over the name Jacob Chugel. After a moment, he jolted as memory hit, and he urgently told Pablo to bring the man back. Pablo had no clue why Louis would want that, but Louis' startled urgency was plain to see. With no choice, Pablo scrambled on his feet and chased after him. "I'm going right now." If that man was the Chugun Louis knew, then he had to secure him immediately. Ravina, a genius commander of a legion of phantom beasts, her summons blazing with radiance, was also the warrior destined to defeat Louis' father in the future, and her surname was Chugul. If he was Ravina's ancestor, there was no way he could let this chance slip away. When Pablo caught up, he lowered his voice. "Ehem, since you don't seem like a bad person, why not stay here?" Jacob Chugul beamed. "Thank you so much. I owe you my life." As soon as he returned, Louis stared at the man with great curiosity. Jacob Chugul didn't understand why this kid kept looking at him and asked, "What's the matter? Is there something on my face?" "No, it's just that you were able to travel alone in such a place. I think you've got some pretty impressive skills." Jacob Chugul smiled like a blooming flower. "Ha ha ha, though I may have been traveling alone, I was exactly by myself." As soon as he said that, both Louis and the twins were puzzled. "What is this guy going on about? What do you mean?" Seeing the kid's curiosity, Jacob Chugel raised a hand to his mouth and blew a whistle. Sensing the impact, Louis confirmed this was a mind attribute. Though it was faint, the mana signature could only belong to a mind attribute. Pablo could only hear the sound, with no idea what it was for. As he looked up at the sky, wondering, he was shocked to see a crimson-feathered bird with wings appear. It immediately landed in front of Jacob Chugel and opened its mouth wide. The moment Pablo saw it, he panicked, backing away in fright. Jacob had to go comfort him, patting him a few times and saying it was fine. Pablo was already holding his hammer, looking like he was about to swing at the bird. Jacob explained. "This bird is my summon. Its name is Minky." "You said what? But that's a six-winged crimson bird, isn't it? I heard it can match a wyvern once it matures. How could you possibly tame such a beast?" Jacob walked over and petted it. "I raised this little bird ever since it was a chick, so it's no wonder it listens to me." Pablo dropped his hostility, looking shocked as he asked. "So you were a wizard?" "That's right, though I am still quite inexperienced." Louis frowned in thought. A wizard named Chugul. Could he truly be Ravina's ancestor? Not wanting to speculate any longer, Louis immediately went over to probe. "So Jacob, let me ask you something. Have you been married?" "What, married? Oh no, I haven't." "Then do you have any siblings at home, or perhaps cousins with the surname Chugun?" Jacob hesitated before replying. Well, I'm actually an only child. My father and I are the only ones bearing the name Jacob Chugul." Louis was thrilled at his accurate guess. There he is, my father's enemy, even if that's still to come in the future. Jacob wondered why Louis was so fixated on that topic. Louis scratched his head innocently. I was just a little curious, that's all. His face was innocent, but the moment he turned away, Louis's expression turned crafty. He was scheming to ensure Jacob would never have any descendants. For some reason, Jacob suddenly shivered violently, figuring it must be the cold. Pablo noticed and invited him over to sit by the fire, where they were enjoying the warmth. All of a sudden, they noticed the twins getting overly excited about the giant bird. I've never seen a bird this big in my life. Khan and Connie were about to get close, but Jacob jumped up. Don't come too close. If anyone besides its master gets near it, then it could be dangerous. Before Jacob could finish his sentence, the two sisters were already on the bird, one holding its belly and the other lying right on top of it. Wow, look at this. It's so soft. It's like a giant feathered blanket. No one could stop the Khan and Connie twins unless Louis personally grabbed them and pulled them off. Don't touch other people's pets without permission, you hear me? Just as Louis looked over, he had already seen his true nature. It let out a sharp cry and charged at him. Jacob sensed the danger and moved to intervene. But suddenly, the bird was lying still as a dog, letting Louis pet it. Its face even showed pure contentment. Wow, whose bird is this, so well behaved? Jacob went pale, and even felt a tinge of jealousy. Though it was his own familiar, it had never shown such a happy expression to him. Khan and Connie once again piled onto the bird, and even said they'd sleep on it tonight for comfort. Jacob was baffled. How is this possible? What's so special about these kids? Pablo stammered, wanting to explain but too afraid to, so he just gave a vague reason. They were my grandkids. After a night passed, the sun rose, and it was time for them to set out. After Pablo finished packing, Jacob came over, scratching his head. I'm really grateful for your kindness last night, and now you were even letting me tag along. I don't know how to repay you. Behind that cheerful act was Louis's grim face. He had already warned Pablo beforehand, do whatever it takes to get him to come with us. Only Pablo could see the dark look behind, and could only smile awkwardly. Haha, since we all share the same goal, this works out well. And what about that summoned beast over there? Oh, you don't have to worry about that, it will follow me. After hesitating and not getting on the carriage, Louis grew impatient. Slow old man over there, it's time to go now. Ah, right, let's go. Pinky soon flew after them. Settling into the carriage, Louis seized the chance to ask more. So where are you headed, brother? I want to go to a mountain to the west called the Tower of Money. Hearing that, Pablo gave a slight start. Louis was the one to ask further. Why does he want to go to that mountain? Jacob suddenly flashed a knowing smile. Hey, because on that mountain there might be something that can help him realize his dream. Louis began to have a bad feeling. Jacob clenched his fist and declared solemnly. If he asks what his dream is, it is to tame a dragon. He wants to make it his own personal mount. Hearing this, Louis was furious. Jacob still did not realize and continued to speak enthusiastically. Dragons are the most powerful and legendary creatures on Earth, the dream and conquest goal of every mage. If he can tame a dragon, then he will not have to fear anything anymore. A dragon mage sounds cool. Pablo felt danger approaching and quickly cut in to salvage the situation. Haha, he really is something. His dream sounds a bit difficult and dangerous. He could get torn to pieces. Jacob still did not understand and continued talking. That is why they call him a man with a dream. Everyone just wait. One day he will accomplish this dream. Louis was about to lose his temper, thinking secretly that maybe he should just log him out right now. It is unclear what the entity on the mountain is, but one thing is certain, it is not a dragon. If it were a real dragon, that fool Jacob would never have lived to tame it. And if that were the case, Ravina would not have been born. Louis came to that conclusion. So the entity on that mountain is definitely the lightning tiger. If he truly tames the lightning tiger on the mountain, then it will gradually develop through generations and become Ravina Mutt's companion. But he definitely will not let that happen. He has to intervene as soon as possible. Louis had to swallow his anger and pretend to be friendly. Oh, his dream sounds wonderful. Haha, thank him. May his dream come true soon. If possible, he will let him ride it around as much as he wants. Pablo felt more scared with each sentence he heard. Truly a man of experience. Ah, poor guy, he has come this far. He might as well offer his condolences early. After some time of traveling, they finally arrived at Money Tower Mountain. Jacob stretched enthusiastically. What a wonderful morning to go see a dragon. Louis had just woken up as well. That is right, the weather today is so beautiful that even dragons wake up in high spirits. Luckily, Jacob did not notice what Louis just said. Did he sleep well? Good morning. Yes, but does he see the twins anywhere? Jacob looked around. The twins in red? He has not seen them since he woke up. Did they not sleep together in the car? Pablo just woke up with a yawn, so Louis asked, Hey uncle, have you seen the twins anywhere? Pablo was dazed and a bit panicked. No, I have not seen them. Is something wrong? Where could the two of them go at this hour? Louis worried in case something happened. Right then, Finn flew back and reported that he had found them. Louis breathed a sigh of relief. Oh really, where are they? Finn stammered, unable to speak. Ahaha, well. Right then, the twins came running back in a panic, shouting wildly and dragging their prize along. Louis, look, we found this cat. Khan argued back, there is no cat that big around here, it is an owl cat. Louis was immediately horrified, thinking to himself, it is not a cat, nor is it an owl cat at all. Jacob could not believe it. What is going on? That is a lightning tiger. Such a fierce creature. Yet it was treated like a toy by those two kids and dragged back here. It is really cute. Can we bring it along? Please, we will take good care of it. Khan and Connie kept whining and begging like that. Louis tried to stay calm and ask for the truth. Wait, before discussing that, where did you find it? Connie proudly pointed. We found it on that mountain. Yes, it came to play with us, so we played with it too. Louis did not anticipate this situation. Feeling a headache coming on, he was indeed looking for the lightning tiger, but he did not expect it to happen this way. Jacob also stepped forward and sighed. Oh my, a living lightning tiger. Khan and Connie argued back loudly. No, that is our Nabi. Do not touch Nabi. Louis did not expect them to have already given the tiger a name. He unconsciously turned to look at the tiger. It was drowsy and unconscious, one eye closed and one eye open. Then it opened both eyes. It seems it is pretending to be unconscious to avoid being pestered by those two kids. Louis stepped forward to expose it. Hey, you are awake, are you not? Your eyelids are twitching, and your breathing is heavy too. Are you really unconscious? Seeing that it was exposed, the lightning tiger immediately jumped up and lunged forward. Khan and Connie were delighted and cheered when they saw their friend wake up. That sudden lunge startled Louis. He decided to provoke the tiger. Hey you dare to scare me? Unable to control himself, he punched it and sent it rolling. Jacob saw that and could not believe his eyes. Did the kid take down a lightning tiger with just one punch? Pablo awkwardly ran over to explain. My nephew is just a bit bold, you see. Even so, Jacob was still in shock. On the other hand, the twins looked extremely worried. Nabi, does it hurt a lot? Let us heal Nabi. Jacob could not believe it and turned to ask Pablo again. And you call that a bit bold? Look at that lightning tiger, it is clearly afraid of them. Louis also found it puzzling. No matter what, it was still a cub, and its mother was nowhere to be found. The real issue was how it ended up in this situation. Suddenly, he sensed an incredibly powerful surge of energy coming from somewhere. Could this be the power of the mother thunder tiger? Jacob and Pablo were also overwhelmed by this majestic sound. At that very moment, a dark green wyvern dove down. Caught off guard, Jacob screamed in terror. Oh my god, what is that? Louis hurried over and covered his mouth, silencing him to avoid attracting the monster's attention. Priority now was to conceal the group's presence. Louis immediately activated his stealth space, and Truclat conjured a circular membrane that enveloped them. Jacob looked up in astonishment. A stealth space large enough to cover the entire group at once? How could such a young child possess such an incredible skill? Even after witnessing Connor Z, Jacob was still in awe. Not only was there a rare thunder tiger, but also a wyvern that had vanished for 100 years had appeared. What on earth was happening here? Wait a moment. Could the rumored dragon on the mountain actually be this wyvern? So, there was never a dragon at all. Jacob felt a flicker of disappointment before turning his gaze back to Louis. This kid had detected its presence faster than anyone and immediately cast high-tier magic. Just who was he to possess such remarkable talent? Could his skill only be described by the word genius? This child, don't tell me he is. Just then, the wyvern suddenly became frenzied. Louis broke out in a cold sweat, fearing he could hold on. This was bad. Why did a wyvern have to appear here? Finn, is there any way to deal with it? Finn stared intently, his eyes gleaming as he answered. The wyvern is a creature nourished by the blood of the demon dragon Rotiviria. Bearing a part of the dragon's blood, it is immune to the fear that dragons instill. To fight it, we need at least 3 or 4 level 1 warriors. Louis' face stiffened. Charging in now would be certain death. Why would a creature that should be deep within the mountain caves come down here? Was it searching for something? Could it have been following this thunder tiger? After failing to break through the barrier for a while, it gave up and turned away. Suddenly, dark clouds rolled in, darkening the sky like ink. Flashes of lightning began to appear within the dark clouds. Immediately after, a bolt of lightning struck straight down toward Condorcet. Louis' shield shattered under the impact. As the sound faded, the Jake appeared right in front of them, and the young man could only force an awkward smile. Haha, looks like my spell was broken, huh? Let's run. The whole group fled for their lives in unison, and so did the Thunder Tiger. The twins looked terrified and cried out, Louis, it's chasing us, we are so scared. Louis urged anxiously, shut up, keep quiet, and focus on running. Jacob was gradually losing steam, gasping for breath. Pablo urged as he ran, come on, or it'd catch you. Amidst the escape, Jacob wondered, my speed can match Pablo's, but how are those kids so fast? I knew it, they definitely aren't ordinary children. Thinking while running slowed him down, and in the blink of an eye, the wyvern was right behind Jacob. Danger was imminent, and just then, Jacob's pet bird arrived in the nick of time. It raked its claws across the wyvern's head, inflicting a severe wound. Louis realized this was an opportunity not to be missed and used the time to think of a plan. Finn had just come up with an idea. The wyvern's skeletal structure is very rigid. Running in a zigzag pattern will slow it down. Head toward those trees. Louis began to shout orders. Everyone, run zigzag up the mountain. Minky stayed behind to fight Condorcet one-on-one. Enraged, it spewed fire, hitting Minky. Unfortunately, Minky fell to the ground. Jacob could just stand by, so he rushed straight to his pet. Perhaps out of worry, Louis found it utterly baffling. In the middle of this life-or-death crisis, what was this guy thinking? Running straight at the wyvern when even the six-winged chain could defeat it. Could survive if we just head straight up the mountain. As he was thinking this, Louis suddenly stopped dead. He immediately decided to run back toward Jacob. It's just my luck. If I survive this calamity, I swear I'll make you infertile. Seeing Louis run after Jacob, Pablo, and the twins also stopped. "Louis, we'll go with you." All three of them followed, leaving only the Thunder Tiger standing alone. It immediately chased after them as well. Jacob ran over and urged frantically, "Minky, wake up!" Even though the dire wolf was severely injured, it still tried to lunge forward and bite Minky hard. Jacob could not stand by and watch his pet get hurt, and he immediately flew into a fierce rage. "Hey, you damn lizard, what do you think you are to dare act so recklessly?" As soon as he finished speaking, Jacob immediately activated his magic and attacked the opponent directly. Dire wolf opened its eyes and began thrashing violently, struggling without stop. Jacob's face twisted in shock, not expecting his attack to have no effect at all. In an instant, Jacob was about to take a furious counterattack from the dire wolf. Louis appeared just in time and pulled him away. "Get out of the way, you idiot!" The dire wolf continued to thrash about crazily. Louis was forced to activate the mirror stone, turning the tide with a counterattack. After taking the hit, the dire wolf let out a miserable shriek. It was temporarily immobilized. Jacob ran over to Minky worriedly. The bird was in a critical condition. The dire wolf was truly no pushover. Its bite had broken through Louis's magic. If that's the case, we'll have to use the mind technique, a skill that brings the opponent down. As soon as he used it, Louis successfully controlled the monster. "Great, take the hit, you beast." Thought it was over. But once again, it broke free from the mind technique. Louis stood there stunned, sweat pouring out. "What's this? Even the mind technique fails?" Finn, standing beside him, suggested that its instincts were only hunger, mating, and fighting. The mind technique was useless because it was too stupid. Louis was confused. It was clearly powerful yet unbelievably dumb. Dire wolf once again went wild, roaring loudly and fiercely. The twins had just caught up and lunged forward, each landing an attack on it. Even though they used all their strength, it was still useless. "Oh dear, why is this so hard to deal with?" Connie shed tears, crying out that her arm hurt too much. The more they attacked, the more fiercely the dire wolf resisted, but it seemed to be struggling in great pain now. Ha! So the twins' attacks were effective. Connie, keep attacking. It can be hurt by the light element. Twins were surprised, not expecting to be so useful. Louis continued to encourage them, telling them to increase the light power and keep attacking. The two sisters finally understood and charged forward again with tense faces. They split up, one on each side, and the dire wolf lost its bearings, its panic growing ever greater. Excellent. Magic resistance cannot protect its internal organs. Maybe these kids were underestimated. Even though they're young, we are still a noble lineage. Let's turn this thing into a light-baked pastry. Louis unleashed two streams of power and charged forward to coordinate with the twins. Jacob and Pablo stood frozen. "Oh my god, fighting a dire wolf. Who on earth are these kids?" Pablo broke out in a sweat again, explaining with embarrassment. "Haha, they're my grandchildren, a bit strong, that's all." Jacob asked in surprise if they were really his grandchildren. "Well, yes, but don't interfere or you'll get severely hurt." Meanwhile, Louis was attacking continuously, giving the monster no chance to escape. After miserable shrieks, the dire wolf seemed exhausted and collapsed to the ground. Louis tried to encourage the twins. "Keep it up, almost done." Con and Connie were tired of this battle, both in tears. "Sob, Louis, I'm so tired, my arm hurts so much." Louis gently coaxed them. "Be good, endure a little longer, just a moment more and it'll be over." In that moment of pause, another dire wolf unexpectedly appeared. Dealing with the first one was already exhausting. Before they could even catch their breath, another nuisance showed up. Connie asked worriedly, "Louis, what do we do now?" Louis was trying to find a way to solve this. He didn't want to reveal his true form in front of Jacob, but now there was no choice but to transform to get Pablo and Jacob to escape. Just as he was about to tell the twins, two thunder tigers came out of nowhere, knocking the dire wolf away. "Oh my god, two adult thunder tigers." Louis suddenly realized they appeared because of the thunder tiger cub. When the cub is in danger, its parents will surely appear. Twins were delighted to see this. "Wow, what a big cat. Kitty, I love you so much." That dire wolf, after recovering a bit, struggled to get up. Louis gave it no chance to escape. He immediately used magic to form a chain and bind it tightly, absolutely not letting it get away. For now, everything was settled. Louis shouted urgently, telling Pablo behind him to provide reinforcements immediately. "Yes, I will go right away, master," he replied while fumbling nervously. Unfortunately, Pablo accidentally let the truth slip out. Jacob was instantly stunned. "Wait, master? Did you not say he was your nephew?" There was no time to explain at this point. The lightning tiger charged in from outside, clamping its jaws tightly onto the centipede. Caught off guard, the centipede whirled around and bit back, flinging its enemy away. The lightning tiger crashed hard onto the snow-covered ground, its body badly wounded. However, it still struggled to rise once more and lunged forward to attack. After being torn open by the bite, the centipede let out a chilling, eerie cry. The already injured lightning tiger was in even worse shape, blood spilling from its mouth continuously. Even so, it showed no intention of giving up. It continued to bite and tear at the centipede until it was hurled violently into a tree trunk. Just as it got back up, it coughed out mouthfuls of blood again. Remaining centipede, seeing its mate gravely wounded, flew into a mad frenzy of rage. At this moment, it knew it had nothing left to lose, so it went all in recklessly. It charged straight forward and clamped its jaws tightly onto the centipede. The lightning tiger tried to hold its bite firm, ignoring the centipede's thrashing, determined not to let go. Tiger cub stood at a distance watching its parents fight, its eyes already welling up. It turned to look at the centipede lying limp on the snow for a long while. Louis let out a heavy breath. Everything had finally come to an end, and the twin pair had also collapsed from sheer exhaustion. At that moment, Pablo pointed to the side. Master, the lightning tiger is coming over here. It looks fierce, but in truth, it only wants to be reunited with its cub. It clearly has no intention of attacking anyone in the group. After that, the mother tiger turned its gaze toward Louis, making him jump with a start. Could this tiger have recognized who they were? Simply stared straight ahead, then walked off in one go. The tiger cub looked crestfallen. Tears welled up and spilled over without restraint. It was not until the mother tiger's silhouette vanished entirely behind the mountain. Finn said sadly, that lightning tiger must have been prepared to sacrifice itself from the very start. It risked its very life to protect its young, truly the rightful king of magical beasts. Suddenly, a flash of light flickered on the mountaintop, a strange kind of light. Louis suddenly left Finn behind, asking her to watch over the kids for a while. He wanted to climb the mountain to see what was going on. Finn was worried because she sensed that place was very dangerous. Louis remained adamant about going. No need to worry, I will be back soon. He was rather surprised to see the lightning tiger cub lying still and obediently in place. It looked at him with teary eyes as if inviting him to ride on its back. You are not tired yet, fine then, let us move forward. Its speed was astonishingly fast. Sitting on its back, Louis began to feel doubtful. If this lightning tiger could run this fast, how could those twins have managed to catch it? As soon as he arrived at the spot, he truly could not believe his own eyes. They had fought the Desik to the very end. Seeing its parents lying collapsed in a pool of blood, the tiger cub wailed even harder. It ran to its mother's side, licking her face without stopping, but all was in vain. Louis stood watching the scene, feeling a lump in his throat. You have lost your parents too, just like me in my past life. He stepped forward and gently patted and comforted the tiger cub, but it still could not stop sobbing. It seems this is how the Chugun clan builds their bond with the lightning tigers. The Desik and the lightning tigers originally lived together on the same mountain. From the very start, they were destined to be unable to avoid conflict. Even if Louis had not shown up, they would have torn into each other on their own. Thanks to this incident, it could be deduced that Jacob was the one who raised this tiger cub. Upon reviewing the matter, Louis realized that since it was he who stood here now, the events of the past would not repeat themselves. He activated the mind hypnosis spell on the lightning tiger. Now look straight at me. The cub turned to look and saw Louis's true form, a supreme grey dragon whose presence made it tremble in sheer terror. He quickly soothed the tiger's mind, telling it there was nothing to fear here. If you trust me, then I will take you with me. He reached out his hand and spoke to ask it. You want to come with me? Those teary eyes were strangely focused. Immediately, it extended its front paw, silently agreeing to follow him. Louis was overjoyed to see the beast submit to him. Haha, very good. At that moment, the other four had also reached the mountain peak. Louis, what are you doing up there? Jacob was still in shock. This was definitely a high-level spell from the Rick clan, the domination spell. Though young, this lightning tiger was a supreme monster, yet now it was completely obedient to the boy. I understand, just as I guessed, you are. Louis heard that and thought his life was over. He didn't expect his identity to be discovered by that man. Jacob's face stiffened as he declared, so you are a high elf, right? Louis was stunned. He didn't expect that man to guess so spectacularly wrong. All that hiding was for nothing. Jacob ran over to shake his hand warmly. It was an honor to meet the forest guardian. Did you use a spell to hide your ears? Louis was flustered. Ah, well, I think there's some misunderstanding here. Suddenly, he had an idea. Wasn't this misunderstanding perfect for him? Letting him misunderstand this way kept his real identity safe. Louis then cleared his throat a few times, acting his heart out. Yes, that's right. I am the protector of the forest, a high elf. Pablo watched with a wry look. Isn't this kind of a scam? Jacob even went so far as to feel guilty. I'm sorry for not recognizing you sooner. Please forgive my ignorance. Louis grinned, striking a majestic pose with his hands on his hips. It's fine. Everyone makes mistakes. The twins were surprised. Do elves usually talk so strangely? Oh well, Louis probably had never met an elf before. Jacob turned to look at the two kids and asked respectfully, so these two must also be. Khan and Connie were baffled, not understanding anything. Louis, afraid the twins would ruin the act, quickly answered for them, that's right, they are my guards. Pablo felt a headache coming on, but then thought, whatever, it wasn't the first time he'd done this. The twins, feeling wronged by being put down, protested continuously. Louis wanted to use the opportunity of Jacob's trust to give him a job. Hey human, I have a request. Can you take care of this little one? Jacob was startled. What? You want me to take care of this lightning tiger? As soon as he finished speaking, the twins jumped up in protest. Hey, who gave you that right? Nabi is ours. Louis had to ask Pablo to hold the two kids back. Pablo dragged the two kids aside by their collars, ignoring Khan and Connie's struggles. They weren't allowed to take Nabi. He turned back to Jacob and asked, what do you think? Can you raise Nabi? He hesitated a bit, but this boy had already signed a contract with a high elf. Louis explained, I plan to take him because I had no choice, but the journey ahead is very difficult. I'm afraid he won't survive it. If only, when even a high elf said the journey was difficult, Jacob's face filled with worry. Louis confidently asserted, from my observations, you'll take good care of him. You just need to raise him until I come back to get him. Jacob seemed more determined. Yes, I understand. Just leave him to me. I'll care for him like my own child. Thank you, I'm counting on you. He turned to instruct the lightning tiger to obediently follow Jacob. The lightning tiger looked at Louis sadly with pitiful eyes. He petted its head and advised it. I can't take you with me now, but if you listen to him, I'll come back for you one day. After feeling reassured, timidly walked over to Jacob. To get acquainted, Jacob sat down and asked, your name is Nabi, right? I'll take good care of you, Nabi. Louis looked at the scene with satisfaction. The lightning tiger had formed a contract with him, so it could never become an enemy. Louis crossed his arms, remembering something. Also, feed Nabi light elemental stones from now on. Eating those will make him big and strong in the future. You won't regret it. As dusk fell, they bid each other farewell and set off on their journey. Despite a few troubles, everything had been resolved smoothly. No dragon, but Louis had brought the lightning tiger to his side, which counted as a major win. It was time to think about heading out again. One problem solved, another appeared. As they were about to continue west, the twins sat with sulky faces, looking very angry. I hate Louis now. You took our Nabi, we're not playing with you anymore. Louis had to pull out some snacks to tempt them. Since he knew exactly how to handle kids who wants to try some delicious elixir. This easily tricked the two siblings back onto the carriage. Khan and Kani completely forgot about the tiger Nabi, asking for more. Give me 2, I want 3. After a tiring journey, they finally arrived at their destination. Pablo was exhausted, while the twins cheered noisily. Wow, so many people! Finally, they arrived at the port city of Ludigan. Khan was extremely excited. Louis, there are so many people here. Look, beast folk, this is the first time I've seen them. Finn was also thrilled. This place was completely different from the village they'd just been to. Ludigan had all kinds of people. This port city was crowded because it was a trading hub. It was a feat to even get here. It took half a year to travel from the Kashmir mountain range to Ludigan, and that was only half the journey. Louis was eager to get home, but the twins found something interesting and started causing a commotion. Louis, look, there are so many fun things here. Louis got annoyed and scolded them. Shut your mouths now. He had already told them not to bother him, to leave him alone, those fools. He was already irritated, and the more annoyed he got, the more those two enjoyed it. Haha, Louis is angry. Come on, get angrier. Just as his irritation peaked, Pablo announced they had arrived. Stopped at the Siren Inn. Do you really like this place? This rundown inn? Pablo scratched his head apologetically. It had been 10 years since he last dropped by. Let's head inside first. As he pushed the door open, a girl greeted them warmly. Welcome, honored guests. Welcome to our Siren Inn. You need a place to eat or a place to stay? We were planning to stay here, but as soon as she stared at Pablo, the waitress froze with a flustered look. Hold on a moment. Uncle, you're Uncle Pablo, right? Do you know me, little girl? It's me, Moana. Have you forgotten me, uncle? Only then did Pablo realize that little girl Moana from back then. Moana happily pounded her chest and boasted, I've grown up. I'm 24 years old now. Right after, the owner called out another girl named Lucia. As soon as she saw Pablo, Lucia ran over. Ha ha ha, look how much Lucia has grown. She's ready to get married now. Louis stood there dumbfounded, not understanding how this turned into such a touching reunion. The old man really was a regular here. Pablo looked around. Oh, where are Harmon and Julia? Off to the market already. Two sisters lowered their heads, tears streaming down. Their parents passed away 3 years ago. They were hit by a carriage. Pablo looked alarmed at this news and even blamed himself. I'm sorry, I came too late. It's all right, uncle. My sister and I have taken over this place now and we're managing it just fine. At that moment, they became curious about the children standing behind Pablo. Who are those 3 kids behind you, uncle? They're not your children, are they? Pablo was puzzled. What do you mean by that, dear? Anyone looking from outside would guess they are my children. Lucia was surprised, while Moana knew this old uncle was lying and gently reminded him, your dignity is on the floor, uncle. Pablo had no choice but to make an excuse. They are my grandkids. The 2 sisters still didn't believe him. Strange, those adorable little kids are his relatives? Well, they're very, very distant relatives. Moana then bent down to talk to Khan and Connie. After staring intently for a long while, she seemed to have a heart attack. What do I do? They're too cute. Moana kept hugging Khan and Connie tightly. The twins, knowing someone was praising their cuteness, acted even cuter. Louis stood there with a bored look. Go on, be adorable. Spend a day with them and she'll change her mind real quick. Lucia approached Louis to strike up a conversation and even asked with concern if he was hungry. Louis answered honestly. Yes, I am a little hungry. Then I'll go cook something tasty for you. Lucia, we still have meat, right? Let's just prep the ingredients. Louis sighed after having to put on a front. God, pretending to be cute is really tiring. The inn was run down, but the rooms were decent enough. Louis got to rest in a place with all the amenities. It had been a long time since he'd been able to eat and sleep this well. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask earlier, what's your relationship with the 2 sisters here? You all seem very close. Parents were my old comrades from my mercenary days. They were all good friends, always arguing, but they ended up falling in love and had Moana. They quit being mercenaries and came here to open an inn to raise their children. Because they were here, I used to drop by this place often. The man answered enthusiastically, but Louis just waved his hand dismissively. I see. Now you can go. Pablo was startled. Go where? Why all of a sudden? Where do you think I mean? Quickly find a boat to get to the abyssal continent. While at it, buy some medicine too. Pablo looked dejected and tired. He hadn't even had a chance to rest before being given a new task. Seeing Pablo complain, Luis's face darkened with annoyance. Right after, he was scared into running off by the boy's magic. I'm going right now, immediately. Louis didn't let him go alone and called for Finn to tag along. Turning around, he saw the twins sleeping soundly, and Louis let out a sigh of relief. They fall asleep fast. Yeah, they only look like angels when they're asleep. I'm tired too, time to go to sleep. Just as he was dozing off, Moana opened the door and called out, kids, there's some snacks here. The owner froze at the sight of an unprecedented cuteness. Oh my god, they're even cute when they sleep. Two sisters stood there murmuring in admiration. Yeah, they are so cute. Sleep well, sweet dreams. Just as he woke up, Louis yawned and walked downstairs to find the place packed with diners. Lucia smiled warmly. You're awake? Did you sleep well? I'll bring out your breakfast right away. Go sit over there and wait. Surprisingly, Pablo and the twins were already up, sitting there waiting to eat. Come here, Louis. Let's sit and eat. Just as he sat down, Louis asked Pablo if he had bought the tickets to the abyssal continent. Luckily for him, he had found some. Young master, the ship departs in 2 weeks. Oh good. And what about the potions? Pablo broke out in a sweat and stammered. Well, they're not easy to get, hard to find. Louis looked disappointed and dejected. He didn't blame him because he understood somewhat. Only the noble families could stockpile such things. Ordinary people almost never got the chance to see them. Human food could be tasty, but it didn't help a young dragon like him. The journey to the Otamtan continent took a full 2 months, so they had to prepare plenty of provisions before they could set off with peace of mind. Seeing that Louis seemed worried, Pablo quickly reassured him not to be too concerned, saying they would surely find what they were looking for. After all, this was the busiest time in Thaghenma, when all sorts of goods from the winter continent poured in for trade. Hearing that, Louis brightened up somewhat and agreed to go search with Pablo tomorrow. Just then, a large, plump roasted chicken, perfectly cooked, was brought out, its aroma spreading and making both Pablo and Louis unable to resist swallowing their saliva. Pablo cheerfully announced that breakfast was ready and invited everyone to eat, but despite his stomach rumbling loudly, he still had to voice a reminder. Seeing this, Moana looked displeased, thinking it was absurd that someone could eat such a large amount of food in one sitting. Twins quickly explained that they hadn't just cooked for him alone and invited everyone to try some. Even though he kept complaining, the moment Pablo took his first bite, he froze in place because the flavor was so incredible. He praised the dish for being seasoned just right, tasting exactly like what his mother used to cook. The host happily accepted the compliment and said that was just a case of like mother, like daughter. The host mentioned that Lucia had also helped a great deal with the cooking, and Pablo suddenly remembered that Lucia was also a great singer. Louis became curious upon hearing this, and Pablo insisted that no one in all of Thaghenma could sing as well as Lucia. Whenever Lucia raised her voice in song, people would crowd around densely to listen, and that was precisely why this place was named Siren. The uncle continued to proudly boast to Louis, but Louis keenly noticed that the two sisters' faces seemed unhappy. Nien couldn't help but punch Pablo hard in the back to make him shut up. Moana sadly stated that Lucia no longer sang, or more precisely, she couldn't sing anymore. Hearing this news, Pablo was stunned speechless, unable to understand why such a talent would be wasted. Before Moana could answer, a sudden commotion arose from outside. 4 huge men kicked the door open from who knows where and barged straight into the shop. Louis saw them and felt annoyed, wondering who these thug-like men were. He asked the two sisters, but then noticed the people inside the shop were panicking and showing extreme fear. Louis wondered if they hadn't had enough, and couldn't help but notice the shop's specialties had arrived, yet he was still curious about it. Seeing Moana and Lucia scared, Pablo stepped forward to confront them, asking what they intended to do here. He also asked if they knew where they were, just as a handsome young man in a white shirt walked in. That young man offered a good morning greeting to his lady. He also spoke up to compliment Lucia, saying she was as beautiful as ever. It seemed like the two sides were about to get into a brawl. But no, that young man simply stopped at a cheesy flower-giving gesture so sappy it almost made Louis vomit. He was still getting goosebumps from that over-the-top flirtation. Lucia looked very tired, as if this had gone on for so long that she no longer knew how to respond properly. She spoke up, calling his name Carrie, saying she had told him many times that this was a bit. This guy didn't even let Lucia finish her refusal, waving his hand and telling her not to say more. Just seeing her happy was enough for his peace of mind. Then he excused himself and left, wishing her a peaceful new day. He turned to go outside and caught Louis's gaze. This guy Carrie suddenly flashed a mocking smile. Louis got angry upon seeing this, wondering if this guy was mocking his modest height. Unable to use force, Louis resorted to acting spoiled with Lucia to provoke Carrie, demanding she carry him because he was sleepy. Seeing this, Lucia doted on him endlessly, gently asking little Louis if he wanted her to carry him and sing him to sleep. Pablo, standing nearby, was in deep shock at his master's unusual state. Lucia immediately scooped Louis up, even gently patting his back, saying she would take him to his room and sing him to sleep. Louis obediently acted like a small puppy, and having seemingly succeeded in provoking that Carrie guy, he spoke up to tease him, asking if he was jealous. That man, though holding a lump of anger in his heart, could do nothing about it, as in the end, he couldn't compare to a child. In the end, that guy Carrie had to storm off, while Louis gleefully stuck out his tongue at his retreating back. Louis even taunted him, asking who he thought he was dealing with, truly a loser. Pablo was still standing there with a stiff expression, not understanding what was unfolding before his eyes, so he asked who those people were exactly. Moana explained that it was Carrie, the eldest son of the bank family. Louis immediately asked back, wasn't that the one who used to cause trouble with the Terrius gang? Moana confirmed, also informing him that he no longer caused trouble now and had become a baron. Pablo was thunderstruck upon hearing this, unable to believe someone like him could become a baron. Moana nodded in confirmation, saying he was the leading baron of the current underworld's hidden structure. He was recognized for his merits in unifying the gangs in Thejinma and stabilizing the port, so the Lord granted him the position of governing the region. Pablo sighed wearily, recalling how this gang used to brag they would become nobles, and now they had actually done it. He also remarked that it seemed that guy just now had fallen for their Lucia, so he suggested why not let Lucia try to pursue it and see what happens. Moana held her head in pain on behalf of her sister, shaking her head and telling him not to bring that matter up again. Pablo still didn't understand the issue, thinking that since he was from a noble family, he must be a significant figure. Moana then explained a bitter truth that that boy was only 14 years old this year, while their Lucia was already 22. Pablo still didn't get it, even complimenting that the boy really looked manly, only 14 years old yet had such spirit, he could get married right away. Moana couldn't stand this tactless uncle any longer and had to yell at him, startling Pablo into finally shutting up. He clicked his tongue, saying how time flies, then suddenly remembered he had to go do something right away. While Louis was intently studying a book and the twins were lying around bored on the floor, Pablo rushed in, pushed open the door, and shouted loudly. He called out to his master Louis and announced the good news that he had found all the shops selling spirit medicines. Hearing this, Louis's face brightened immediately, and he closed the book wanting to go check right away. Seeing Louis stir to sit up, the twins' eyes also lit up and they demanded to follow along. Not wanting to bring those two along for fear of being burdened, Louis had to tactfully tell them to obediently stay home and rest while he and Pablo went, promising to return soon. Two kids had barely finished speaking before they threw themselves on the ground, wailing loudly, refusing to listen, and insisting on following along no matter what. The crying caught the attention of Moana and Lucia, and both of them walked closer. They happened to have brought a few new outfits with them, so they told the kids to change into them, and then asked where they were planning to go dressed so lightly. After changing, all three children looked much more polished, making the two sisters gasp in admiration. Moana said she had prepared these in a hurry because she noticed the kids' clothes were too thin, and luckily they fit perfectly. Turning around, she scolded Pablo for being careless, letting the children wear flimsy clothes in such freezing weather. Pablo could only shake his head, thinking to himself that the kids were of dragon lineage and never felt the cold, so wearing that was no problem at all. Louis happily thanked them over and over, promising to take good care of the new clothes. To put Louis at ease about going out, Moana and Lucia had no choice but to agree to keep an eye on the twins. As soon as they left the gate, Louis asked Pablo about the spirit medicine, and he firmly insisted they would find it. However, from early morning until dusk, the two of them were exhausted and still hadn't seen anywhere selling spirit medicine. Louis angrily accused Pablo of lying, while he could only apologize because he himself hadn't expected it either. Though his words were mild, Louis was actually worried, afraid that at this rate he'd wither away from malnutrition. Just then, he noticed a crowd gathering and arguing noisily. It turned out that Carrie was having a loud confrontation with a burly man over a girl. That man shouted at Carrie to give up on Lucia. He sneered, saying there was no way Lucia would ever pay attention to a country gentleman like him. He even bragged that a masculine man like himself was the one truly worthy of her notice. The thugs behind him also flattered him, saying he was far superior to a kid still reeking of mother's milk. Carrie's guards grew angry and drew their swords, demanding to know if they were aware of their young master's identity. The man in charge glared at the sword, taking it as a declaration of war against his organization. Carrie couldn't hold back his anger and immediately stepped forward to confront them. Called them all a bunch of lunatics, threatening to let his father teach them a lesson if they dared stay so arrogant. That man only sneered, showing utter contempt for the threat. He even pretended to be polite and invited the young nobleman to personally discipline him. At the most tense moment, Pablo Whitewind appeared and loudly demanded both sides lower their weapons. He said that no matter what happened, pointing swords at each other in the middle of the street was nothing good. Carrie recognized Pablo as the man he'd met at the inn and spoke up to greet him. The man from the Hidden Knight faction only glanced at him, assuming he was just a passerby and not worth paying attention to. Pablo ran a hand through his hair, burst out laughing, and lamented that he'd only been away from this place for 10 years and no one recognized him anymore. The moment they heard the name Pablo, the entire group was startled. They whispered to each other, wondering if this was the legendary Pablo the Blood Axe, which made him puff up with pride. Carrie asked in confusion who this Pablo the Blood Axe was, and his subordinates recounted the story. He was the benefactor who had saved the Baron's life back then when he was ambushed by enemies while unifying the gangs. At that time, with just an axe, Pablo had charged alone into the enemy's base and, despite being severely wounded, managed to rescue the Baron. Carrie was utterly astonished, his expression changing completely when he learned that the man before him was the one who had saved his father's life. His attitude did a complete 180, and he immediately shook Pablo's hand, expressing boundless respect. Pablo felt a little embarrassed and humbly said it was just a thing of his youth, nothing worth mentioning. Louis, standing nearby, could only shake his head at his uncle's habit of praising himself while speaking. The man from the Hidden Knight faction then bowed his head in greeting, expressing his honor at meeting a legend he'd only heard of in rumors. He introduced himself as Damon, currently running a small organization in Luthagina. Louis's gaze focused on the energy emanating from this man named Damon. That feeling gave him a strange sense of discomfort, while Damon remained bowed but his demeanor turned much stiffer. He said that since he had made acquaintance with the young master, he would take his leave. Pablo stood frozen, not expecting that with just a few words they would quickly turn and leave. Louis had a different thought, his instincts telling him that this man Damon would eventually bring about great disaster. He was truly a dangerous person. Right after that, Carrie invited Pablo back to the Ice Manor to meet his father. The Baron was overjoyed to see him, opening his arms for a warm welcome. He was deeply moved, reminiscing about how many years had passed since he last saw his old friend. He blamed Pablo for being heartless, never once bothering to contact him. Pablo smiled awkwardly and explained that life had been busy with making a living, so he hadn't had time to keep in touch. He was also surprised at Terrius's success, admitting he needed to live longer to learn more things. Baron Terrius kept expressing his gratitude, insisting that everything he had today was thanks to Pablo's life-saving deed back then. Pablo looked proud but still pretended to be modest, then quickly shifted to the main purpose of the trip. Terrius had already heard about it from Carrie, and reassured him that he had already sent people to search for the spirit medicine. He assured Pablo that good news would come within just a few days. Louis cut in to ask whether the conflict with the other organization would affect the search for the spirit medicine. Terrius was still uncertain about the boy's identity when Pablo quickly introduced Louis as his nephew, asking for his understanding regarding the boy's rudeness. Though a bit suspicious, Terrius still answered that the Hidden Knight faction had been causing trouble with him recently. Pablo looked curious, since even the underworld would hardly dare to provoke the nobility like this, and he wanted to know what exactly had happened. Terrius hesitated as he recounted that the guild's ships had recently been running aground for no known reason. The crews of the stricken vessels all spread rumors upon their return that they had been captured by demons. As a result, many began to question the protection of the Ice family. Damon had been waiting for this moment for a long time, so he openly voiced his opposition. Pablo calmly suggested, if that was indeed the case, they could simply ask the Lord to settle the matter. After all, he was the one who had granted him the Baron title. Terrius sighed, saying that for the Lord, managing the Luthor region well was all that was needed. His lordship merely observed and disliked involvement. Wasn't he originally from the criminal underworld anyway? Even if the Night Shadows took his position, the Lord wouldn't care. Seeing the mood sink due to work matters, Terrius brushed it aside. Come on, it's been a while since we brothers met, we can't just talk about troubles. Let me treat you to a proper meal, and we can walk along the coast and continue talking there. Pablo was enthusiastic, but a quick glance showed Louis glaring at him. Pablo stammered in his defense, and Louis waved his hand in agreement. Fine, go ahead and have fun, but as long as you find the spirit medicine, I'll ease up on you regarding these matters. It had been a long time since Pablo had any freedom, and he immediately joined in with excitement. Let's go. Today I'm drinking to the very end, not returning until I'm drunk. Before heading out for drinks, Terrius didn't forget to tell Carrie to take good care of Louis. Two kids, meeting for the first time, looked at each other with annoyance, clearly not fond of one another. Carrie hadn't started a conversation, just stood there thinking, do I have to play with this brat? There's such an age gap between us. Since father told me to, I have to drag Louis along, so follow me, kid. Louis innocently asked where they were going, and Carrie snapped back, where else, to my room. Louis also wanted to provoke him. Alright, then give me a tour and show me just how talented this young noble son is. Carrie was fuming but had no choice but to comply. Back in his private room, Carrie perfunctorily invited Louis inside for the sake of formality. The smell is decent, but don't you dare touch my things. The moment he turned his back, he saw Louis fiddling with the action figure. Carrie was displeased and snatched it back, shouting, hey kid, don't touch my stuff. If you break it, I'll deal with you. Louis burst into laughter, acting all high and mighty as an adult, but really he's still a child, still into toys like this, huh? Carrie blushed in embarrassment and stammered, it's none of your business. This knight is the limited edition Finn figure, so if you just touch it carelessly like that. Not stopping there, Louis immediately read aloud the love letter that Carrie had left on the table. My dear Lucia, this is the necklace that holds the sparkling gaze you had back then. Carrie got angry again and jumped to his feet. He tried to snatch the letter back, but Louis had already hopped onto the table, planting a foot squarely on Carrie's face and pushing him away. Oh, so this is that necklace? Louis even went as far as to open the box without permission. It truly is a beautiful necklace. Embarrassed, Carrie tried to snatch it again. Give it back to me now. Finally, Louis offered one kind remark. The letter was poorly written, but the necklace choice was quite beautiful. I think it will surely suit Miss Lucia. Hearing that, Carrie felt a bit of relief. Really, what a relief. I worked so hard to find this necklace. Louis looked puzzled. You said the necklace looks quite expensive, but finding a style like this isn't exactly easy, is it? It's nothing much. This one is quite famous. People call it the Tears of the Siren. After a moment of thought, Louis assumed the name was inconsequential, but then he suddenly remembered something. That's really the Tears of the Siren? Not a fake, but the genuine article? Seeing Louis's surprised expression, Carrie proudly boasted, "Oh, fake? Not at all. Even the appraiser confirmed it's the real deal." Louis was extremely shocked. My God, why would this item appear here of all places? According to the legend in the original story, the Sea King cherished his daughter above all else, collected his daughter's final tears and stored them within a gemstone. That is the Tears of the Siren. What's important is that this is the key to the Sea King's underwater labyrinth. The underwater labyrinth is the crucial place for the protagonist to level up, so I must be the first to obtain the Tears of the Siren. Louis immediately put on an act, calling out in a sweet voice and behaving coquettishly. He made cute faces and pouted in every way possible, clearly trying to trick his elder brother. "Big brother, could you give that to me?" Harry felt nauseated by that expression. "Where did you pick up such a sickness, kid?" Seeing that, Louis overacted even more. "Big brother, please give it to me." Carrie felt frightened and backed away. "What's wrong with this kid all of a sudden? You're giving me goosebumps. Get lost now." Louis continued his whining without letting up, and Carrie fled in fear. Only after Carrie firmly stated that the gift was for Lucia did Louis finally stop. "How boring. Seems it's not working." The young man then changed to a cold tone and asked, "Hey, what if Miss Lucia doesn't accept the gift?" Carrie's face changed. "Impossible. No woman has ever been immune to an expensive item. The bodyguard uncle said so." Louis seriously lectured him. "People like that do exist, but Miss Lucia doesn't seem like the type to accept expensive gifts without reason. That's not a good sign. Sit down. Now I'll teach you what real romance is." And so Carrie sat there listening to a little kid talk about life's matters as if they were true. He even took full notes. "So, first I should create a sense of closeness with the other person, then slowly express my feelings, right?" "That's correct. And you must not confess suddenly or give overly valuable gifts. Approaching too abruptly will instead be counterproductive." Harry had an epiphany, realizing he had been doing the complete opposite of all these things all along. Louis continued to speak with great conviction. "See, for love advice, you have to pick the right person. But why do you like Lucia so much? Do you have some kind of motive?" Carrie was smitten and recounted in a flustered manner that it had been 5 years since she first met that girl. The moment she saw her sing at the Siren Inn, it lit up the dark future ahead of her. From her gestures, her smile, to her singing voice, in that instant she felt as if her heart had been stolen. Louis sighed in exasperation, explaining in circles before circling back to the image of Sister Lucia singing. Carrie was startled and said that wasn't just ordinary singing. Lucia's voice was a perfect harmony. Then why did someone who sang so well stop singing? That is truly a pity. 4 years ago, the beloved singer Lucia had a major performance. Lucia begged her parents to go watch, and since Moana wasn't used to crowded places, they left her at home. But on the way there, something unexpected happened. A group of people rode their horses straight into Lucia's family, killing both her father and mother. Due to that shock, Lucia could no longer sing afterwards. Louis finally understood. She thinks her parents died because of her love for singing, so she can't raise her voice. Suddenly, Louis wanted to handle this matter. He wanted to see this as a good deed to obtain the Siren's tears. Louis began to scold. "How could you think of giving the Siren's tears to Sister Lucia in this situation? Are you out of your mind?" Carrie was surprised to see Louis so serious. Louis continued to play on her psychology. Giving the Siren's tears to a girl who can't sing would only stir up old nightmares. After that reasonable explanation, Carrie was alarmed. "Why didn't I think of this?" Louis continued to lead, making things more tense. "Oh my, need to be taught from scratch. Truly knows nothing. I have a proposal. Do you want to hear it?" No one knows what they discussed, but by the time he got home, Louis was acting adorable again. "Sister Moana, I'm back." Moana scolded him for taking her brother out and coming back alone, saying he went for a drink with Uncle Terrius and would come back later. Louis's eyes lit up as he asked where Sister Lucia was, making Moana sigh at how adorable the little boy was. "Lucia is upstairs in her room. Go on up, I'll bring some snacks up for you in a bit." Louis realized this was the perfect opportunity to get to work. During the negotiation with Carrie, he had bargained for a condition. "You can get Sister Lucia to sing again, then you have to give me that necklace," which terrified Carrie. Louis sternly asked, "Why not? Don't you want to see Sister Lucia sing again too?" "Yes, that's true, but to you, is that necklace worth more than Sister Lucia?" Carrie shook her head frantically in denial. "That's not it at all. As long as Lucia sings well, she's willing to give any necklace." Louis was overjoyed as if he'd found gold. "Great, then it's a deal. If I succeed, you must hand over that necklace." Carrie froze, still reluctant, while Louis wore a dangerous and frightening expression. "Is that all the affection you have for Sister Lucia? You once said you'd give her the whole world. Was that just childish words?" Provoked, Carrie decided firmly to seal the deal. "Fine, if you can do it, then I'll give you the Siren's tears." Louis nodded. Great, deal successful. A man's word is his bond. As soon as Lucia opened the door and saw Louis, she was warm and enthusiastic. With his most adorable appearance, Louis began his charm offensive. The game had officially begun. Lucia opened the door with a beaming face. Oh, Louis, you're back. Louis happily ran over. Sister Lucia, Louis is so bored. Play with me. Lucia smiled back. Yes, yes. Looks like my little man is truly bored. She immediately agreed to the suggestion, then come into my room to play. Louis let out a surprised, oh, his eyes darting around as if looking for something. He followed Lucia into the room and admired it. Your room is so beautiful. Lucia smiled humbly. Thank you, I didn't decorate much. Lucky you still find it pretty. Suddenly, Louis stared intently at the wooden instrument in the corner of the room. He pointed curiously and asked what that was, and Lucia replied hesitantly, oh, that. She explained that it was a balalaika used when she performs. Louis excitedly waved his hand. Oh, play it for me. Lucia hesitated. Well, Louis approached with the most endearing face. Please, please. Lucia's heart melted at his cuteness. Oh, all right, I'll play a tune for you then. Saying that, she sat down, preparing to perform a piece. She took a deep breath to steady herself. Then she began to play the balalaika. Melodious tunes filled the air, making Louis listen intently. After hearing the piece, he stared with his mouth agape in astonishment. Watching Lucia play and lose herself in the melody, he thought to himself, how beautiful. Louis was captivated watching Lucia perform. The sound of the instrument was truly amazing. He looked at her contentedly as she smiled. No wonder that Carrie was so head over heels. After a while, the sound of the music gradually faded. Lucia stopped playing, letting out a long, gentle breath. Louis immediately stood up, clapping endlessly in encouragement. Lucia smiled, replying that it had been a long time since she last played, so the piece wasn't perfect. Louis, with sparkling eyes full of delight, praised it as a wonderful performance, making Lucia shy but also happy. Louis boldly suggested he wanted to try playing it himself, which made her exclaim in surprise. Lucia, stunned, asked again if he meant he wanted to learn to play the balhung. The boy nodded eagerly, saying he really wanted to learn to play as well as she did. Lucia nodded slightly and told him to wait a moment while she looked for something. She rummaged around, making Louis curious, and murmured that she couldn't remember where she had put it. A moment later, she brought out a small, pretty instrument and exclaimed that she had found it. Lucia handed the mini balhung to Louis, which surprised the boy. She said this was the instrument she used as a child and gave it to him now because she felt it suited him very well. Louis happily thanked her. Lucia patted his head, promising to start lessons the next day since it was already late. The boy happily ran off, waving goodnight to her, and Lucia waved back. Back in his room, Louis admired the instrument with care, and at that moment, Finn flew over and spoke up. Finn asked if he truly wanted to help her find her voice and forget her painful past. Louis confirmed his intention with great determination. Finn cautiously suggested using a spirit art to manipulate memories for a quicker solution. Louis refused, explaining that such a method only provided a temporary fix and she might get hurt again. He cherished the instrument, affirming that evil begets evil and good begets good was his motto. Louis looked into the distance, saying that those who treated him well, he must treat them well in return. Finn sighed helplessly, remarking that they had deviated from the original plan again. Louis held the instrument, insisting he hadn't strayed from the path at all. He reassured Finn that nothing would go wrong and to trust him just this once. 3 days later, the sounds of the balhung resonated once more in Louis's room. Louis was intently practicing with the brand new instrument, all while Lucia watched in utter astonishment. He hesitantly asked her how she played it, and Lucia, startled and flustered, praised him for playing so well. Louis was engrossed in exploring each finger position, while Lucia whispered in awe at the boy's talent. She thought that on the first day he had gotten used to the strumming, on the second day he memorized all the rules, and now on the third day, he could play a difficult piece. Lucia could hardly believe her eyes, wondering who this boy really was. Louis eagerly urged Lucia to teach him a new song. She was still too shocked to do anything but stammer out a surprised agreement. A little while later, on a bustling street, people gathered around a notice board about the upcoming beauty performance night and how to register. Suddenly, a strong arm ripped the notice down. Damon picked up the notice, read it with a scornful look, and made a disparaging remark about the singing contest. A person behind him spoke up, explaining it was an annual event and the winner would receive prize money. He also enthusiastically praised it as the most famous event of the year. There was news that this year's contestants were training intensely to win the prize. Hearing this, Damon flashed a cunning, suggestive smile. Seeing that strange smile, the other person curiously asked what he meant. He crumpled the paper, saying that the more people who came, the better it was for him. Damon's gaze swept dangerously, a smug smile forming as he thought of the blood-curdling screams. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Pablo staggered along, his head pounding in pain. He paled, clutching his head, lamenting that he was getting old and weak, feeling tired after just a few days of drinking. Suddenly, a familiar sound caught his attention. Pablo listened for a moment and recognized it as the sound of the balhung. Pablo was astonished and quickly rushed into the house, loudly calling for Lucia, overjoyed that she had finally agreed to sing. Louis looked at Pablo in surprise and greeted him with a mocking tone. Louis wrinkled his nose and covered it, asking in disgust if he had been out drinking with Terrius all night again. Pablo chuckled awkwardly, explaining that brat Terrius just kept him there and wouldn't let him leave. He quickly changed the subject, pointing at the instrument in surprise and asking how Lord Louis could play such a thing. Louis casually confirmed that it was the instrument Miss Lucia had given him. Pablo praised how wonderful the music sounded, saying not just anyone could play it, and then asked when he had learned. Louis calmly replied that he had just started yesterday. Pablo was astounded, unable to believe his ears, and asked again if he had gotten that good in less than a week. Louis confidently answered that he didn't find it difficult at all to play, leaving Pablo shaking his head, thinking the boy was being conceited again. Louis seriously asked about the progress of collecting spiritual herbs, and Pablo reassured him that everything was going well. Pablo smiled confidently. Thanks to Terrius's help, he had found about 20 low-grade spirit herbs. Call him Pablo the Talented. Louis couldn't believe it and blurted out, freezing him stiff, "Are they all low-grade spirit herbs? What talent, you only found this much." Pablo was dejected and disappointed to find that he had to work very hard. These days finding spirit herbs in this area is as hard as picking stars from the sky. Seeing him step back sadly, Louis thought that even though they were rare items in such a vast port city, a shortage of spirit herbs was a bit strange. He spoke up to ask, "Is there any place in this city that researches or raises spirit beasts?" Pablo answered, "Spirit beasts? It seems not. As far as he knew, there was no such place. Why did he ask?" Louis replied, "Well, there are other people besides him who are buying up spirit herbs in large quantities." Thinking about the spirit herbs, Louis analyzed silently. Usually spirit herbs are used for spirit beasts or people who want to increase their inner energy, but if it's for people, they can only use them once. Since the amount of spirit herbs is limited, no one would go and buy such a large quantity. But if someone is raising a spirit beast, they would have to provide a large amount of spirit herbs periodically. Pablo then spoke up according to his master's prediction. If someone was raising a spirit beast in the city, there's no way Terrius wouldn't know about it. Louis was also thinking about that issue and crossed his arms and thought, "That's strange. A spirit beast needs such a large amount of spirit herbs that it has to avoid the ears and eyes of the Baron." Suddenly, he was startled. Could it be? Louis spoke up, "Pablo, can you find out who bought spirit herbs at the store?" Pablo thought for a moment and then replied, "That would take time, but with Terrius's help, it's not a difficult matter." Louis ordered him to verify those people and track down where the spirit herbs they bought went. Then he continued, "After finding that place, take Finn along and search it." Pablo heard this and was curious. He will do as he says, but why is he doing this? Is he planning to steal the spirit herbs? Louis retorted, "Do he look like a thief?" Although he's still not sure. Louis was wary, but that man Damon could be crazier than he had imagined. Pablo heard this and obeyed, understood, so for now, he'd like to go get some shut-eye. Louis stopped him. "Where do you think you were going?" Pablo didn't quite understand. "What do you mean?" Louis waved his hand to Pablo. "Get to it right now." Pablo was stunned, but he just got back, and he still smells of alcohol. Louis got angry and threatened, with just a little slack. "Our Pablo gets lazy, huh? Or should we relive the good old days?" Pablo heard that and trembled awake, running off. He's going right now." Saying that, he hurriedly opened the door to go out, but suddenly something made Pablo stop in his tracks. Outside, everyone was happily enjoying the festival. Louis saw the commotion and ran out to ask, "What's going on? Who are these people?" He answered, It turns out it's almost time for the Full Hold Prayer Festival." He found it strange and asked, "What is the Full Hold Prayer Festival?" Pablo replied, "Yes, the city is now famous for commerce, but before, it was just a small fishing village." He explained, "Every year they hold the Full Hold Prayer Festival to pray for those who go out to sea to fish safely and return with boats full of fish. The festival is still maintained to this day." He continued, "And the best part of the festival is the Night of Beauties." Louis was unfamiliar with it again. "What is the Night of Beauties now?" Pablo replied, "That is the night where talented singers gather, they compete and are given prizes. It's quite worth watching." Pablo's eyes were admiring and eager, remembering that Lucia had registered to compete. Every time Lucia participated, she always got first place. Louis heard this and went, "Oh, if that's the case." He said while going out, he has another job for him. He ordered, "Sign up for the Night of Beauties." At that moment, Lucia was sitting in her room, thoughtfully admiring her musical instrument. Her face now was full of contemplation and sadness. Suddenly a voice rang out, "Sister Lucia." She heard it and ran to open the door, smiling and greeting. "Louis, have you practiced the piece I taught you?" He replied, "Yeah, of course." Then he continued, "But sister, he has a favor to ask." Lucia smiled kindly and asked, "What is it?" Louis pleaded with Lucia. He heard there's a festival going on. Can she take him along? Hearing the two words festival, the two kids Connie and Con excitedly shouted, "What? A festival? Sounds like fun. We are coming too." Louis annoyedly glanced at the two kids. Damn, these kids have sharp ears. Lucia smiled. "So you like going to the festival? That makes sense. Things have been so lively outside lately that you are all curious." She was hesitant, but it's the festival season, so there are many foreign tourists. She can leave the inn unattended. Voice spoke up, stunning everyone. "Let's go." It was Moana. Let's all go watch the festival together. She walked over and ruffled Louis's hair. Our princes and princesses want to go see it. Of course, we have to go, right? Lucia was surprised and asked, do you really intend to go? What about the inn? Moana replied, closing for a day, one hurt. She reassured Lucia, besides, there aren't any guests yet. Just play all day today and work hard tomorrow. Hearing that, Lucia smiled and replied, all right, she'll go get ready and then we'll go. Then Moana, full of excitement, led the way. Kids, let's go have fun. Khan and Connie cheered. Let's go. Connie said expectantly, there will be lots of delicious food at the festival, right? Lucia replied, of course, she will buy them some really delicious food. Khan heard this and exclaimed, so exciting. Louis watched from behind and smiled. Good, everything is going according to plan. He followed them, also full of excitement, on to the next step. In a certain place in the city, the lake surface was calm and romantic. A girl in a purple-brown cloak was examining something. It was Finn. She was snooping around, searching for something or following someone. Thanks to her small frame, she managed to squeeze into a wooden crate. Finn quietly observed. She wondered, is that the warehouse building that Pablo mentioned? Recalling the boss's reminder, merchants often traded spirit medicines at the warehouse at the end of the harbor. Not knowing what Louis was looking for, he decided to investigate that place. Finn told himself like a true agent, fine, I am Louis's loyal servant. No matter what he might be hiding, I will find it out. She quickly flew to a house that still had its lights on. Inside, two people were playing cards for money. Finn quietly swung down on a rope. One man yawned and complained, how miserable, having to stay in this musty warehouse forever. The man sitting opposite remained calm. Stop complaining. Pick up your cards. The boss promised to contact us before the festival ends. Suddenly, a strange pressure enveloped the two men's area. Finn, watching from behind, was also startled. What was that sound? Could it be a wild animal? Hearing that, the man began to worry. Damn it, that animal is causing trouble again. The other man said timidly, I just went. It is your turn to check this time. He reluctantly stood up, muttering as he walked, who knows how much I have to feed it to make it stay quiet. Seizing this opportunity, Finn immediately released the rat. Rat ran straight toward the man who was walking. Startled, he panicked and fell flat on the ground. The other man scolded him, clumsy fool, how do you even walk? He retorted angrily, what did you say? The pile of food spilled out. Finn froze. This stuff, isn't this spirit medicine? She looked up at the stacked crates. Could it be that all the crates here contain spirit medicine? Finn was resolute, no more hesitation. I have to find out what this spirit medicine is being used for right away. The two men were still arguing. Seizing this golden opportunity, Finn flew toward the pile of food. This is what happens when you are too lazy to clean up. She hid inside a spirit medicine chest and peeked out through a crack. The man who had fallen grumpily picked up the crate to clean, muttering, damn it, the rat is my fault. Now they are making me clean the warehouse too. He walked and grumbled angrily. They get paid the same as me. Why do they act so high and mighty? Finn, inside the crate, grew worried. Stairs going down to a basement? Where is this place leading to? The man carried the spirit medicine crate down into a deep basement right next to the shore. He carefully placed the crate on the ground. Done with the task, he timidly turned and left. At that moment, a bizarre shadow enveloped the space. Upon seeing it, he was so terrified he nearly went weak all over. Completely horrified, he fled without daring to look back. Finn remained still inside the crate. Confirming no one was left, she cautiously climbed out. Did he leave already? Suddenly, a huge figure appeared, charging straight at Finn. She cried out in terror, oh my god, that is... A large dragon emerged from the calm water surface. At the festival side, there was also a cuter-looking dragon, which let out a threatening roar. The crowd cheered, then suddenly panicked. That dragon appeared. Run! Khan and Connie were happily immersed in the festive atmosphere. What a wonderful festival this is. Seeing the children happy, Moana said, wonderful, right? They say this prayer festival is the most famous in the entire ice region. Louis was also amazed by the lively scene. This festival is really grand. It is rare to see one this bustling. A skewer of food was offered in front of him. Try it. Louis was surprised, huh? He took the skewer and asked curiously, what is this? Lucia explained, this is rock fruit. Only available at this festival. You will love it. Louis put it in his mouth and tasted it. Why does this taste like the candied hawthorn from my past life? Lucia asked. So, is it good? This is your first time eating this, right? Louis smiled and replied, yes, it is very good. Suddenly, a familiar sound rang out, the sound of a balalaika. Louis was surprised. It seems like someone is playing the balalaika. Lucia replied, ah, they are probably holding the qualifiers for the servants' night. Louis excitedly grabbed Lucia's hand and pulled her along. It will definitely be fun. Let's go watch. Hurry, sis. Scene shifted elsewhere. A note of music rose from the stage. A musician was intensely focused, plucking the strings. Louis frowned and complained, sis, why is everyone who plays so bad? It hurts my ears. Lucia explained, it is the qualifiers. The final will have more talented people. The boy continued, I think you play much better than them, sis Lucia. Hearing that, Lucia lowered her head and said nothing. Suddenly, Louis pulled Lucia's hand again. Sis, come up there with me. She was surprised. What? He coaxed. Please go up, hurry. Before she could react, Lucia stammered. Wait. Seeing Louis appear, the host asked, who are you, kid? You have to register first to participate. Louis whispered to him, I already registered under the names Louis and Lucia. Please check the list for me, uncle. Hearing this, the man was shocked. What? Lucia? Could it be Lucia from the Saren Inn? People around also buzzed with excitement. Lucia from Saren? Really? It really is Lucia. All eyes turned to her. Hasn't Lucia stopped singing lately? It seems she stopped after that incident. Pressure from the crowd overwhelmed Lucia, and she collapsed. Lucia's eyes widened, sweat constantly streaming down. At this moment, Louis gently took her hand. He reassured her, don't worry, I can sing, you just need to play the instrument. Lucia hugged the instrument tightly, exclaiming in surprise, what? He slowly helped Lucia regain her composure to prepare for playing. Though somewhat reassured, Lucia was still timid and hesitant. But, the innkeeper stepped forward and spoke. Still not done? If you need more time, we can do it later, Lucia replied. Oh, about that. Not making everyone wait long, Louis quickly stepped onto the stage. Greetings to the esteemed audience in the beloved land of Luther Gun. I am a guest of the Siren Inn, Louis. Didn't forget to mention the man who played earlier. You all had to listen to an unprofessional performance. You must be tired, right? That man said irritably. That brat doesn't appreciate art. He continued to introduce. So now, I invite the Lady Lucia to the stage to liven up the atmosphere. Hearing that, Lucia stepped onto the stage, walking towards Louis. Looking at the cheering crowd below, Lucia felt immense pressure. She turned pale, got a headache, and tremblingly hugged the instrument, pleading, Louis, I can't. Louis remained calm and reassured her. Give me your hand. Lucia was puzzled. Huh? Why? He held Lucia's hand, closed his eyes, and whispered a chant. Spirit of composure, everything will be fine. Lucia was astonished, her eyes wide open. She felt something change in her body. What's this? Why does holding Louis's hand make me feel so much more at ease? Louis winked at Lucia. Everything will be fine. Don't worry, sis. She let out a sigh and replied, yeah, I know. Thank you for the encouragement, Louis. Lucia sat down, her spirit more stable. You can sing any song. I'll accompany you on the instrument. Louis agreed. Yes. He announced to the audience. Now, sorry for the wait. Please listen to me sing. Hearing that, everyone was disappointed. Huh? Isn't Lucia singing? But that kid? Cute as he is, what can a kid like that sing? Louis took a deep breath. After that, Louis began performing before the crowd. As soon as he raised his voice, the entire hall seemed to fall under a spell, with everyone marveling at his incredibly wonderful voice. This was the first time he had heard such a soaring and impressive voice. Louis poured his heart and soul into it, the lyrics carrying a sorrowful lament yet delivered with perfect control and profound emotion. He immersed himself in the melody, laden with a deep sadness, like a boat carrying its burden of secrets through the river of life. The audience was moved to tears, their hearts touched to the core. There was sorrow and lingering ache, but also a strangely comforting relief. Lucia, standing behind him at the piano, watched Louis's performance with wide, astonished eyes. At that moment, Louis subtly signaled to her, as if to say that this was the crucial moment. Lucia was startled but quickly composed herself and handled the situation with grace. Louis looked at her and then continued singing, each line flowing with smoothness, rhythm, and precision. Some called out his name repeatedly, some covered their ears wanting to sink into sleep, but even the most indifferent heart was stirred. Even if you can no longer return to me, please do not let the barrier between the living and the dead separate us, and instead accept our fate as the magpies on the bridge. At the song's end, Louis struck a deeply immersed pose, looking utterly enchanted and captivating. The lead musician of the competition, witnessing the performance, was so astonished that he dropped his program script. The audience, for their part, was equally stunned and in awe of his talent. After a few moments of silence, the entire hall erupted with thunderous applause. Louis wore a satisfied smile, pleased with his achievement. Clapping and chants continued without pause, with many eagerly requesting another song. Louis happily responded with a grateful look, understanding that this was the spreading power of music. Lucia quietly stood behind the piano, saying nothing, a whirlwind of indescribable emotions rising within her. She turned away, listening to the echoes of cheers rising from the foot of the stage. Then the scene shifted back to the familiar house. Louis slumped wearily onto the sofa, letting out a sigh. Oh, that was tiring. Singing is definitely not easy. Moana walked over to encourage him, making Louis smile happily. He said proudly, everyone couldn't take their eyes off me, right? Khan and Connie chimed in with their praises. Lucia climbed the stairs, her voice sorrowful. I'm sorry. I'm a bit tired, so I'll head up to my room to rest first, Moana replied gently. She watched her pensively, softly calling out Lucia's name with a thread of worry creeping in. Now, Lucia lay on her bed, sinking deep into wandering thoughts. Moana, concerned, gently walked up the stairs and knocked on the door. Lucia, can I come in? Seeing that Lucia seemed unhappy, Moana also felt a pang in her heart, unable to be cheerful. She came to the bedside and asked softly, how are you feeling today? Moana continued, her eyes full of concern. You enjoyed it, didn't you? Lucia remained lying still, only after a while responding in a whisper, yes, I liked it a lot. Moana shared her feelings. Thank goodness, it's been a while since I've seen you on stage. I was very happy too. Suddenly, Lucia sat bolt upright, tears welling in her eyes. Sister, you don't hate me? Surprised Moana replied. Hate you? Why would I hate you? Lucia burst into tears, sobbing, because of me, our parents. Moana immediately gently patted her back to comfort her. Silly girl, will you stop that? She explained patiently. I've told you so many times, it wasn't your fault. It was our parents' choice to protect the ones they love most, and I love you the same way. Lucia was touched by Moana's warm heart, tears streaming down her face. Sister. With that, Moana opened her arms wide and embraced her little sister tightly. She too choked with emotion. I won't force you to sing. Just take it slow like you did today, and one day you'll sing beautifully again. Moana encouraged her. Our Saren is the prettiest when she sings, isn't she? Lucia, moved, nodded with determination. Louis stood hidden in the back, quietly witnessing that touching scene in its entirety. He felt a swell of pride within himself, thinking, I've actually done something good. And he walked away with a satisfied air, feeling he had accomplished today's task brilliantly. Just as he stepped into the room, Louis noticed a strange blue light. Huh? It was Finn, but she looked exhausted. Alarmed, Louis asked, Finn, what's wrong? Finn trembled weakly. Master. Louis rushed over, worried, asking, what happened? How did you get injured like this? Finn struggled to explain. Finn whispered hoarsely, the W warehouse, northwest of the harbor. Before she could finish speaking, she collapsed in Louis's arms. He called out in a panic, Finn, wake up! Louis desperately tried to rouse her, but Finn remained still. Under the starry night sky, a large house emitted a soft glow. Inside, Pablo was delivering a powerful kick, showing no mercy. The panicked brown-haired henchman cried out, What's going on? Another snarled aggressively. Who are you? Pablo replied coldly, his voice dripping with implication. I was wondering where those spiritual herbs from the shrine had gone, so they're here. The henchman quickly denied it. Before he could finish his sentence, Pablo grabbed him by the collar and lifted him off the ground. He snarled in a low, threatening voice, I know everything you've been doing here. If you're smart, you'll hand them over. The struggling henchman gasped out a question. Right at that moment, another voice rang out, Please release my subordinate, sir. Damon stepped in slowly, his face unreadable. I don't know what business brings you here, Mr. Pablo, but we should talk first things first, civilly. Pablo immediately flung the henchman aside, leaving him groaning in pain, then said with contempt, It's those with ill intentions who usually want to talk first. He then calmed himself, pointed at the pile of crates stacked up in the warehouse and demanded, Then explain this. Why are you hiding so many spiritual herbs? Pablo gritted his teeth, his voice harsh. Don't tell me you're plotting something shady here. Damon remained calm and did not answer, which made me not understand what he meant. He raised his hand to explain that those spiritual medicine barrels were legally purchased items for export to the Autumn continent, and that I did not know where he had heard this story, but surely there must be a misunderstanding. He knew well to hold firmly to the weapon of suspicion, so what? If that is the case, then even if we search the warehouse, it should not be a problem, correct? He replied without flinching, if you wish. Pablo suddenly ran in a different direction, surprising everyone. He kicked straight at the door of a basement that looked secretive. Pablo curiously stepped inside. What is this place? Damon spoke up, saying he had heard that this place used to house small fishing boats when it was still a fishing village. He continued to defend himself, saying that they still occasionally used it for transporting goods. Pablo did not believe him, saying that as far as he could see, it seemed like this place was hiding something. He gripped the cane in his hand, in other words. Pablo made his judgment and immediately leaped high. That is a spiritual beast. He saw a flickering light in the distance. Pablo was stunned, his mouth wide open. He could not understand. Why was there no reaction at all? Damon said knowingly, See, did I not say there was nothing? Pablo still muttered in disbelief, No, it cannot be. He remained stubborn. I will personally go and confirm. Damon remarked, You seem more persistent than you look, do you not? Having reached the end of the path without seeing anything, Pablo wondered, Is there really nothing? He affirmed firmly, I told you, there is nothing here. Damon smiled threateningly. If you continue to cause me trouble, I will not be able to sit still any longer, Mr. Pablo. Pablo held the torch and pondered silently. He let his arms hang in disappointment and lowered his head. Louis walked over to ask Pablo, Uncle, what are you doing here? He waved his hand and said loudly, Sister Moana is looking for you. You are not off drinking somewhere again, are you? He leaned in and whispered to Louis, I went down the tunnel as you said, but there was nothing there. He immediately concluded, It seems they have moved to another place. I will handle it myself. Step aside. Louis turned to Damon and greeted him. Hello, Uncle. We met last time. You said your name is Damon, right? He wondered. And who are you? He smiled warmly and introduced himself. I am Louis, staying at the Saren Inn with Uncle Pablo. The subordinate's reminder made him remember, Boss, that kid is the one I told you about on the night of the beauty pageant. Damon put on a friendly demeanor and asked, You are the child who went on stage to perform with Lucia, are you not? I heard you sing very well. Louis chuckled and replied, Yes, that is right. He praised with a sinister look. It is not easy to convince Lucia to go on stage. You are quite talented. Damon continued, Can you also convince your uncle? He curiously asked back, Convince him of what? Threatened, if someone keeps pushing without evidence, they might meet a sudden death like Luciano's parents. Pablo flew into a rage and lunged at him as if to give him a beating. How dare you say that? You damn brat. Louis remained calm and raised his hand to stop him. My uncle is a simple man who acts without thinking things through. I will try to convince him. Damon stood up slowly and said, well, it is lucky that you are a sensible child. He stood up. He quickly caught a glimpse of something. That is, Louis pretended to be naive, but uncle, I have a question. He turned around sharply and asked, what? Asked in a natural way that surprised him, what is that horn you have on your belt? He stared at him with a questioning look. Why are you curious about that? He smiled happily and replied, it looks so nice, I want to buy one too. Damon answered ambiguously, it is not sold everywhere, so it is very hard to buy. Shall we go now? They all filed out and slammed the door shut. Pablo asked for instructions. Master, what should we do now? I will go and tell Terrius first. Louis firmly stopped him. No. He analyzed calmly. If Terrius steps in now, a war will break out in this city immediately, and many innocent people might die. Louis asked Pablo, more importantly, we cannot let this ruin Lucia's comeback stage, right? He did not understand anything and asked back, what? Comeback stage? He walked away lightly and continued the discussion. I originally planned to spend more time, but at this rate, we need to speed things up. Louis smiled as if he was sure of something, affirming that this will be the most lively festival ever. A hand grabbed the subordinate by the collar and slammed him against the wall. Damon angrily asked, even that peaceful Pablo suddenly jumped up. How the hell have you been managing the warehouse? He stammered, B-boss, I do not know. He said with a look of understanding while his other hand held a dagger. Ah, is that so? What a pity you do not know. Damon did not hesitate to stab the dagger straight into the subordinate's body. He clutched his stomach in pain and fell to the ground, screaming. Damon continued calmly, at this rate, we need to speed things up. Another subordinate trembled in fear and replied, speed things up, but it has not been tamed yet. He stared at his own reflection on the blood-stained dagger. There is no more time to deliberate, that Pablo has gotten wind of it, so we must move before we get stepped on. Damon continued to scheme darkly while his subordinate felt a chill. I will take care of him right at the opening moment of the beauty pageant finals night. He left the house and remarked, it will be a very lively festival. At this moment, the sky was full of stars. Louis and Pablo were standing below. He held his weapon warily and spoke, Master, even if we turn the place upside down, it will be hard to find any trace of that sea monster. Will Diamond really act tonight? Louis replied, that is right. When someone is caught by the tail, do you think they would just delay further? He considered, if his goal is to bring down Terrius, then after causing chaos during the festival, he will show an image of subduing it himself. That is the most suitable time to make an impression on the Lord. Pablo wondered, to do that, he would of course need to control the sea monster, right? Does that mean Diamond is also a priest like Jacob? Louis explained, no, not a priest, because I cannot sense any spiritual attribute ability in him. He smiled smugly, but that man was the one holding a truly valuable treasure. It was the Dragon King's horn, and legend said it was a trumpet crafted from the horn of a sea dragon. When using this horn to tame common monsters, the user could control them at will. No one knew where Diamond had found this treasure, but possessing it meant commanding common monsters with ease, even without being a priest. Then Louis continued explaining with clear ambition that if they could seize the horn from him, it would save a great deal of time on their journey to the autumn continent. It looked quite expensive. Pablo silently assessed from behind, always in line with my lord's goals, as usual. Louis then pointed at Pablo, saying that since that man would surely make a move today, he should keep the docks under 24-hour surveillance. He pointed at himself in confusion, me, alone, and where would the master be going? Louis replied, there was something he needed to take care of first. With that, he stepped into Harmony City, merging with the bustling crowd. While walking, something caught Louis's attention. Huh? It turned out to be a familiar figure. Hey, big brother. Louis approached and asked, startling Carrie, what are you doing there? He answered awkwardly, oh, nothing, just taking a stroll, but anyone could see how suspicious that looked. Since it's been a long time since Lucia returned to the stage, I wanted to come and congratulate her. Louis sighed. At least his head wasn't completely empty. I knew you'd have such optimistic thoughts, Carrie said in an annoyed tone. What girl? Louis continued, saying he happened to need his help today, that during the event, he should fill the seats in the plaza. Harry was baffled. Fill the audience, why? Louis refused to answer, just telling him not to ask too many questions and to do as he said. I'm not afraid of hard work, am I? Harry got angry. What hard work? Just mobilizing our family would be enough to fill the entire plaza. Louis encouraged him proudly, good, see you later then. Then he added, oh right. Louis winked at Carrie, reminding him to remember to prepare flowers when he came, to score points at the decisive moment. Carrie still didn't understand the decisive moment. The scene shifted to the festival at that moment. Everyone was merry, immersed in the lively and crowded atmosphere. Lucia walked nervously, holding her instrument. It's really crowded. Last night's performance wasn't this packed. Louis couldn't believe it, thinking to himself, that Carrie guy actually managed to fill the plaza. How did he do it? A noisy sound caught Lucia's attention. A girl was holding a lute and called out, thank you everyone. Lucia looked ahead, never thought this day would come. She looked towards Louis. Without him, she would never have dared to dream of today. The host announced, "Yes, please welcome the next program." He introduced our impressive contestants. They are Lucia and Louis. Please give them a round of applause. Hearing that, Lucia felt even more frightened. She could barely stand, but Louis's voice rang out. "Sister!" Louis grabbed her hand. "Lucia." He seriously reminded her, "Coming here is enough. Don't run away from those painful memories anymore." Lucia stammered in surprise. "Yes." Continued to explain, "If your parents in heaven saw you unable to sing because of guilt, they would be very sad." Lucia was stunned. "Louis, how did you know about that?" He didn't answer but walked straight onto the stage. He turned back and replied, "Listen and think. What is it that your parents truly wished for?" Hearing that, she murmured, "What my parents wished for." Then, Louis took his instrument and stepped onto the stage. The crowd was surprised. "Hey, is that kid the only one singing today? Where's Lucia?" Louis didn't explain but continued to strum his instrument, starting his performance. He hummed a song about the cold winter, covering himself with a warm blanket and falling asleep. In a dream, a child walks on a snow-white field. He walks, snow falls heavily, a gray snowstorm. One audience member quickly recognized it. "Hey, isn't this the song my parents used to sing when I was little?" In the qualifiers, he sang a song no one had heard, but today it's a song everyone knows. The audience enjoyed the performance comfortably. After all, hearing the boy's voice was truly wonderful, right? It was like being drawn into magic. Louis continued to complete the song, a terrifying sound in the dark forest, a white-furred monster chasing after him. How scary, mother, father. Help me, mother, father. As she listened to the melodious tune, Lucia remembered when she was little, when her parents held their instruments and sang to her. Lucia drifted into her thoughts. What my parents wished for. Then she slowly took steps forward. Louis smiled seeing Lucia appear. She began to sing, looking at the beautiful sleeping baby in the blanket. Her child is about to cry. Seems like they're having a scary dream. She sang while recalling the happy memories with her family. "It's all right. Father and mother are here. Father will use his cane to chase away the monster. It's all right. Father and mother are here. Mother will hold you tight." Moana below was moved and exclaimed, "Lucia." Hearing her sing, Moana instantly remembered the song her parents used to sing to the kids long ago. "Why is it like this?" "Because you must sing for someone." "That's what I asked about back then, Lucia." Moana looked up at the stage happily, thinking, "Thank you, Louis." Lucia was still singing, losing herself in the melody. "My child, father and mother will always be with you until the sunlight shines and the snow melts." Louis raised his arm high into the sky. The performance continued, and everything was going according to his plan. When the performance came to a close, Louis was drenched in sweat. Beneath the stage, Carrie was so moved that tears fell, and she shouted, "Amazing, truly amazing." The crowd roared in unison. It was Siren. Siren had returned. Lucia choked up, tears of happiness streaming down her face. She bowed her head and thanked him endlessly. Louis hurried off the stage. Well, everything was perfect. A beautiful ending. He was happy for Lucia as well and said, "If we don't want to ruin this atmosphere, we should finish the remaining work." That moment, out on the open sea, Damon was rowing his boat toward the shore. He stood still at the bow of the boat, not saying a word. When he stepped onto the shore, Pablo saw him and asked, "Where have you been sneaking off to like a rat?" He added, "Come on, did you just hide something good on that rocky island out at sea?" Damon sighed. Birds of a feather flocked together. He had just done something exactly like what Miss Lucia's parents had done. Pablo exclaimed in surprise, "What nonsense are you talking about? Why bring up my friend out of nowhere?" Damon replied coldly, "They followed me just like you are now, Pablo, until they met a tragic accident and died." Pablo suddenly trembled, pointing a finger at Damon. "Are you saying that accident was your doing?" Damon sneered. "Who knows? That matter is hard to say." He continued, "But I can guarantee one thing, I won't let anyone get in the way of my work." Pablo lost control of his anger, letting out a roar before lunging forward. "You bastard." He immediately attacked Damon. Damon quickly drew his weapon to block the strike. He spoke, "Do you think I could go up against Terrius without any power at all?" With that, he shoved Pablo away. Immediately after, a group of people rushed in from all sides to surround him. Damon sheathed his weapon and casually said, "You don't need to worry about the two young ladies at Serenhaven." He flashed a sly grin. "I will take very good care of them." Pablo gritted his teeth, his eyes burning with hatred. He charged forward. "You bastard, I'll kill you." But Damon's henchman quickly blocked his path. He shouted in frustration, "Get out of my way." Then, Damon stepped out toward the open sea. "Well then, let's continue, shall we?" A voice suddenly called out, "Hey, did you take a wrong turn?" Louis appeared, pointing behind him. "The festival is on the other side of the square, isn't it?" Damon reminded him, "Wandering around this late will get you scolded by the adults, kid." Louis jumped down and replied, "Thanks for your concern, but my family believes in freedom, so it's fine." Louis calmly walked closer to Damon. "Today, I plan to settle this peacefully. Because making Miss Lucia cry is not acceptable, I have to teach you a lesson you won't forget." Damon was annoyed. This brat is insolent, daring to act so high and mighty with me. "But fine, I don't plan to go easy on you just because you're a kid." With that, he drew his weapon and lunged straight at Louis. However, just as his weapon was about to strike, a shimmering barrier appeared and blocked the attack. Damon gasped in shock. "Spatial magic? You're a mage?" Louis remained calm, taunting him, "You talk too much. Hurry up and attack." With that, he charged straight at Damon, "Or else it's my turn." Damon reacted just as quickly. Even though he blocked the strike, the immense force pushed him backward. Louis strolled over. Oh, still able to put up a fight? He gave Damon a compliment, so you're better than Pablo after all. Pablo, still tightly surrounded, had to snap back. In a moment like this, you're still in the mood for comparisons? Suddenly, something startled Louis. Dragon appeared right in front of him. It let out a roar, opening its mouth full of sharp teeth and lunged to attack Louis. He quickly reacted, leaping backward to dodge its strike. Louis backed up a few steps. Wow, that scared me half to death. Nearly lost my life there. He turned to look. The dragon coiled tightly around Damon's position. It circled around him as if to protect him. It turned out Damon had managed to use his horn to summon the dragon. Imph, the brat has some skill, but that's where it ends. He said, a little earlier than planned, but there's no other choice. I have to deal with you first. With that, he blew his horn to command the dragon. Louis began to struggle to hold his ground. The dragon growled, drool dripping from its mouth, which confused him. Hey now. Damon stomped his foot in anger. Why are you standing there like a statue? Why haven't you attacked it yet? Red Dragon with furious bloodshot eyes glared at Damon and let out a fierce roar. Louis thought gleefully. It seemed that man still had not fully controlled it. Seizing this rare opportunity, he spoke up, let me tame it for you. Louis immediately channeled his power into the dragon using mind-taming magic. It was blinded by the light from Louis and screamed in agony. Then Louis pointed at Damon and commanded, devour him. Damon was startled and worried, sweating, what? No. Then he continued to blow the control horn. Two forces acting simultaneously caused the dragon great pain and discomfort. Its tail began to thrash about uncontrollably. Tail swept towards Louis, causing the floor to collapse. He quickly jumped up. That was dangerous. Louis quickly analyzed. His mind magic level was not enough to overpower the effect from the Sea King's horn. He pondered. He could not transform and fight in the middle of the city either. What should he do now? After thinking hard for a moment, Louis's gaze suddenly looked out towards the open sea. An idea flashed. He smiled. Right, this way would work. Louis shouted loudly towards the dragon, hey, you sea worm. He proudly challenged, let us have a proper fight. What do you think? Just as he finished speaking, Louis quickly jumped into the sea. He sank gradually below the water's surface. Pablo stood on the shore, startled and confused. What are you doing, my lord? The dragon seemed to accept the challenge and immediately dove down after him. Damon saw this and laughed triumphantly. You fool, daring to fight a sea serpent in the middle of the ocean, that is suicide. The dragon was now slithering down to the seabed to chase after Louis. His eyes changed, full of confidence. Come on then. It opened its mouth wide and roared, sucking a stream of seawater along with Louis inside. It shut its mouth tightly, but the light from Louis still flickered from within. An arm appeared, gripping tightly onto the dragon's large tooth. Louis had transformed, and was using his strength to pry its mouth open from the inside. He said smugly, since we are already underwater, there is no need to hold back. Let me freely transform into a dragon. Saying that, Louis focused all his power into his arms and the dragon's jaw. He threw a powerful punch and taunted, so smelly, you should brush your teeth 3 times a day. The dragon let out a miserable cry of pain. Louis, his hands brimming with power, spoke up. You were pretty smug earlier, weren't you? He charged straight at the dragon. Today, meeting me is your unlucky day. By a physical attack to the head, the dragon screamed in searing pain. In too much pain, it hastily retreated backwards. Then it thrashed its tail, intending to swim away and flee. Louis did not give it any chance to escape. Where do you think you are going? He chased after it and grabbed hold of it. The fun has just started. It would be a shame to end it so soon. Louis grabbed the dragon's tail and spun it around. Let us keep playing. Back on the shore, Pablo finally finished off all the guards. He panted heavily. All done. He looked out to the sea worriedly, wondering how his master was doing. Even if he is a dragon, being underwater is... Suddenly, the water surface shook violently. What was going on? A giant, deep whirlpool suddenly appeared below the sea. A dragon emerged from beneath it. Pablo exclaimed in astonishment, oh my god, what is that? The giant dragon shot up from the surface of the sea. Damon cried out in panic, a sea serpent? Why is it flying up into the sky? The dragon swooshed down from above, falling straight towards his position. He was absolutely terrified, hurriedly running for his life. He had not run far when he tripped over a rock in front of him. Without time to react, he fell flat on the ground. Seeing the giant dragon hurtling towards him, he cried out in despair, no, no. But the dragon, due to its momentum, still crashed straight into him. The horn in his hand was flung away. It tumbled across the ground and stopped at a spot quite far away. The impact with the ground was so strong that the horn cracked and broke into many pieces. As for the dragon, it lay unconscious and motionless on the ground. Pablo witnessed the whole event, his mouth agape in shock, unable to speak. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the sea, a loud sound echoed again, something emerging once more. That was Louis. He flew up and then transformed back into human form. Louis shook himself dry, remarking that it was truly refreshing, and that it had been a long time since he could fully manifest like this. Pablo was helpless, not expecting Lord Lamb to come only to let off some steam. Elsewhere, Damon began to tremble. He weakly tried to leave. Damon tremblingly approached to pick up the horn, intending to blow it. Louis was faster, managing to snatch the item away. He held it up and asked, what, are you still attached to the Sea King's horn? He took it with a triumphant look, because this thing would be very useful to him. Louis tried holding it up and blowing it. Pablo covered his mouth to laugh, teasing that the master was good at playing dirty but blowing the horn didn't seem to work out. Louis shyly explained it wasn't his fault, but the horn itself. Just then, the horn began to crack further. Both of them exclaimed in surprise simultaneously. Louis wondered, perhaps we should stick it back together with tape? As soon as he finished speaking, the horn shattered right before their eyes, leaving them both rooted to the spot. Louis disappointedly knelt down. No, my ship. At that moment, thick dust and smoke rose up. A heavily wounded dragon slowly stood up. Louis turned around, worried. Oh no. The dragon roared fiercely, causing both of them to flee in panic. Pablo asked while running why it suddenly went berserk. Louis explained, because the Sea King's horn had broken, it lost control and acted on instinct. He was worried if this continued. The dragon roared again, then charged towards the city. Louis helplessly shouted, no. Louis worried, damn it, it's attracted by the bright lights from the festival and is heading there. Hearing that, Pablo also became restless. What? Then it's a big problem. There are still many people there enjoying themselves. Louis ordered Finn to go find the twins and bring them here immediately. She instantly appeared, yes. Continued to assign Pablo, meanwhile, you and I will block this monster. He nodded in reply, yes, master. Everyone had their assigned tasks, all right, let's go. In a dark alley, a couple was being affectionate with each other. The girl looked around nervously, telling her lover that entering a dark alley at night was very dangerous. The boy reassured her, with him by her side, there was nothing to fear. He was coaxing his lover when suddenly a loud noise rang out, startling the girl. A water monster broke through the wall and charged in, opening its mouth full of sharp fangs, frightening everyone. The boy fell to the ground in fear. The girl urgently shouted, why are you still standing there? Run quickly. The scene of a hero saving a damsel in distress did not happen. Instead, the girl had to carry her lover on her shoulder to escape. Suddenly, a hammer flew in from nowhere. The hammer struck the monster's head, causing it to howl in pain. Pablo, despite trembling, raised his hand to provoke, calling it a snake-headed creature, saying that he was here. The monster turned to look at its attacker and roared in anger. Immediately after, it lunged towards Pablo. Seeing that he had successfully attracted its attention, he turned and ran away. While running, he was crying and calling for his master to save him. Louis's voice rang out, casting space magic, spatial barrier. A spatial barrier appeared, enveloping and trapping the monster. It panicked and pounded heavily against the spatial cage in front of it. Seeing the monster struggling, Louis was pleased that he had trapped it. Now he just needed to use mind magic to calm it down. He raised his hand to cast a spell, mind magic. The monster suddenly roared fiercely as if provoked, charged forward, slamming its head hard against the barrier, crazily trying to escape. Louis gritted his teeth. The spatial barrier was shaking. He couldn't concentrate on casting mind magic. In the distance, a voice called out, Lord Pablo. He turned to look. Behind him were Terius and his men. They were rushing over. Terius was shocked to see the monster trying to escape its prison. Pablo explained that it was something Damon brought in, and he intended to cause trouble during the festival. Terius angrily asked where Damon was. Pablo said he had taken advantage of the chaos to flee. Now they had to deal with the magical beast quickly. On the rooftop, Louis yelled at Pablo to stop standing around chatting. Shouted, do something with your friend to keep the monster contained. Pablo immediately acted, yes, understood, let's go Terius. The other replied confusedly, huh? Yes. The rooftop, Khan and Connie appeared. Louis was delighted. Good. While Pablo was preparing, you two distracted. The twins drew their swords and charged forward. Leave this to us. The two attacked, attracting the monster's attention. Louis breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed they could hold out for a bit longer. Down below, Pablo reported to his master that everything was ready. Right at that moment, the spatial barrier in front of the serpent suddenly vanished. It immediately steadied itself and prepared to flee. The monster quickly lunged forward. Pablo raised the ordinary rope high and shouted, it's now, pull! And everyone strained together with all their might. It turned out that at some point, the rope had been tightly coiled around the serpent's body. It roared in fury, writhing violently to break free. Its strength made the whole group struggle, and Terius quickly added his support. Hold on, whatever you do, don't let go. On the rooftop, Louis leaped high into the air. He began to chant, his hands conjuring a purple Rubik's Cube, and then solemnly cast the multi-layered spell. Right after, he clasped his hands tightly together. A powerful surge of magic slammed down, compressing the space and sending the monster staggering to the ground. It howled in vain, unable to move another inch. Louis gently placed his hand on the monster's head. He said to the group, you've all worked hard. Now, let me help it find peace. He began to cast a different sort of magic, a mental spell, the spell of taming. The monster slowly opened its eyes, its gaze full of surprise. It was no longer as fierce as before, and instead, it was as gleeful as a puppy finding its master. It licked Louis with its tongue, and he happily rubbed its head, saying, that's right, good boy. Just as they were having a good time, Louis suddenly noticed the murderous look on Terius's face behind him. The man raised his sword, screaming wildly, die! But his hand was locked in place by Louis's magic. Terius asked in surprise, what's the meaning of this? Louis calmly explained that it wasn't necessary. He said that this monster had been controlled by Damon and was forced to do those things, and that it was not at fault itself. His gaze fell upon the twins, Khan and Connie, who were playing on the serpent's back. Terius still looked uneasy, but to let a beast like this roam free, Louis reassured him, I will take care of this matter, so rest assured. That night, at the harbor, the monster slowly entered the water. Louis squatted on the shore and instructed, "From now on, never come near the human city again. Go back to where you once lived and stay there." The monster nodded as if it understood. It turned and swam out to the open sea, and Khan waved goodbye. "Live well!" Connie also waved. "Don't follow any more bad guys." Louis stood up and said to the two children, "Now, we should prepare to head off too." Connie and Khan looked confused and asked, "Prepare for what?" Louis smiled and replied, "Now that things are done, it's time for us to hit the road." At that same moment, in the middle of the night sea, a man was sitting in a small boat. He rowed while trembling and cursing. "Damn it, Damon, will not end here." He gritted his teeth. "I will definitely take revenge on those who brought me to this state, even if it means burning this whole land to the ground." Suddenly, his oar no longer touched the water, causing him to panic. "What's going on?" The small boat had been lifted off the water by the monster's body. Seeing the beast, he cried out in fear. "Ah!" He screamed in terror as the monster grabbed his clothes with its teeth. The monster flung him high into the air. He barely managed to utter his last words as he faced the gigantic maw. "No, this can't be." Damon's helpless scream echoed out and then faded as he became the monster's late-night snack. Having dealt with its enemy, the monster dove deep into the sea. On the surface, only Damon's coat remained, bobbing in the water. Coat was like a final testament, proof that Damon had existed but was now no more. Meanwhile, Lucia was slowly descending the stage. She breathed a sigh of relief. "Phew, finally done singing 4 more songs. I'm so tired." She looked around. "But where's Louis? He was gone after the first song." A familiar voice rang out. "Lucia!" Moana ran over and hugged her tightly. "That's our little mermaid. You did great. Absolutely amazing." Moana said emotionally. "If only Mom and Dad could see today's performance, I'm sure they'd be so proud." Suddenly, Carrie walked up from somewhere and gave a soft cough. Ahem. Moana turned and asked, "Carrie, what are you doing here?" The young man stammered, Well, it's just." Moana's gaze suddenly landed on the bouquet of flowers behind Carrie's back. She broke into a laugh. "Aha!" Moana quickly pushed Carrie towards Lucia. "Lucia, it looks like Carrie has something for you," catching him completely off guard. She patted Carrie's shoulder in encouragement. "Hurry and give it to her. Flowers are only meaningful when given at times like this." Carrie shyly handed the bouquet to Lucia. "Well, congratulations on your successful return to the stage. No." He gathered up his courage and continued, "Our little mermaid, Lucia." Lucia hugged the bouquet to her chest and smiled happily. "Thank you, Carrie." He scratched his head, watching Lucia happily embrace the flowers, his heart fluttering in time. Afar, Louis had seen it all. What a wonderful moment. He let out a satisfied sigh. "Now, you can shine on your own without me, sister." A few days later, on a ship heading out to sea, the sailors urged the passengers to board the Hapsunny, which was about to depart for the autumn continent. Moana shouted from the dock, "Don't go." She hugged Khan and Connie, tears in her eyes, asking if they really had to leave and why not stay and be her younger siblings. Khan could only force a smile. Pablo pointed at himself and asked what about him. Moana turned and scolded him for only knowing how to drink all day. Whether he went or stayed didn't matter. Pablo tried to defend himself, saying that it was all important fine wine, but Moana remained angry and refused to accept his explanation. At that moment, Lucia stepped forward from behind to Louis. She softly asked if he would come back. Louis was a bit hesitant and didn't know how to answer. Moana grabbed his hand and tearfully urged him to be sure to return. He only dared to timidly reply that he would visit occasionally. Then Louis softly said that if he had the chance, he would come back to visit everyone. Suddenly, Lucia hugged him tightly, causing Louis to be extremely flustered. Lucia cried loudly, telling him he must come back, understand? He gently touched Lucia's hand and promised to remember her words. The touching scene had barely settled when Carrie appeared with an annoyed look. Seeing this, Louis teased that Lucia's heart was truly warm, which made Carrie even angrier at him. Suddenly, a strange, sparkling light emanated from Louis. He was surprised to realize it was the mermaid's tear. Carrie crossed his arms and explained it was a reward for helping Lucia sing again. Louis received the ring in his hand and wondered about it. Carrie then replied. He said the ring with the family crest would help him get assistance in the town during his upcoming exams. Louis understood and happily compared the ring to a useful free pass. Carrie waved goodbye but said he didn't expect Louis to return. Louis chuckled and teased Carrie, telling him not to cause trouble and to just do as he was told, which made him angry and tell Louis to shut up. Suddenly, Carrie paused as if he had something to say. He awkwardly voiced his thanks to him for everything he had done. His two attendants advised him to speak more sincerely. Carrie then scolded them, while Louis could only force a smile. He thought to himself that even though he was a bit blunt, he was also somewhat endearing. Terius also came to see off his friend, and seeing that Pablo was about to leave, he asked if the repair work was going well. Pablo replied that the damage was considerable but luckily no one was injured, which was a good outcome given what happened. Terius mused that that boy seemed extraordinary, having taken down the sea worm so quickly. He recalled that moment. A normal person would find it hard to do such a thing. Pablo pretended to be clueless, saying the boy was just his nephew. Hearing this, Terius laughed. I know you two are only distant relatives. Terius clasped Pablo's hand, promising to keep the matter of him and his nephew secret, and Pablo thanked him for the added favor. After their farewells, the two parted ways and everyone began to board the ship. Lucia and Moana waved goodbye. Take care of yourselves. Lucia also called out, be sure to come back and visit us, remember that. On the ship, Khan and Connie waved back, thanking Sister Moana and Sister Lucia. The time had been really fun. Sails were hoisted to catch the wind. The ship began to leave the dock. Connie then asked where we go now. Louis replied helplessly, "You asked that now." Louis explained, "We will head to Dockman Port on the autumn continent, then continue the journey by land." He turned to ask Pablo, "How long does it take to get from here to Dogmoon Port?" Getting no answer from Pablo, Louis approached him. "What are you doing not saying anything?" It turned out Pablo was seasick and not feeling well. Seeing Pablo's pale face, Louis asked what was wrong. Could he be seasick? Pablo held his face in discomfort. Unable to bear it any longer, he covered his mouth, his face turning ashen and tears streaming down. Louis sighed. Such a big build, yet he can't handle being seasick. He shook his head and turned away. What a hassle. Louis's small hand rested on that large body. He channeled a stream of magic into him, using a mental spell to lull him to sleep. Pablo gradually felt more at ease, his eyes becoming drowsy and losing consciousness. Louis said he would sleep for a few hours and feel better when he woke up. Now let's go see the resting quarters. Connie and Khan agreed to follow. Pablo slumped over completely in place. His body showed no reaction at all. Suddenly, a stranger appeared. He should have been at least level 3 in strength, yet he was taken down so easily. That man approached Pablo, muttering softly, "Tiskis." He wore a smug smile. "It seems this long sea voyage will be quite interesting."